Hurry up and stand up. It's broad daylight and you're already like this. What's wrong with you? Cold sweat trickled down Leng Ruoxue's forehead, causing her to be incoherent. Master is right. It's not good to be like this in broad daylight. Then you can hit me at night when there's no one around. The dolphin-like man gave Leng Ruoxue an "I understand" look, causing Leng Ruoxue to almost go crazy. Sob. That was not what she meant, okay. Leng Ruoxue was so depressed that she almost vomited blood. That damn dolphin, how dare it misinterpret her words. However, she could only deal with this dolphin's ambiguous words coldly and ignore it. Otherwise, Ning Yan and the others would definitely think that she was angry out of embarrassment and wanted to kill it to silence it. She couldn't let them think that way, so she could only pretend that nothing had happened. Master. Let's leave this place first, okay? Seeing that Leng Ruoxue was silent for a long time, the beautiful dolphin man took the initiative to speak again. Actually, he was afraid that the person would chase after them. That person's strength was above them, and if he really caught up, it would be quite troublesome for them. However, he did not dare to make things too clear, because he was afraid that Leng Ruoxue and the others would be afraid. What's the hurry? We just came out. Before Leng Ruoxue could say anything, the Dark Tiger King spoke first with a hint of dissatisfaction. It had already smelled the fragrance of the fish. It was obviously impossible for it to leave without eating a single one. After hearing the Dark Tiger King's words, the dolphin man was so angry that he wanted to open its head to see what it was made of. How could it be so stupid? AI. He hoped that his master would understand his hint. Little girl, I also want to eat fish. The Dark Tiger King ignored the beautiful dolphin man's flirtatious gaze and spoke to Leng Ruoxue. I'll roast it for you when we get back. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. She could hear the dolphin's words and understood its concerns. After all, a person who could chase a dolphin with the strength of a god king to the point that it had no choice but to flee from its hometown must be an unparalleled expert. She could not afford to offend such a person now. Right. Right. I'll roast it when I get back. The dolphin nodded. Following that, Leng Ruoxue and the rest packed their things and prepared to leave. All of a sudden, the water in the frosty lake churned and a powerful pressure enveloped them. Leng Ruoxue and the rest instantly found it difficult to breathe, and in the blink of an eye, their faces turned pale. Upon seeing this, Leng Ruoxue and the rest knew that they had encountered an expert. Furthermore, this expert might be the one who wanted to contract the dolphin. Almost instantly, a young man's figure appeared in the middle of the waves. This man was dressed in white and had a handsome face. When his shrewd eyes saw Leng Ruoxue and the others, they flickered for a moment before returning to normal. Immediately after, he retracted his aura and looked at Leng Ruoxue and the rest with an apologetic expression. He said, I'm sorry for being impolite. May I ask who you are? Ning Yan asked first, trying to calm herself down. I'm Xiao Bing, may I know who you are? Xiao Bing introduced himself, then politely asked for Leng Ruoxue and the others' names. I'm Leng Ruoxue, and she's my elder sister. They're my maidservants and subordinates. Leng Ruoxue didn't give Ning Yan a chance to speak and introduced him first. Just now, the dolphin had already sent her a voice transmission, saying that this man named Xiao Bing was the one who had been chasing after him and wanted to form a contract with him. So, she naturally had to be careful. Ning Yan's name would make people think of the Ning family. Before she could figure out this man's identity, she naturally didn't want to drag the Ning family into this. After the introduction, Leng Ruoxue sent a voice transmission to Ning Yan, Sister Yan. This person is the one who chased the dolphin and wanted to form a contract with it. Oh. Little Sister Ruoxue, if I remember correctly, this person should be from the Divine Master's estate. The Divine Master's estate has a Divine Emperor called Xiao Bing. However, I hope that this Xiao Bing is not the one from the Divine Master's estate. Ning Yan replied worriedly. Why? Leng Ruoxue was confused. Sister Ruoxue, you may not know this, but Xiao Bing from the Divine Master's estate is not the strongest in the Divine Master's estate. However, he is a sinister man who likes to play dirty tricks behind people's backs. Therefore, the people in the Divine World gave him the nickname Smiling Divine Emperor. In addition, many people would rather offend a Divine Emperor who is stronger than him than to provoke Xiao Bing, mainly because Xiao Bing is too difficult to deal with. Anyone who is entangled with him will be driven crazy by him. Sigh. We have to be careful and not let him find out where that stinky dolphin is. Otherwise, I'm afraid our good days will come to an end. Ning Yan said gloomily, cursing the dolphin in her heart. It was the dolphin's fault that Xiao Bing was provoked. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head slightly without a change in expression. The conversation between the two of them had only lasted for a few seconds. However, in order to not let the man in front of her notice anything amiss, she had to smile when she was communicating with Ning Yan. Hello, Miss Leng. It's a pleasure to meet you. Xiao Bing smiled faintly, but his sharp eyes seemed to be sizing up the others. After a long while. Are the White Tiger and the Dark Tiger King Miss Leng's beastie? Xiao Bingkai asked. Yes, I am. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Before she understood Xiao Bing's intentions, she didn't intend to say too much. I really didn't think that Miss Leng's beastie would have such strength. Xiao Bing exclaimed in admiration with an envious look on his face, while he was trying to guess Leng Ruoxue's identity. This was clearly the Ning family's divine realm. If this young lady was from the Ning family, it would make sense for her to have two powerful beasts. However, this young lady's surname was Leng, which made him suspicious. In the entire firmament, he did not dare to claim that he knew all the clans of various sizes like the back of his hand. However, he was also very clear that among the clans of medium grade and above that he knew, there was no clan with the surname Leng. Furthermore, a clan that could own a godking level beast would definitely not be a small and unknown clan. Furthermore, Leng Ruoxue's strength was extremely low. If she did not come from a top-notch clan, it would be impossible for her to live in the firmament with her strength. In the divinity, only reverent god-level cultivators could create their own small world. Hence, only the younger generation of clans with reverent god-level cultivators could live in the divinity. Hence, even though he could not figure out Leng Ruoxue's background, out of careful consideration, he would not rashly ask about her background. However, at the same time, he was also suspicious that Leng Ruoxue had given him a fake name. I'm just lucky to have them. Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she explained. Master. I want to eat grilled fish, quickly grill it for me. At this moment, the Dark Tiger King interjected at the right time, fully displaying the fact that it was a beastie that was extremely dependent on its master. Yen, who was by its side, also had an expression of anticipation. Having lived for so long, the Shadow Tiger King had long since become a demon. When it heard Leng Ruoxue say that the couple were her beasts, it immediately realized that there was something wrong with this man. Moreover, this man had emerged from the Frost Lake, and the dolphin had also emerged from there. Thus, after some thought, it guessed that this man might be the person who had chased the dolphin to make a contract with it. Unless there was no other choice or by chance, there was almost no one among the beasties who would foolishly acknowledge a master on their own accord. And towards humans who wanted to capture them and force them to form a contract, the beasties had always shared a common enemy. Therefore, although they did not have much of a friendship with that dolphin, but on account that everyone was beasties, it was still very willing to help him. Moreover, that dolphin had now acknowledged that little girl as its master, and that little girl had done its entire family a great favor. It naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. You're a foodie, you only know how to eat. Leng Ruoxue patted the Shadow Tiger King's head as she said this, pretending to be helpless. Then, she turned to Xiaobing and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I've made a fool of myself. After that, she took out the fish that she had kept earlier and handed them to Grape for her to clean up. Lotus Seed took the initiative to relight the fire. Looking at the familiar-looking fish, Xiaobing said, Miss Leng and the others are here to fish. Yup. After fishing for the whole morning, I only managed to catch a few. I wanted to take them home to eat, but who knew that I, this glutton beastie, couldn't hold back. Leng Ruoxue explained with a smile. Since she didn't leave, she wasn't in a hurry to leave, in case Xiaobing noticed something. Hee. I've also heard that the fish in this cold pond are very delicious. Why don't I make some more and we can roast them together? Xiaobing said enthusiastically. After he finished speaking, he did not give Leng Ruoxue a chance to reject him. He used his divine power to form a 1-meter-wide fishing net and threw it into the water. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue looked at Ning Yen and transmitted her voice, Sister Yen, I'm using a fishing net. So what? Fishing rods had their own fun. Furthermore, even if he uses a net, he might not be able to catch the fish. Otherwise, the fish here wouldn't be so difficult to catch. Ning Yen said disapprovingly. Alright. You're right. Leng Ruoxue saw that Ning Yen was looking down on Xiaobing's fishing net, so she tactfully stopped talking about it. After all, the result would be clear. After waiting for a while. When Xiaobing lifted the net, there was not a single fish in sight. There were only a few stalks of seaweed in the huge net. Seeing this, Ning Yen was extremely pleased. Leng Ruoxue ignored Ning Yen's smugness and focused on roasting the fish in her hands. Xiaobing, on the other hand, was unwilling to give up and cast the net again. Mr. Xiaobing, you need a fishing rod to catch the fish here. Ning Yen reminded him kindly. A fishing net is fine too, I've fished it before. However, you have to be patient. Xiaobing said calmly, his gaze fixed on Leng Ruoxue, who was concentrating on roasting the fish. Then I wish you success. Ning Yen ignored Xiaobing and sat beside Leng Ruoxue after she finished speaking. After a long time, Xiaobing pulled in the net for the umpteenth time and finally caught more than 10 fish. The net can really catch them. Ning Yen mumbled to herself as she looked at the dozen palm-sized fish. Of course you can, but you need to be patient. Xiaobing said with a smile, then found a place to sit down. Leng Ruoxue passed Xiaobing a fish. Xiaobing didn't stand on ceremony. After saying his thanks, he started to gnaw on it elegantly. Everyone ate and chatted, and in just a short while, they became familiar with each other. Xiaobing saw that the time was right, so he coughed lightly and slowly explained the reason. Hee. You must be very curious as to why I came out of the water. Xiaobing said with a smile. Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen looked at each other and nodded. However, neither of them continued the conversation. Xiaobing didn't mind and continued talking. Actually, I'm chasing after a dolphin. Xiaobing said, then continued, that dolphin used to be a guard of the God Lord's estate. Because he made a mistake, he was punished by the God Lord. He was not willing to be punished, so he injured the guard who was watching him and escaped from the God Lord's estate. I was ordered to hunt him down. I chased him to the endless ocean, and he used his familiarity with the sea to escape from a sea eye in the endless ocean. I followed the sea eye and came here. If you know where he is, tell me, and the Divine Master will definitely reward you. Xiaobing continued. You're from the Divine Master's estate. Ning Yan pretended to be surprised, and her expression turned into one of admiration. As for Xiao Bing's question, she ignored it. Did you guys see a dolphin appear here? If you do, please tell me where he is. The God Lord's estate will definitely not mistreat you. Xiao Bing repeated with a nod. I'm sorry. We didn't see any dolphins, but you can tell us what he looks like. We'll definitely let you know when we find his tracks. Ning Yan said very seriously. Sister Yan is right. Tell us what the dolphin looks like. We'll inform you as soon as we know where it is, Leng Ruoxue chimed in as well, her beautiful face filled with anticipation. Even though the dolphin story was different from Xiao Bing's, she still chose to believe it. Other than the fact that the dolphin was already her beastie, the main reason was that Xiao Bing's story was full of loopholes. He had said that the dolphin was a guard of the Divine Lord's estate. However, the dolphin was right in front of him, and he had not recognized it. How could he have the nerve to say that the dolphin was a guard of the Divine Lord's estate? Wasn't this making others laugh their heads off? However, she didn't expect Ning Yan to be so good at acting, which was a little beyond her expectations. You guys really didn't see it? Xiao Bing couldn't quite believe it, because in his opinion, the dolphin's speed shouldn't be much faster than his. If these people had been fishing here all this time, how could they not have seen the dolphin? Leng Ruoxue and the rest nodded. Haven't you been here the whole morning? Xiao Bing asked the question in his heart. Yup. However, we didn't stay by the pond all the time, so. Leng Ruoxue stopped. I see. Although Xiao Bing was still suspicious of Leng Ruoxue's words, he thought about it carefully. These women didn't seem like people who had the patience to stay still and fish. When he thought about this, he put down the doubts in his heart. After Leng Ruoxue and the rest finished their fish, they planned to leave. However, Xiao Bing did not leave just like that. Instead, he wanted to follow them. In his own words, he was not very familiar with the Ning clan's divine realm, and it would be good to have company if he went with them. His thoughts made Leng Ruoxue and the rest suffer in silence. If it wasn't for the dolphin, Leng Ruoxue would have told him directly that she didn't like to hang out with strangers. However, she couldn't say it out loud now. Who asked the other party to not dispel their suspicions? Sister Yan. What do we do now? Leng Ruoxue sent a message to Ning Yan. Sister Ruoxue, why don't you bring him to the Ning family? With Dad around, Xiao Bing won't be able to do anything. Ning Yan said after some thought. Sister Yan, Xiao Bing is from the Divine Master's estate, it's not good to drag the Ning family into this. Leng Ruoxue didn't agree with Ning Yan's opinion. In her eyes, Xiao Bing was definitely not a friend. Once Xiao Bing found out that the dolphin she was looking for had already recognized her as its master, he would probably fly into a rage out of humiliation. Now, she obviously didn't want the Ning family to have any conflict with the Divine Master's estate. Then what do we do? Ning Yan was in a dilemma. She didn't want the Ning family and the Divine Master's estate to fight each other. Sister Yan, how about? We split up. Take the grapes, lotus seeds, and the dolphin back to the Ning family first. Also, help me tell Godfather that I have something to do and will be back late. I'll take Xiao Bing, Tiger King, and his wife to take another route. After shaking him off, I'll go back to the Ning family. Leng Ruoxue thought for a moment. This should be the best solution she could think of. No. That Xiao Bing might look decent, but he was actually very sinister. How can I let you leave with him? Besides, it's hard to say whether he'll follow you or not. He's not someone who'll be manipulated by others. Ning Yan objected. Sister Yan, there's no other way. I don't want to drag the Ning family into this. Take grape and leave. I have my ways to deal with this Xiao Bing. Leng Ruoxue consoled. Little sister Ruoxue, do you think that we are holding you back? Ning Yan said aggrievedly, feeling very unwilling in her heart. Sister Yan. It's good that you know. Leng Ruoxue had no choice but to follow Ning Yan's lead. Little sister Ruoxue, I'm sad. Ning Yan's resentful eyes followed Leng Ruoxue. She thought to herself, Sister Ruoxue is too honest. Even if she really had such thoughts, she shouldn't have said it out loud. Sister Yan, you should know that I have no choice. If I bring Xiao Bing to the Ning family and something happens, the Ning family won't be able to hold him back. Leng Ruoxue tried to persuade him. Actually, the Ning family might not be afraid of Xiao Bing, but the Divine Master's estate that Xiao Bing represented was very troublesome. Now was not the time to start a conflict with the Divine Master's estate. In short, the time was not right. Alright then. However, your maidservant and that dolphin may not leave with me. Ning Yan compromised. I'll tell them. After Leng Ruoxue was done speaking, she sent voice transmissions to Grape, Lotus Seed, and Dolphin. Although they were unwilling, after Leng Ruoxue emphasized that they would drag her down, the three of them kept quiet. After settling their matters, Leng Ruoxue said to Xiao Bing, Mr. Xiao Bing, my sister has something else to do, so we'll have to split up for a while. Which way do you plan to go? Not far from the Frost Lake, there were two roads leading to the other side. When Leng Ruoxue said this, she wasn't sure if Xiao Bing would go with her, so she decided to let Xiao Bing choose first. In any case, she had already made up her mind. Whichever road Xiao Bing took, she would follow. She didn't believe that Xiao Bing would have any way to follow them. Miss Leng, which path do you plan to take? Xiao Bing asked instead of answering. I'm planning to take the left path to the Nightless City. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. What is Miss Leng going to the Nightless City for? Xiao Bing's face was full of question marks. Look at the fireflies. I heard that the fireflies in the Nightless City are at their most beautiful right now. I want to see them. Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. What about this Miss Leng? He pointed at Ning Yan and asked. Younger sister is going to the Nightless City, so I naturally have to go to the Ning family's divine realm to handle some matters. Ning Yan said matter-of-factly. I wonder what Miss Leng is going to do in the Ning family's divine realm? Xiao Bing asked again. Mr. Xiao Bing, do I need to report to you what I'm going to do in the Ning family's god realm? What I'm going to do is naturally a family matter, which is also a secret of our family. Please forgive me for not being able to disclose it. Ning Yan's face turned serious and she said angrily. Miss Leng, you've misunderstood me. I'm just a little curious. Please forgive my rudeness. Xiao Bing's attitude was very good, and he was not annoyed by Ning Yan's words. It's okay. I know this is an occupational disease of the Divine Lord's residence. Ning Yan was also very generous, but her words made Xiao Bing a little unhappy. Sister. Didn't you have something to do? Let's go quickly. Don't delay the important things. Without giving Xiao Bing a chance to react, Leng Ruoxue urged him on. N. Ning Yan nodded and summoned Crane, then flew towards the Ning family's divine realm with Grape and the other two. The moment they left, only Leng Ruoxue, Xiao Bing, and the two tigers were left. After Ning Yan and the rest had disappeared, Leng Ruoxue turned to Xiao Bing and said, Mr. Xiao Bing, where do you plan to go? I'll go with you to the Nightless City to see fireflies. Xiao Bing said with a smile. Good. Then let's go. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she walked towards the road leading to the Nightless City. As he walked, he transmitted his voice to the fellow in the beastie dimension. Why did you come back? Don't you know that Xiao Bing is looking for you? Leng Ruoxue's head was hurting. She had finally let Ning Yan take them away, but who knew that this dolphin would sneak back and enter her beast dimension without a sound? I'm worried about Master. Of course, I have to stay by Master's side to protect you. Dolphin said in an aggrieved voice. Protect me? It's already good enough that you didn't come back and add to my troubles. It was clear that Leng Ruoxue didn't think highly of him, and this hurt the pretty dolphin man's self-esteem. Master. I'm very strong. Dolphin reminded. Yup. He's so strong that he's being chased around and hiding. Leng Ruoxue used her divine sense to look at the small dolphin that was standing tall in the beast dimension. He's stronger than me. If I don't run, I'll be caught by him. The dolphin's face was full of resentment. It didn't want to become a slave to humans. Of course, the owner it found was an exception. If you're afraid of being caught, then you'd better behave. I, your master, am weak and can't protect you. Leng Ruoxue reminded. I just want to stay by Master's side obediently, I won't drag Master down. Dolphin promised. That's good. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she cut off the connection with the dolphin. That was because Xiao Bing was talking to her. Leng Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and said in embarrassment, What did Sir Xiao Bing just say? I was a little distracted and didn't hear you clearly. I'm asking if Miss Leng is planning to go to the Nightless City by foot? Xiao Bing chuckled. Yup. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head and thought, you better not want to leave. This way, they could part ways. God knew how much she didn't want to pretend to be nice to Xiao Bing. Miss Leng doesn't have a flying beast? Xiao Bing asked again. There is. However, my flying beast is in closed-door cultivation, so I can only trouble my two legs. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. She was speaking the truth. Because his flying beastie was indeed in seclusion. I see, then use mine. Otherwise, I don't know when we'll be able to reach Nightless City. Xiao Bing didn't doubt him this time, but suggested. I'm sorry, I'm sick of flying beasts. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with apology. Her words made Xiao Bing little angry. In his entire life, he had never heard of cultivators who could make their flying beasts unconscious. Hence, he did not believe Leng Ruoxue's words at all. However, since Leng Ruoxue had already said so, he could not possibly force her to sit on his flying beast. Although he really wanted to do that, he did not want to ruin his relationship with Leng Ruoxue. However, he was also feeling rather depressed. After all, he was still a divine emperor. He also had the God Lord's estate as his backing. He had never received such treatment before. However, even though he was angry, as he looked at Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face, he could not vent his anger no matter how much he wanted to. Her beauty was misleading. Following that, Xiao Bing walked side by side with Leng Ruoxue without saying a word. The Dark Tiger King and his wife followed behind them. In the evening, Leng Ruoxue saw that the sky was already dark and suggested that they find a place to camp. Although Xiao Bing was depressed, he did not object. However, he did not know when they would reach Nightless City at their current speed. Leng Ruoxue didn't care what Xiao Bing was thinking. In any case, she was going to rest, stop, eat, and sleep. After finding an empty space, Leng Ruoxue set up her tent and had a simple meal before going to sleep in her tent. Xiao Bing, on the other hand, was sitting by the fire, deep in thought. He didn't know what had happened to him. Even if he was suspicious of Leng Ruoxue, there was no need for him to follow her around like a fool, right? And if he really wanted to find out something, wouldn't it be better to just bring her to the Divine Master's estate? Why go through so much trouble? He couldn't explain his abnormal behavior. Even though he had a good impression of Leng Ruoxue, he didn't think that he was someone who had the patience to coax women. So what was he doing now? Xiao Bing was in a dilemma the entire night, while Leng Ruoxue had already entered the bracelet and had a good sleep. The next day, the two of them continued on their journey. The Tiger King couple had entered the house yesterday, but they were not released today. Little girl, please let me out. The Dark Tiger King kept on transmitting his voice to Leng Ruoxue. It was so noisy that Leng Ruoxue could not stand it anymore. She directly blocked off the house from the outside world before her heart finally calmed down. Just like that, Leng Ruoxue and Xiao Bing walked slowly. After close to 10 days, they finally arrived at the Nightless City. When they entered the Nightless City, it was daytime, and there were very few pedestrians in the city. However, there were two extremely ugly old men who were particularly eye-catching, because they were like ants on a hot pan, constantly walking back and forth at the city gate. My good daughter. You've finally come. Your father has been waiting for you for many days. A tall and ugly old man gave Leng Ruoxue a bear hug the moment he saw her. He pulled Leng Ruoxue into his arms and said with tears flowing down his face. My good granddaughter. Grandpa has missed you so much. The other old man pulled Leng Ruoxue out of the arms of the old man who claimed to be her father and said with tears in his eyes. When the two of them saw Leng Ruoxue, they were extremely excited. Leng Ruoxue was only stunned for a moment before she called out sweetly, Grandpa, Father. Why are you guys here? These two people were none other than the master of the Ning family and the first elder of the Craftsman's Guild who had taken the disguise pill. We missed you. The two of them said in unison. Then, the master of the Ning family explained, I heard from your sister that you're going to Nightless City to see fireflies. We're worried, so we followed you to see. Oh. Big sister is home already? Leng Ruoxue asked on purpose. We're home. Your sister's business is all done. But you, why are you so slow? The master of the Ning family asked. I'm sick of flying beasts. So, we walked here. This is already considered fast. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile, but she was a little depressed in her heart. After nearly 10 days, she still couldn't get rid of this guy. She was really a failure. Even though she had thought of entering the bracelet and never coming out, she was afraid that Xiao Bing would become even more suspicious. After all, Xiao Bing was keeping a close eye on her. If she went missing for no reason, it would only make him more suspicious. So, she could only swallow her anger and follow Xiao Bing on the journey. Fortunately, Xiao Bing had been well behaved along the way. Otherwise, she would not mind making him the first eunuch in the Divine Master's estate. AI. My poor child. You must be exhausted. The master of the Ning family said with heartache. His goddaughter had really put in a lot of effort to get rid of that Xiao Bing. However, it did not seem to have any effect, because he had already felt a probing gaze. It's all right. It's all thanks to Sir Xiao Bing's care along the way. Leng Ruoxue had not forgotten about Xiao Bing's existence. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Xiao Bing smiled apologetically and said, Miss Leng is too polite. This is what I should do. How is this what you should do? Don't talk nonsense, my daughter is not married yet. If you can't get married, you'll have to take responsibility. The master of the Ning family said unhappily. He was really angered by Xiao Bing's words. As his father, he couldn't stand any young man saying that it was his duty to take care of his daughter. Wasn't that clearly trying to snatch his daughter away from him? This was preposterous. If Miss Leng really can't get married because of this, I'm willing to take responsibility. Xiao Bing seized the opportunity and said rudely. You wish. The master of the Ning family was even angrier. He really didn't expect Xiao Bing to be so thick-skinned, but now that he thought about it, it seemed that his words were a little inappropriate, but words that had been said were like water that had been spilled. Even if he wanted to take them back, he couldn't, so he could only sulk alone. When Leng Ruoxue heard their conversation, the black lines on her forehead immediately slid down. Although she was a little angry, she was smart enough not to interrupt. Otherwise, it would only make things worse. In fact, Xiao Bing had his own reasons for saying that. He had been looking at the two old men for a long time, but he couldn't tell what their cultivation levels were. He couldn't help but feel puzzled, and there were only two possibilities if he couldn't tell. One was that they had equipment that could hide their cultivation levels, and the other was that their cultivation levels were higher than his. He would rather not be able to see through the cultivation base of the two old men because they had equipment that could hide their cultivation base than to see their cultivation base above his. He was already an immortal emperor. If their cultivation base was higher than his, it was self-evident what kind of strength they had. Therefore, he spared no effort in saying such ambiguous words to test their cultivation base. However, the other party didn't seem to be fooled. Other than being a little angry, there was no other reaction. Thinking of this, he could only continue to add fire. I'm serious. I'm already a divine emperor. I should be worthy of Miss Leng. Xiao Bing said confidently. Who knew that the master of the Ning family would just look at Xiao Bing indifferently, then turn to Leng Ruoxue and say, Shui. Let's go and ignore this lunatic. This time, he couldn't even be bothered to be angry. He had lived for so long, if he couldn't even see through this little trick of the other party, then wouldn't he have lived in vain? Right. My good granddaughter. Let's go. The first elder said. Then, the two of them escorted Leng Ruoxue and headed towards the inn they had booked. Seeing this, Xiaobing wasn't angry, but followed behind the three of them. In short, it wasn't easy to get rid of him. After entering the inn, Master Ning and First Elder pulled Leng Ruoxue into a room. Then, they glared at Leng Ruoxue with anger. No one spoke first. When Leng Ruoxue saw their expressions, she could only put on an obedient look and let them stare at her. However, she would occasionally show her grievances. Finally, the master of the Ning family couldn't bear it anymore. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he said in an unpleasant tone, "You're actually feeling wronged. Damned girl, do you know how impetuous you were? If Xiaobing really had bad intentions towards you, we wouldn't even be able to see you now." Ugh. What he meant was that Xiaobing might have taken Xue somewhere. That brat had ill intentions towards Xue from the start. However, it's a good thing he hasn't done anything yet. The first elder added fuel to the fire. From his tone, one could hear a trace of dissatisfaction towards Leng Ruoxue. "Godfather, Grandpa, I know you're worried about me, but I know what I'm doing," Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. She had many ways to escape, but she would not use them unless she had no other choice. She knew that Godfather and First Elder would be worried about her because of this, but now was not the time to reveal her trump card. After all, one had to have some secrets. "Wretched girl. What did you call him?" Suddenly, the master of the Ning family pointed at the great elder and questioned him angrily. Grandpa. What's wrong?" Leng Ruoxue was at a complete loss. Her godfather seemed to be even angrier. "That's right. What's wrong with Xue calling me grandfather?" The great elder chuckled provocatively, but he couldn't help but wonder if he should thank that Xiaobing. If it wasn't for Xue wanting to get rid of him, he wouldn't have had the chance to be his grandfather. "Xue You're not allowed to call him grandfather," the master of the Ning family ordered. At this moment, his mind was filled with the word grandfather from Leng Ruoxue's mouth. How could he still be bothered about what had happened before? On what basis? You were the one who agreed for me to appear as Xue's grandfather. Without waiting for Leng Ruoxue's reaction, First Elder roared in dissatisfaction. This damned old man was clearly burning the bridge after crossing the river. They had a good deal at home. One was a godfather and the other was a grandfather. However, now that he had found Xue he actually turned his back on her. How preposterous. This definitely can't happen. I didn't say you're not allowed to be Xue's grandfather. I just don't allow Xue to call you grandfather. The master of the Ning family emphasized that this stinky old man calling himself grandfather and Xue calling him were two completely different things. So, in order to protect his own interests, he would never allow this to happen. Is there a difference? The great elder was confused. There's a big difference, the master of the Ning family said fiercely. As Leng Ruoxue listened to their conversation, the black lines on her forehead slid down uncontrollably. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Her godfather and the great elder had actually forgotten to continue scolding her just because of the matter of how they addressed her. But this was good too. She could finally catch her breath. However, things were not as good as Leng Ruoxue had thought. Master Ning and the great elder argued for a while before he turned his attention back to Leng Ruoxue and continued to ramble on and on. After a long time, Leng Ruoxue was about to fall asleep from the scolding, and Master Ning finally stopped. The parched master of the Ning family and the great elder, who had been fanning the flames, picked up the teacups on the table and drank it all in one gulp. Then, the two of them stared at Leng Ruoxue, eyes wide open. From their long talk, Leng Ruoxue knew that Ning Yen had already brought the grapes and lotus seeds back to the Ning family. When they heard that she was with Xiaobing, her godfather and great elder rushed over immediately. They stayed in the nightless city for almost 10 days because they did not expect Leng Ruoxue to arrive so slowly. These days, they had been worried that Leng Ruoxue would be bullied and be hurt. Now that they saw her, they were all worried. Naturally, they wanted to vent out all the dissatisfaction in their hearts. Hence, Leng Ruoxue, who knew she was in the wrong, did not stop them. Godfather. How's the family competition? Leng Ruoxue let out a soft sigh and changed the topic. The middle stage of the competition should have ended by now, but she didn't see it. All of this was caused by that annoying fellow, Xiaobing. So, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but feel a trace of resentment towards him from the bottom of her heart. Ning Shan and Ning Hai, those two little guys, have performed well. They've already entered the final stage of the competition. If we can hurry back as soon as possible, we should be able to see the final match. The master of the Ning family knew what Xue wanted to ask, so he didn't keep her in suspense and told her directly. In fact, after Xue's accident, he had originally wanted to postpone the family competition, but considering that it had already been suspended once, he did not do so this time. Otherwise, the Ning family's clansmen would be overthinking things again. That's good. Leng Ruoxue nodded. My good granddaughter. How do you plan to get rid of Xiaobing? It seems like Xiaobing is planning to pester you. At this time, the first elder asked worriedly, and even deliberately emphasized the words, good granddaughter. His eyes also faintly floated to the master of the Ning family, hee. Old man Ning had agreed to this, so of course he had to call out to his heart's content. I don't know. I've tried a lot along the way, and I've also hinted that I'll go home after seeing the fireflies, but he ignored me. Leng Ruoxue felt a headache coming on. From the beginning to the end, Xiaobing had never believed her and had even been testing her, trying to find out more about her. So, she really didn't know how to deal with Xiaobing, who was like a sticky candy. Shui. If it really doesn't work, we'll just cut him off. The master of the Ning family made a gesture of cutting his throat and said with a ruthless face. Godfather. If we kill Xiaobing, we'll have offended the Divine Master's estate, and we'll probably have to face them head-on. Leng Ruoxue asked worriedly. To the Divine World, the God Lord's estate was a colossal existence. If the Ning family was the king of the Divine World, then the God Lord's estate would be the emperor of the entire Divine World. Furthermore, there would definitely be countless experts in the God Lord's estate. Therefore, the God Lord's estate was not something that she could afford to provoke at the moment. Even the Ning family's chances of winning against the God Lord's estate were not high. Hence, she did not approve of a conflict with the God Lord's estate now. Shui. The immortal realm is huge, and if Xiaobing dies, it won't be too soon for them to trace it back to us. However, if we really want to kill him, we have to be fully prepared. First Elder said after some thought. Godfather, Great Elder, Nightless City is too close to the Ning family's divine realm. If something happens to Xiaobing here, not only will the City Lord not be able to escape, but the Divine Lord's estate will also target the Ning family's divine realm. Although the Divine Lord's estate won't have any evidence that we killed Xiaobing, it's not a good thing to be targeted by them. Leng Ruoxue analyzed. She wasn't a saint who would think for others in everything, but she didn't want to implicate the people of Nightless City. More importantly, Nightless City was attached to the Ning family's divine realm. If something really happened to the people of the God Lord's estate in Nightless City, the Ning family's divine realm wouldn't be able to get away with it. I really can't. We'll just divert the disaster. The master of the Ning family laughed evilly, his face sinister. Old man, where are you trying to draw the trouble? The Grand Elder asked curiously. How's the Yao clan? Master Ning said with a smile. I think it's fine. The First Elder nodded seriously with a gloating expression. Leng Ruoxue looked at how excited her godfather and Great Elder were and could not bear to dampen their spirits. However, she could not help but pity the Yao family. Poor Yao family. Why are you so tired of Godfather's eyes? In fact, she was also clear that although the relationship between the 8 great divine regions seemed to be close, in reality, there were many contradictions in the light and in the dark. Things like dragging each other down happened from time to time. Moreover, the Yao family, as the second largest family, had always been envious of the Ning family and had secretly caused trouble for them. At the same time, the Yao family was also the biggest thorn in the Ning family's side. Hence, it was only natural that Godfather wanted to lure Xiaobing to the Yao family's territory. However, he did not know if Xiaobing would fall for it. Then it's decided. Tomorrow, we'll go to the Yao family's divine territory for a stroll. Master Ning couldn't hide the pride on his face, and he was even more narcissistic in his heart. How could he be so smart? He really admired himself. Godfather. How far is the Yao family's god domain from here? Leng Ruoxue could not help but ask. If we're fast, we'll be there in 5 days. Master Ning's face revealed a wretched smile, and he was also a little excited in his heart. He had wanted to deal with that old thing in the Yao family for a long time. Today, he finally found an opportunity to add some trouble to the Yao family. He believed that after this matter was done, the Yao family would not be able to rest for a while. 5 days? Then wouldn't the round trip take 10 days? Would we still be able to make it in time for the clan competition? Leng Ruoxue asked. Don't worry. The final stage of the competition would take at least half a month. This doesn't even include the rest time in between, so we have enough time. The master of the Ning family frowned and calculated before saying. But, I told Xiaobing that flying beasts would faint. We can't just walk to the Yao family's divine realm. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with innocence. She blinked her beautiful eyes and stared at the 2 old men in front of her. If we were to walk, it would probably take at least half a year to get there. The master of the Ning family said seriously. Damn old man. Now is not the time for you to joke. When the Great Elder heard the Ning family master's words, he glared at him unhappily, then said, it's just making flying beasts dizzy. This was not a big deal. If Xiaobing asks, you can just say that you ate a beast stun pill. Animal knockout powder? There's such a thing? Leng Ruoxue had a look of surprise on her face. She had heard of medicine for motion sickness and seasickness, but this was the first time she had heard of medicine for beast sickness. Of course not. However, you can just make up something to fool him. The First Elder disapprovingly said. Alright. Leng Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and agreed. We'll head to the Yao clan's divine domain tomorrow morning. Have a good rest. The master of the Ning family made the final decision, and then he said, Shui, girl, take out your house. Let's go in and sleep. It's going to be very noisy outside. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She then took out the house and placed it in the spacious living room. The living room was very large. It seemed that his godfather had already prepared it. After taking out the house, the master of the Ning family and the Great Elder walked straight in. As for Leng Ruoxue, she was lying on the bed in the inn. When night fell, Leng Ruoxue left the room on purpose to put on a good show. She planned to go see the fireflies, and as expected, she saw Xiaobing waiting for her. Miss Leng, did you sleep well? Outside the room, Xiaobing, who was leaning against the corridor wall, greeted Leng Ruoxue with a faint smile. Not good. I don't like the bed. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. She then continued, Mr. Xiaobing, father and grandfather are bringing me home tomorrow. Oh. May I know where Miss Leng's home is? Perhaps we can go the same way. Xiaobing said with a smile. After hearing Xiaobing's words, Leng Ruoxue was extremely depressed. How could Xiaobing be so thick-skinned? Leng Ruoxue had already said that she was going home, yet she still wanted to go the same way as her. However, this was also within her expectations, so Leng Ruoxue only grumbled in her heart. She then chuckled and said, my home is in the Yao family's god domain. May I know what is the relationship between Miss Leng and the Yao family? Xiaobing asked as he searched for the news of the smaller clans in the Yao clan's divine realm, but to no avail. I have nothing to do with the Yao family. We're just living in the Yao family's divine realm. Leng Ruoxue's lips curled into a smile as she replied indifferently. Oh. Xiaobing replied softly. After saying that, he felt a little frustrated. There were many small and medium-sized clans in the Yao clan's divine realm, but Leng Ruoxue said that they had nothing to do with the Yao clan. Was this possible? The families in the Yao family's divine realm were basically dependent on the Yao family for survival. Otherwise, the Yao family wouldn't have allowed you to live in the Yao family's divine realm. Hence, his intuition told him that Leng Ruoxue was lying to him again. I know what Sir Xiaobing is thinking, but my family only has my grandfather, father, and sister. The Yao family won't like us, and we're only temporarily staying in the Yao family's divine realm. Once we have a fixed place to stay, we'll leave that place. Leng Ruoxue, who had seen through Xiaobing's thoughts, explained with a forced smile. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, the doubts in Xiaobing's heart were slightly relieved. However, he did not completely believe Leng Ruoxue's words, because his intuition told him that the three of them had a secret. Miss Leng, I'm also going to the Yao clan's divine realm. Let's go together tomorrow. After a moment of silence, Xiaobing finally spoke. Actually, he did not have to follow Leng Ruoxue and the other two, but he was too suspicious. He felt that Leng Ruoxue was a mystery, so the more confused he was, the more he wanted to find out. All right. Leng Ruoxue nodded, then turned around and went downstairs. Xiaobing naturally followed. Their room was on the second floor. The first floor was the hotel lobby and the dining room. After Leng Ruoxue went downstairs, she went to the dining room to have something to eat before leaving the hotel. Xiaobing followed by her side. As she walked on the streets of the nightless city and looked at the people walking to and fro, she thought about the time bomb that was following her. No matter what, Leng Ruoxue couldn't bring herself to be happy. However, it was a good thing that Xiaobing didn't talk much. Otherwise, she would be even more depressed. After a long time, Leng Ruoxue felt that it was about time. Sir Xiaobing, it's getting late. We still have to head to the Yao clan's divine domain tomorrow. Why don't we return to the inn earlier to rest? Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she reminded him. Xiaobing nodded. The reason why he followed them out was to keep an eye on Leng Ruoxue. Since Leng Ruoxue was going back, there was no reason for him to continue loitering around on the streets. After returning to the inn, Leng Ruoxue greeted Xiaobing and returned to her room. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she entered her room. Acting was quite tiring, especially when the opponent was a difficult character. The next morning, after Leng Ruoxue and her two grandparents had their breakfast, they planned to head to the Yao clan's divine realm. Standing at the door of the inn, the master of the Ning family looked at Xiaobing and said with a smirk, Mr. Xiaobing, can I borrow your flying beast? When our flying beasts came here, they flew too fast and got tired. In fact, he was afraid that Xiaobing would recognize him if he took out his flying beast, so he had no choice but to target Xiaobing. Who asked that guy to stick to them? I can. Xiaobing had no choice but to summon his flying beast. His flying beast was a huge flying bear. It was almost 3 meters tall and its entire body was yellow in color. It was a level 8 Saint God beast and had a pair of golden wings that were slightly thinner than the flying bear. When Leng Ruoxue saw the flying bear, she almost laughed out loud. This was because it was a pair of wings on a bear's body. No matter how she looked at it, it was comical. Furthermore, she was very suspicious. With the bear's weight, could it even fly? Don't worry. Feifei's flying speed is very fast and very stable. Seeing through Leng Ruoxue's thoughts, Xiaobing said with a helpless expression. Are you sure it won't fall from the sky? Not only did Xiaobing's words not make Leng Ruoxue feel at ease, she even asked him directly. I definitely won't. Xiaobing looked helpless and did not know what to say. Beauty. I'll make you comfortable. Don't worry. The giant bear, Feifei, saw that Leng Ruoxue did not trust it, so it promised her. However, it was fine if it did not say anything, but once it did, it would shock everyone with its words. When Leng Ruoxue heard Feifei's words, black lines appeared on her forehead. She thought to herself, could it be that one is marked by one's proximity to vermilion and one is marked by one's proximity to ink? Did it learn from its master to say such fantasizing words? At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue's beautiful eyes could not help but drift toward Xiaobing. Her probing and suspicious gaze made Xiaobing's face turn red, as if it was on fire. Feifei means that it'll be very comfortable to sit on it. Don't misunderstand. Xiaobing quickly explained, but after he said that, he felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Oh. Leng Ruoxue deliberately dragged her words and looked at Xiao Bing with a half-smile, then at the giant bear who seemed to be embarrassed. She came to an important conclusion: a beast takes after its master. A crooked upper beam will have a crooked lower beam. It's late. Let's get on our way. Xiao Bing said awkwardly. Then, he recalled that Leng Ruoxue had mentioned that she would be fazed by beasts. He looked at Leng Ruoxue worriedly and said, Miss Leng, what are you going to do? What's wrong? Fei Fei asked curiously. Fei Fei. Young Lady Leng can make flying beasts faint. Xiao Bing explained to his pet. Oh. Then I'll fly slower. Fei Fei looked at Leng Ruoxue with sympathy. Poor little beauty. Why would she faint on a flying beast? No need, I've already taken a beast vertigo pill. Leng Ruoxue said. She was secretly glad that she was prepared. Otherwise, she really didn't know how to deal with this. Beast vertigo pill? What's that? Xiao Bing's face was filled with confusion and big question marks. His pair of black and bright eyes were staring at Leng Ruoxue without blinking, as if he was saying, open my eyes. This is it. If Sir Xiao Bing is interested, you can try one. Leng Ruoxue took out a black pill from her bracelet and handed it to Xiao Bing. Xiao Bing took the pill and sniffed it. He was surprised to find that the pill was stinky. Although the smell was not obvious, he could not pretend that he could not smell it. This is the beast vertigo pill? Why is it stinky? Xiao Bing's handsome face was filled with disbelief, but he knew how to ask shamelessly. It's stinky. Once you eat it, you won't have the mood to think about other things. That's why it's effective against fainting beasts. Leng Ruoxue's mind was spinning as she made up a story. Actually, that wasn't a beast vertigo pill. That pill was a stinky pill that she usually used to prank people. The reason why she had taken it out to fool people was because she knew that even an alchemist who was proficient in alchemy would not know what a stinky pill was. In the immortal realm, there was no one who really suffered from beast phobia, so even if Xiao Bing wanted to find someone to test the pill on, he would not be able to find anything. Of course, there would still be a stench, and it would not be removed in a short period of time. Sir Xiao Bing, do you want to compensate me? Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. No need. I don't have beast phobia. Xiao Bing said hurriedly. He did not dare to eat anything carelessly. What if something really happened? Moreover, the pill stench was somewhat unacceptable to him. What a pity. Leng Ruoxue felt a little regretful. Let's go. Xiao Bing said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Leng Ruoxue and the other two nodded and sat on Fei Fei's back. The fur on Fei Fei's back was very thick. It was indeed very comfortable to sit on, as it had said. However, Fei Fei was clearly a chatterbox. After it took off, its mouth did not stop. Furthermore, it kept calling Leng Ruoxue a beauty. Leng Ruoxue was both angry and amused when she heard it. However, she could not be too calculative with a big stupid bear, so she could only pretend that she had not heard it. Beauty. Why are you ignoring me? Seeing that it was being ignored by Leng Ruoxue, Fei Fei turned its head around and said with a face full of hidden bitterness. Focus on flying. Be careful, you might hit the tree. Leng Ruoxue reminded. The trees in the immortal realm were all tall and straight, and many of them even shot up into the sky. Hence, if one was not careful while flying, it was possible that one would crash into a tree. Who knew that just as she finished speaking, she heard of a bang, followed by a violent shaking. Then, a few leaves fell on Leng Ruoxue's body. Previous chapter. Next. Fei Fei really did crash into a tree. Leng Ruoxue almost laughed out loud when she saw the big bright bump on its head. Was she a jinx? Fei Fei, who had crashed into a huge tree, endured the pain and steadied its body. Then, it continued to look at Leng Ruoxue with a face full of resentment and slowly said in a wrong tone, Beauty. You have to compensate me. What does it have to do with me? I'm not the one who bumped into you. You can go ask it for compensation. Leng Ruoxue pointed at a giant tree not far away. It's not a beauty. Besides, I bumped into the tree because I turned around to talk to you. That's why you should make it up to me. Although Fei Fei was a bear, it was quite smart. It naturally knew that if something happened, it had to find the culprit. Did I ask you to turn around and talk to me? Leng Ruoxue was bewildered. No, I didn't, Fei Fei whispered. Since that's the case, you can just ask it for compensation. Leng Ruoxue reminded. But I just want you to compensate me. Fei Fei said shamelessly. Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. You can go look for whoever hit you. Leng Ruoxue rolled her eyes at Fei Fei. After she finished speaking, she turned around and did not look at it anymore. Fei Fei glared at Leng Ruoxue for a long while. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue had no reaction and its master looked like he was waiting for a good show, it sighed and resigned itself to its fate. This time, it finally closed its mouth. Actually, it was not that it did not want to talk anymore, but no one would bother with it even if it did. Sob. It was a bear that was despised by others. After 5 days of traveling, Leng Ruoxue and the rest finally reached the Yao clan's divine territory. Although the Yao family's god domain was ranked second among the 8 god domains, its size was not any smaller than the Ning family's god domain. In recent years, it even showed signs of surpassing the Ning family's god domain. The biggest reason for this was the Yao family's competitive ancestor. Fei Fei carried Leng Ruoxue and the rest and landed outside a small border city that belonged to the Yao clan's divine territory. This city was located at the very edge of the Yao family's divine territory. As it was quite far from the main city and there were very few people living in the city, it did not seem as luxurious as the other cities in the Yao family's divine territory. However, this city had a rather pleasant name, 100-Bird City. It was said that this 100-Bird City had a long history in the divine world, and its age was uncountable. This name was also passed down from the ancient times and had been used until today. Even compared to the main city of the Yao family, this 100-Bird City was an ancient city worthy of its name. However, the location of this 100-Bird City was too remote, so it was not valued by the Yao family. Leng Ruoxue and the rest walked into the city on foot. As they walked along the streets of 100-Bird City and looked at the antique-looking buildings, Master Ning couldn't help but exclaim, "This 100-Bird City is indeed an ancient city. It has a strong cultural atmosphere." As an ancient city, there would naturally be unforgettable things. However, with outsiders present, he could only sigh and not comment. However, the great elder did not have his concern. So what? In the eyes of the Yao clan, this city is of no value. The first elder curled his lips and said in disdain. "Ai. What a pity." The master of the Ning family looked regretful. He couldn't help but think to himself, why did such a valuable ancient city have to be in the Yao family's divine realm? Wasn't that a waste of God's gift? What's there to pity? This city is old. It's time to let it rest. The first elder sighed. When Leng Ruoxue heard their conversation, she naturally knew what they were thinking. Her godfather and great elder had lived for God knows how long, so it was only natural for them to have a deep impression of these things that existed in their memories. It was a pity that the divine world was not the world she was in her past life, so they knew the value of cultural relics. Furthermore, these things happened to belong to the Yao family, so they probably didn't care about it. Otherwise, why would they let this ancient city be so deserted? And this 100-Bird City, compared to the other cities she had seen before, was indeed a little old, even not comparable to the Nightless City. Ai. Shua. Let's go home. After the master of the Ning family sighed, he told everyone that he had asked his subordinates to buy a house, which happened to be located in the 100-Bird City. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Then, they followed the master of the Ning family to a house. This house was located in the northwest of 100-Bird City, less than 1,000 meters away from the city lord's mansion. It was in a very good location, and it faced south. Although it was just an ordinary house, the courtyard was full of flowers, looking particularly warm. After entering the courtyard, the master of the Ning family ordered someone to take Xiao Bing to the guest room, and they went back to their own rooms. After a simple rest, the master of the Ning family held a banquet to entertain Xiao Bing. During the banquet, Xiao Bing actually asked about Ning Yan's whereabouts, but he was simply pushed away by Leng Ruoxue. For the next few days, Leng Ruoxue also used cultivation as an excuse to hide in her room, avoiding Xiao Bing. Xiao Bing, who was staying in the guest courtyard, could not figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. Not only was he unable to see Leng Ruoxue, but he could also not see her grandfather and father. Xiao Bing, who was bored to death, walked out of the courtyard and was about to try looking for Leng Ruoxue and the others. Suddenly, a golden bird descended from the sky and landed on his shoulder. It spoke in the human language, "Sir Xiao Bing, the Divine Master has ordered you to return to the Divine Master's estate immediately." After saying that, the golden bird turned into nothingness and disappeared without a trace. This little golden bird was the Divine Master's unique communication method. No matter where he was, as long as he was still alive, he could find him. Moreover, this method was only used by the Divine Master. Even if others wanted to imitate it, they wouldn't have the chance. However, he couldn't understand why the Divine Master would summon him back at this time. However, since the Divine Master had already given the order, he naturally did not dare to delay. Even though he was a little unwilling, he could only leave this place. As for that Leng Ruoxue, he would find out more about her when he had the chance. Thinking of this, he strode towards the main courtyard. Xiao Bing was stopped by a man who claimed to be the butler as soon as he entered the main courtyard. "Mr. Xiao Bing, my lady is still cultivating." Ning Shan, who was disguised as the butler, said with a guarded expression. "I know. I want to see your master." Xiao Bing said helplessly. The butler was guarding against him as if he was a thief, and he really didn't know how he had offended him. "Is there anything I can help you with, Sir Xiao Bing?" "My master is taking an afternoon nap," Ning Shan said. "I'm here to bid farewell." Xiao Bing told the truth. What he didn't know was that his decision to leave had saved him from a fatal disaster. "Sir Xiao Bing is leaving?" Ning Shan was shocked. If Xiao Bing left, wouldn't their arrangements be in vain? The reason why they hadn't made a move for the past few days was to confuse Xiao Bing so that they wouldn't alert the enemy. However, now that the snake that they had set up was about to leave, their efforts would be in vain. Previous chapter. Next chapter. The God Lord's mansion has an important matter. The God Lord has ordered me to return as soon as possible. Xiao Bing explained. Actually, he didn't need to explain to a butler, but after spending these few days together, he knew very well that if he didn't make things clear, the butler would never let him see the master of the Leng family. Ai. He, Xiao Bing, could get whatever he wanted in the Divine Lord's manor, but now he had to listen to a butler. What was going on? In that case, I'll inform my master. Please wait a moment, Mr. Xiao Bing. After Ning Shan finished speaking, she unwillingly entered her master's room. In the room. Hearing Ning Shan's words, the master of the Ning family had a serious and unwilling expression. When Leng Ruoxue saw her godfather's expression, she chuckled and said, "Godfather. Wasn't it good that he was leaving? We'll save a lot of trouble. Then we've come to the Yao family's divine realm for nothing. I've been setting it up for several days, but I didn't use it. I'm not satisfied. The master of the Ning family said in frustration. In fact, the reason he wanted to kill Xiao Bing was that he was too difficult to deal with. Other than that, he didn't do anything too much to Shuai. However, if he could get rid of Xiao Bing and frame the Yao family, wouldn't that be perfect? Right now, he seemed to be more depressed that he couldn't frame the Yao family, and he didn't care about Xiao Bing's life or death. Godfather, are you not willing to let the Yao family live a carefree life? Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. The master of the Ning family nodded without any courtesy. That's easy. Leng Ruoxue said with a smirk. Then, she whispered a few words into Master Ning's ear. In an instant, Master Ning revealed a wretched smile. Hee hee. Shuai. You are indeed my goddaughter. We'll do as you say. Master Ning nodded with a smile. Shuai's idea was great. He didn't have to kill Xiao Bing, but he could still frame the Yao family. Then, Godfather, please send Xiao Bing away. Leng Ruoxue urged. Good. I'll go see him now. Master Ning left the room in a hurry. First Elder and Ning Shan, who were left in the room, saw that the master of the Ning family was suddenly excited. They were also very curious. Their eyes were fixed on Leng Ruoxue, as if they wanted to get an answer from her. However, Leng Ruoxue kept them in suspense and told them that they would know in a while. After a while, the master of the Ning family sent Xiao Bing off and returned to his room. Then, he told Ning Shan about his arrangements. Then, Ning Shan left with a strange smile on her face. Late at night, Leng Ruoxue and the rest left the house that they had only stayed in for a few days. Before they left, they even set a fire. At the same time, Xiao Bing, who had just left 100 Bird City, was on his way. He, who was lying on Feifei's body, suddenly staggered and almost fell off. At this moment, Feifei was flying in the air. If he fell, even if he didn't get crushed, he would be seriously injured. Therefore, he was extremely angry and was about to reprimand Feifei when he found that he was surrounded. There were dozens of people surrounding him, and they were all dressed in black, with unfriendly smiles on their faces. Moreover, they were all sitting on flying beasts. However, these men in black were obviously trained and were not like those ordinary bandits who robbed houses. From their looks, they looked more like guards of some family. However, most of the guards in the families in the divinity wore black, so Xiao Bing could not tell where they came from. After calming himself down, Xiao Bing slowly said, "Who are you people? What do you want to do? You're so bold. How dare you fly above our Yao family's god domain?" The leader of the black men glared at Xiao Bing angrily. The other men in black shared the same hatred and glared at Xiao Bing. Xiao Bing was relieved to hear the leader's words. As long as these people were not bandits, it would be much easier to deal with them. After all, he was a member of the Divine Lord's Manor. These people would not dare to disrespect the Divine Lord's Manor. "You are the guards of the Yao clan?" Xiao Bing asked despite knowing the answer. "So what if I am? Don't even think about trying to get close to us. Even if he's the emperor, he can't fly in the sky above our Yao family's god realm." The leader of the men in black shouted in a bad mood. "I'm Xiao Bing from the Divine Master's estate. I'm going back to the Divine Master's mansion under the Divine Master's order. Please make it convenient for me. This is my token." As Xiao Bing spoke, he took out a golden token. The two words, Xiao Bing, were engraved on the front of the token, while the totem of the Divine Lord's Manor was on the back. The leader of the men in black looked at the token and said with a smile, "It really is the token of the Divine Lord's estate. However, even if you are a member of the Divine Lord's estate, you can't fly in the sky above the Yao family's divine territory." "Oh, really? Didn't your patriarch tell you that the token of the Divine Master's estate has special privileges no matter where it is?" Xiao Bing laughed coldly as he became even more dissatisfied with the Yao family. The Yao family had gone too far. They dared to make things difficult for the people of the God Lord's estate. Didn't they know that the entire divine world was under the jurisdiction of the God Lord's estate? Everyone in the divinity had to listen to the orders of the God Lord's estate, but now, the Yao family had openly opposed the God Lord's estate. They were overestimating themselves. In the divine realm, although there was no written rule that flying beasts were not allowed when traveling through lands with owners, out of respect for the owners, everyone would tacitly agree to leave the city by walking or rent a beast carriage in the city. The act of riding a flying beast could also be regarded as a form of provocation to the owner. In the 8 great divine realms, almost all of the top forces had clearly stated that such behavior was prohibited. Therefore, Xiao Bing's behavior was very inappropriate. However, he was in a hurry to get back to the Divine Lord's estate, and he had the Divine Lord's support, so he naturally didn't care about this rule. Now that he was suddenly stopped, and the other party obviously didn't take his identity seriously, he couldn't help but feel a great sense of disappointment. The dissatisfaction in his heart grew, and his face gradually darkened. However, even so, it didn't have much of an effect on the man in black. "I don't know what privileges the token of the Divine Master's estate has," the man in black said with a smile. "I only know that you have violated the city rules of the Yao family." The leader of the men in black didn't give him any face, and this made Xiao Bing, who was already in a bad mood, even more furious. He squinted his eyes and glared at the men in black in front of him, and released a trace of pressure. However, the man in black in front of him didn't change his expression. Instead, he looked at Xiao Bing provocatively, as if to say, "Your pressure is useless against us." Xiao Bing was furious. He had never been a kind person. Previously, when he was with Leng Ruoxue and the others, he had concealed his true nature. Other than trying to figure out Leng Ruoxue's identity, it was also because Leng Ruoxue was a rare beauty. As a man, he would naturally have some tender and protective thoughts towards women, and he was no exception. However, before he could figure out Leng Ruoxue's situation, he was summoned back by the Divine Master. Of course, he was not happy about it. In addition, the Yao family's guards were not blind. They knew that he was from the Divine Master's estate, but they still wanted to find trouble with him. This made the anger in his heart multiply. He could show Leng Ruoxue mercy, but there was no need for him to do so to the Yao family guards. "You're all looking for death," Xiao Bing said coldly with his eyes half closed. "Yo! Are you threatening us? This is the Yao family's territory. You're courting death by threatening the Yao family's people in the Yao family's divine realm," the leader of the men in black warned. "It is. Boss. He couldn't leave the Yao family's divine realm alive. We have to let him know the power of our Yao family, humph. The God Lord's estate is nothing." The other man in black agreed with a look of disdain. His words resonated with the other men in black, and they all burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha. You have to be punished for breaking the rules of our Yao family's divine realm. We don't care who you are." After the men in black had enough of laughing, they said in unison. Some of them even flashed the weapons in their hands. The bright light pierced Xiao Bing's eyes. With a thought, a long sword appeared in his hand. At the same time, he sent a message to the Divine Master's residence. Then, he waved the long sword in his hand, and a light blue sword light flew toward the leader of the men in black. Xiao Bing made the first move. He was very clear on the principle of capturing the leader first to capture the bandits, so his first target was the annoying leader of the men in black. Moreover, the two of them seemed to be on par in terms of strength, so as long as he killed the leader, the others were not a threat at all. Seeing that Xiao Bing had made his move, the leader of the men in black calmly dodged the sword light. He then gave a look to his subordinates, and instantly, a number of multicolored godly skills were launched at Xiao Bing. Feifei, who was under Xiao Bing's feet, quickly cast a defensive barrier around its master. The rainbow-colored godly skills did not even have the chance to reach Xiao Bing before they were absorbed by a pale yellow defensive barrier. When the men in black saw this, they were really envious, jealous, and hateful. This fat bear's defense was just too abnormal, and it was also a level 8 saint god beast. As a result, it was very difficult for them to break through its defense in a short time, and this made them quite unwilling. "Captain. What do we do now?" One of the men in black whispered to Xiao Bing in a low voice. "We're going to fight to the death. Otherwise, how can we face the head of the family?" The leader of the men in black said angrily. After he finished speaking, he threw a black ball the size of a baby's fist in Xiao Bing's direction. When the men in black saw this, they quickly kept a safe distance from Xiao Bing. Xiao Bing sneered as he looked at the man in black's childish behavior, feeling contempt in his heart. In the immortal realm, Feifei's defense might not be the best, but it was definitely in the top 10. So, no matter what they did, he would not be afraid. This was also the trump card that allowed him to fight against so many people at once. Therefore, he really didn't care about that small black ball. Also, according to his guess, that thing should be a bomb. However, after waiting for a while, he didn't see the thing explode. Instead, he smelled an unpleasant smell rising from his surroundings. Wah! It was so smelly. "You guys are so bad, do you want to suffocate Feifei to death?" Feifei couldn't take it anymore and screamed, covering its nose with one of its huge claws. Slowly, its body became stiff and numb. It shook its body for some reason, but it forgot that it was in the air, and Xiao Bing, who was on its back, fell straight down without any preparation. "Arg! Master!" Feifei, who felt that something was wrong, shouted loudly again. "Damn you, Feifei!" Xiao Bing bellowed and quickly reached out an arm to grab Feifei's long hair, hanging it in the air. However, this way, he was completely exposed to the men in black and became a live target. "Hee hee. Brothers. Please entertain the guests of the Divine Lord's estate." The leader of the men in black laughed evilly, and at his command, dozens of divine skills flew toward Xiao Bing. This time, without the protection of Feifei's defensive barrier, those beautiful and dazzling divine skills landed directly on Xiao Bing's body. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Bing was covered in wounds and in a sorry state. Seeing the injuries on his body, the anger in Xiao Bing's heart surged. He subconsciously grabbed onto Feifei's long hair and held his sword with one hand. He held his breath and was about to counterattack when he suddenly realized that the men in black who had surrounded him had disappeared. Damn it! Where were those people hiding? Xiao Bing's bright black eyes searched around, but he couldn't find a single clue. "Xiao Bing. Are you alright?" Suddenly, a loud voice rang in Xiao Bing's ears. He raised his head and saw the man in red, who was looking at him with a smile. The anger in his heart grew because this man was none other than his rival, Jin Yang. However, at this moment, he also knew why the men in black had suddenly disappeared. "What do you think?" Xiao Bing said through gritted teeth. "Looking at how angry you are, you should be fine. However, you have quite a lot of injuries on your body. Are you being besieged?" Jin Yang said, gloating. "You don't have eyes. Can't you see for yourself?" Xiao Bing said angrily. This damn guy just loved to laugh at him. He couldn't understand why the Divine Master sent this guy here when he knew that they didn't get along. Wasn't he just causing trouble for him? Especially when Jin Yang saw him in such a sorry state. TSK. How pitiful. It's a good thing I came in time, otherwise, would have to collect your corpse. Jin Yang said with a smile, but he felt a little regretful in his heart. If only he had come a little later. Damn it. Quickly pull me up. Xiao Bing flew into a rage out of humiliation. He was still hanging in the air. That damned guy actually pretended not to see it and was even talking nonsense with him. Arg. What's wrong with you? You're not riding a flying beast, but a flying man. Jin Yang seemed to have just noticed Xiao Bing's state, and he said with a surprised look. Master. It hurts. At this time, Feifei, whose long hair was being pulled, finally couldn't bear the pain and whispered. You shut up. Xiao Bing roared. Then, he looked at Jin Yang with an unfriendly expression and said, hurry up and help. All right. Jin Yang knew when to stop. He sat on his flying beast and came to Xiao Bing's side. He reached out his hand and gently lifted Xiao Bing, then threw him onto Feifei's back. Xiao Bing took a healing elixir, looked at Jin Yang, and said, why are you alone? He had asked the Divine Master for help, saying that he had been besieged. The Divine Master wouldn't have only sent Jin Yang, right? Previous chapter. I'm flying fast, the others are behind me, they should be here soon. Jin Yang said seriously. Although he hated Xiao Bing, he was still a member of the Divine Master's estate. As the saying goes, you have to look at the owner before you hit a dog. Since the other party dared to mess with the Divine Master's estate, it was no longer Xiao Bing's personal matter. Therefore, the Divine Master's estate had to step in and settle this matter. God Lord, do you have any instructions? Xiao Bing nodded and asked. The Divine Master has given me full authority to deal with this matter. Don't worry. I will seek justice for you. Jin Yang promised with a smile. I want to deal with this myself. Xiao Bing said bluntly. He didn't believe that Jin Yang would seek justice for him. It was already good enough that Jin Yang didn't hit him when he was down. Why would he care about his life or death? Xiao Bing. Although we've never been on good terms, this matter is no longer your personal matter. The Yao family has disgraced the Divine Lord's estate, so we naturally won't let them off easily. Jin Yang reminded him. He knew that Xiao Bing didn't trust him, so he wasn't willing to stand up for him. However, this was the Divine Master's order. He did not dare to disobey. Don't worry. You'll definitely be satisfied. Jin Yang added. Then I'll believe you this once. Although he didn't really trust Jin Yang, he believed that Jin Yang would never bring shame to the Divine Lord's residence. Oh right. Didn't you go to the Endless Sea? Why would he appear in the Yao family's god domain? Jin Yang asked with a face full of question marks. I chased a dolphin from the eye of the endless ocean to the cold pond near the Ning family's divine realm, and then I came here. Xiao Bing explained simply, but he hid the fact that he had met Leng Ruoxue. Have you managed to contract that dolphin? Jin Yang asked curiously. No, I didn't. We let it run away. Xiao Bing was annoyed. He ran away. How was that possible? The beasts in the sea were much weaker on land, so how could they escape? Could it be that the dolphin has the strength of a reverent god? Jin Yang guessed. No, I didn't. It's just a god king level dolphin. Xiao Bing said gloomily. But you didn't catch him? Jin Yang's face was full of disbelief, and there was a faint trace of contempt in his eyes. Do you think the sea beasts are easy to catch? Xiao Bing said in a bad mood. After that, he turned around and ignored Jin Yang. Not long after, the main force sent by the God Lord's manor finally arrived. There were about 20 people sent by the God Lord's estate, including Jin Yang. Most of them were divine emperors, and the weakest among them was a divine king. It was clear that the God Lord's estate's strength could not be underestimated. These people were led by Jin Yang. Although Jin Yang also had the strength of a divine emperor, the strength of divine emperors of the same level was not exactly the same. However, Jin Yang was definitely a top expert among the divine emperors and was deeply trusted by the divine master. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Jin Yang and the others flew directly to the main city of the Yao family. At this time, it was late at night in the main city of the Yao family. Most people were immersed in their dreams. After arriving at the destination, Jin Yang and the others did not delay and went straight to the main house of the Yao family. The Yao family's main residence was located in the center of the Yao family's main city, covering an area of hundreds of thousands of hectares. From the outside, one could only see tall and majestic buildings standing in the main residence, giving off a majestic feeling. Upon entering the main residence, one would realize that the Yao family was built with a cluster of palaces. The pavilions and pagodas reflected each other, and a small bridge ran through them. In addition, many precious flowers and plants were planted in the courtyard, giving one a sense of pleasure. However, the angry Xiao Bing and the others were not in the mood to appreciate the Yao family's luxury. Besides, in their eyes, the Yao family's mansion was not even comparable to the Divine Lord's mansion. After reporting his identity, he was respectfully invited into the living room of the main residence. Xiao Bing and the others sat on the chairs and waited for a moment before a middle-aged man came in with a hurried expression. Mr. Jin Yang, Mr. Xiao Bing, and everyone else, hello. Sorry for not welcoming you. The middle-aged man wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said in fear. Although he looked like that on the surface, he could not help but curse in his heart. Nothing good could come from coming to the Yao family in the middle of the night. Not to mention that her sweet dreams were disturbed, she still had to treat these people like her ancestors. She was really aggrieved. However, these people were from the Divine Master's estate. Although the Yao family was ranked second among the 8 great divine regions, they still had to act according to the God Lord Manor's wishes. You're the head of the Yao family? Xiao Bing said coldly as he lifted his eyelids. I'm the acting head of the Yao family, Yao Hua. Yao Hua introduced himself. Acting clan head? We're here to see the head of the Yao family, but you're using a substitute head to fool us. Do you think we're easy to bully? Xiao Bing squinted his eyes and said unhappily. You've misunderstood, Sir Xiao Bing. The master is not in the main residence. Yao Hua was so scared that he quickly said. In fact, he was lying through his teeth, because the Yao family's ancestor was in the family's forbidden area. However, the old ancestor did not want to see the people of the Divine Lord's estate, so he had asked him to deal with it. However, looking at the attitude of these people, he was afraid that he could not deal with them. Not in the main residence? Where did the Yao family head go? Xiao Bing asked coldly, not believing Yao Hua's words at all. I went out to meet some friends. Yao Hua said after some thought. Friends? I thought you'd tell me that your ancestor was in seclusion. Xiao Bing said with a half-smile. I really went out to meet some friends. Yao Hua said nervously. In fact, he really wanted to say that he was going into seclusion, but he didn't know why these people were here. If they had something important to do, they couldn't just come out immediately after saying that they were going into seclusion. That would be too fake. Since the head of the Yao family has gone to meet his friends, I'll have to trouble you to inform him to return on behalf of the head. We have something important to do. Xiao Bing ordered coldly. This. May I know what's the matter? Yao Hua asked shamelessly. I was attacked in your Yao family's divine domain. Xiao Bing said indifferently. Arg. Who's so bold? Yao Hua was shocked, and he was crying out in his heart. No wonder he came to the Yao family. Could it be that he wanted the Yao family to help him find the murderer? However, it was best not to get involved in this kind of thing, because if it was not handled well, he would get into trouble, he thought. However, the other party was a member of the Divine Lord's estate, so he would not be so foolish as to reject him in front of him. However, if the other party was really as he had guessed, he would definitely not put in all his effort to find the murderer for the other party. In an instant, his thoughts turned over and over again, but his face remained calm and composed. They are the guards of your Yao clan. Jin Yang said with a smile. Previous chapter. Next. What? This is impossible. Yao Hua quickly denied it. The guards of the Yao family were well trained. How could they find trouble with the people of the Divine Master's estate? Wouldn't that bring trouble to the Yao family? He was confident that the Yao family would never do that. Is it impossible? Take a look at this. Jin Yang smiled faintly and flashed a token the size of a palm. The token had the word Yao on the front and the totem of the Yao family on the back. Yao Hua saw it and knew it was the token of the Yao family's guard. After seeing the token, Yao Hua was both shocked and angry. He was shocked that the other party had evidence of the Yao family, and angry that it was clearly someone who had framed him, because he didn't believe that his own guard would have such courage. However, at this moment, he had unspeakable bitterness. Mr. Jin Yang, is there a misunderstanding? Yao Hua probed. Misunderstanding? Are you trying to say that this isn't your Yao clan's token? Jin Yang asked with a sneer. No. It wasn't. This is the token of our Yao family. However, our Yao family will never dare to go against the Divine Lord's manor, and they will never attack Sir Xiao Bing. Yao Hua said with certainty. Do you think I'll frame you? He had already prepared for the Yao family to deny it before he came. However, even if they did not admit to it, he would not let it go. To put it bluntly, he had pestered the Yao family, and the Yao family had to give him an explanation. Otherwise, where would he put his face? In fact, to him, it really didn't matter whether the Yao family admitted to it or not. In any case, they had evidence of the Yao family in their hands. If the Yao family denied it, then they would have to find a way to find the black-clothed men who had attacked him. If they couldn't find them, then the Yao family would naturally have to bear the consequences themselves. Thus, no matter what the result was, he would be the final winner. That's not what I meant, Sir Xiao Bing, you've misunderstood. Yao Hua's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He knew that Xiao Bing wasn't someone to be trifled with, but he didn't expect him to be even more difficult than he had imagined. What I mean is, it's possible that the people who attacked Mr. Xiao Bing are trying to frame us. Yao Hua explained as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Ha ha ha. Xiao Bing laughed after hearing Yao Hua's words, then said with slight disdain, who would dare to frame the Yao family in their divine realm? If that's the case, your Yao clan's defense is too trashy. Xiao Bing's words left Yao Hua speechless. Mr. Xiao Bing, I know that you won't believe me even if I insist that this has nothing to do with the Yao family. Please give me a few days, and I will find out the truth and give you an explanation. Yao Hua was silent for a long time before he spoke in a depressed manner. That's good. Then I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, if you can't give me a satisfactory explanation, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Xiao Bing said coldly with a straight face. Sir Xiao Bing, 3 days is not enough. Yao Hua said with a bitter face. Yao Hua, acting patriarch, 3 days isn't a short time. We still have important matters to attend to when we return to the Divine Lord's estate, so we don't have much time to waste on this. Jin Yang said with a faint smile. As soon as he said this, Yao Hua knew that the 3 days were set in stone and could not be changed. All right then. I'll try my best. Yao Hua replied with a bitter face. Yao Hua, acting patriarch, I suggest you inform the Yao family patriarch to return quickly. I'm afraid you can't make the decision on this matter. Xiao Bing said very kindly. I'll inform the ancestor. Yao Hua felt extremely aggrieved. Of course, he would tell the old master about this, but he was worried that Xiao Bing and the others had given him too little time. If the other party was trying to frame him, 3 days would not be enough. Not only that, but he also had to entertain these ancestors with good food and drink for the next few days. Woo. Just the thought of it made him feel extremely depressed. After arranging accommodation for Xiao Bing and the others, he immediately went to the forbidden area to see the old ancestor. At Xiao Bing's residence. In the room. Jin Yang looked at Xiao Bing, who was sitting opposite him, with a curious look on his face. He said with a faint smile, "Do you believe that the Yao clan will investigate this matter and hand over the person who attacked you in 3 days? I don't believe it. This matter is of great importance, and the Yao family won't admit it easily. However, it doesn't matter to me whether they admit it or not." Xiao Bing said nonchalantly. When the Divine Master came, he told me that it's best not to fall out with the Yao family. The balance of the divine world is very important. Jin Yang said lightly. Did I get attacked for nothing? Xiao Bing was displeased. Of course I won't. After all, you're a member of the Divine Master's estate. You have to look at the Master before you hit the dog. How could the Divine Master let you suffer? However, he won't put the Yao family to death. Jin Yang explained. Oh, really? I thought the Divine Master would use this matter to take down the Yao family in one fell swoop. Xiao Bing laughed. Don't talk nonsense. The Divine Realm is originally governed by the Divine Lord. Jin Yang reproached. His eyes flickered nervously, for fear that the walls had ears. Hee hee. I thought you'd be happy to hear me say that. Xiao Bing smiled and said calmly. I'm just afraid that if you die, no one will go against me. Then I'll be so bored. Jin Yang said matter-of-factly. The Divine Master was not a broad-minded person. If he heard Xiao Bing's words, he would definitely be punished. Moreover, such words could not be spread, or it would cause trouble for the Divine Master's estate. Don't worry. I'll live well. Xiao Bing looked out of the window, thinking about something. Then, the two of them chatted for a while more before they went to rest. 3 days passed by in a flash. Xiao Bing and Jin Yang had been sitting in the living room since early morning, waiting for Yao Hua's reply. When Yao Hua heard the news, he jogged all the way to the living room. When he saw the two people sitting on the chairs, he felt depressed. Patriarch Yao, you can give me an explanation for this matter. Xiao Bing's eyes were cold as he glared at Yao Hua. Well. Mr. Xiao Bing, Mr. Jin Yang, I've already sent people to investigate this matter, but there's no news so far. The guards you told me about have also been found, so I can't give you any answers now. Yao Hua said as he secretly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Of course, his ancestor told him to say this because he didn't believe that the guards of the Yao family would cause trouble for the people of the Divine Lord's estate. Therefore, after hearing his description, he immediately concluded that someone was framing the Yao family. However, they didn't know who it was. Your Yao family is trying to cheat. Or do you think I'm framing you? Xiao Bing suppressed his anger and asked. He had thought that the Yao family would try their best to deny the matter, but he didn't expect that the Yao family would not admit it at all. 3 days had passed, and they only told him that they had not found the person. Were they trying to fool him? No way. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Upon hearing Yao Hua's words, Jin Yang, who had intended to make a big deal smaller, was a little angry. The Yao family was clearly not putting the Divine Master's estate in their eyes. Initially, he thought that the Yao family would find a scapegoat to settle the matter, and then compensate Xiao Bing with some money and things, and the matter would be over. However, he did not expect that the Yao family did not even plan to send out a scapegoat. Although he knew that Xiao Bing's attack was suspicious, since there was evidence pointing to the Yao family, he naturally did not want to interfere. However, the Yao family was obviously not easy to manipulate. Sir Xiao Bing, please don't misunderstand us. We are also investigating this matter. If this was really done by the Yao family, we will not let this matter rest. If not, we will definitely find out who dared to frame our Yao family and avenge Sir Xiao Bing and our Yao family. Yao Hua said with a calm smile on his handsome face. He was now full of confidence, and this was all thanks to his conversation with the ancestor. So you still don't believe me? Xiao Bing understood Yao Hua's meaning. In the end, he just didn't believe that his own family would attack him. We have to have enough evidence to convict our clansmen. Otherwise, our clansmen will not be convinced. Yao Hua said helplessly. You mean that just the token of your Yao family isn't enough? Xiao Bing said with a half-smile. It would be even better if we have other evidence. To be honest, the place where Mr. Xiao Bing was attacked is in Lin Fun, and we have already checked the guards there. They did not go out that night, and there are witnesses. Also, they did not lose their tokens. Yao Hua carefully explained. Are you sure? Xiao Bing gave Yao Hua a sidelong glance. Yao family head, the people who attacked Sir Xiao Bing might not be the guards of Lin Fun, but that doesn't mean they aren't from the Yao family. Jin Yang reminded her with a smile. You're saying? Hearing Jin Yang's words, Yao Hua was a little frightened. He understood the other party's words. They wanted him to expand the scope of the search. However, he had to ask his ancestor for instructions. Otherwise, if something really happened, he couldn't make the decision. We have the footage of the people who attacked Mr. Xiaobing. Do you need it? Jin Yang said with a smile. He didn't intend to take out this thing, but since the Yao family didn't know what was good for them, it was only natural to take it out and make them convinced. After hearing Jin Yang's words, Yao Hua had a bad feeling in her heart. She couldn't help but curse in her heart. If you had the video, why didn't you take it out earlier? Aren't you playing us? However, Jin Yang's words also made him a little afraid. What if the people in the video were really the Yao family? What would he do then? Moreover, since they had evidence, why didn't they show it earlier? This also made him puzzled. Looking at Yao Hua's dark expression, Xiaobing sneered in his heart. It was a good thing he had been careful back then, or else he would have been forced to suffer in silence. Originally, he had discussed with Jin Yang that if the Yao family's explanation satisfied them, they would not take out such evidence. They would keep it for more important use in the future. However, he did not expect that the Yao family would not take the bait. In that case, he could not be blamed. Can I take a look first? After a long silence, Yao Hua finally spoke. Of course you can. Xiaobing took out a memory crystal with a smile and handed it over. Yao Hua held the memory crystal in his hand and looked at its contents. He was shocked because the images in the crystal were indeed from the Yao family. Moreover, they were not ordinary guards of the Yao family. Suddenly, his hand trembled and the memory crystal in his hand fell to the ground with a bang. With a sound, it shattered into pieces. It doesn't matter. I've duplicated a lot of them, so feel free to smash them, Patriarch Yao. Xiaobing laughed nonchalantly. Do you want to destroy the evidence? In your dreams. Your Excellency Xiaobing. I didn't do it on purpose. Yao Hua said pitifully with a bitter face. He knew that the other party would not believe him even if he said it, but he had to say it. In fact, he did not do it on purpose. He was just too nervous, so he accidentally dropped the memory crystal on the ground. The memory crystal wasn't very hard, and the Yao family's floor was made of abnormally hard crystal. When the two hit each other, it was like an egg hitting a rock. Naturally, the one that broke was the one that was harder. It doesn't matter whether Patriarch Yao has the intention or not. You should discuss with your patriarch and elders how you're going to give me an explanation. Xiaobing was in a good mood. From Yao Hua's expression, he could tell that Yao Hua definitely knew the people in the memory crystal. Humph. Let's see how he's going to quibble now. Mr. Xiaobing, Mr. Jin Yang, please give me some time. Yao Hua requested as cold sweat appeared on his forehead. No problem, I'll give you one more day. My patience is limited. Xiaobing said generously and threw a memory crystal to Yao Hua. Yao Hua held the memory crystal in his hand and left the living room with heavy steps. Xiaobing and Jin Yang, who were still sitting in their chairs, looked at each other and smiled. Both of them had a tacit understanding. A day later. The Yao family finally came to a conclusion. They were willing to pay Xiaobing a huge sum of compensation, but at the same time, they also asked Xiaobing to let go of the guards who had besieged him. Xiaobing was in a good mood, so he agreed without hesitation. After all, he was very satisfied with the compensation from the Yao family. As for those who had besieged him, he had no use for them. If he really killed them, he would have a huge grudge with the Yao family. The Yao family might not dare to take revenge on the surface, but they could do something in secret, and it was hard to guard against. Xiaobing was not stupid, so he naturally did not want to make such a deep enemy. Therefore, he did the Yao family a favor, which was something the Divine Master was happy to see. After paying a large sum of compensation and apologizing to Xiaobing, even though they still did not believe that the guards of the Yao family would do such a thing, they could only swallow their pride as the evidence was conclusive. Furthermore, they did not dare to blame the guards who were stored in the memory crystal too much, because they were the people of their ancestor. When Leng Ruoxue and the rest heard the news, they had already returned to the Ning family's main residence. In a courtyard in the forbidden area of the back mountain, a burst of proud and wild laughter rang out. The sound resounded through the clouds and soared into the sky. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I'm so happy. The master of the Ning family laughed and fell to the ground without any care for his image. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she could not help but feel a few black lines sliding down her forehead. She thought to herself, does Godfather have to smile so shamelessly? The Yao family only lost some money, and there were no casualties. It didn't affect the Yao family's strength at all. Wasn't it too early for Godfather to be proud? Godfather. Are you done laughing? The Yao family is just losing money to avoid disaster, do you need to be so happy? Leng Ruoxue said speechlessly and came to an important conclusion. Godfather was easily satisfied. Previous chapter. Shua. You don't understand, the Divine Master won't easily touch a family like ours, so I thought this would be the result before I set up the trap. But that Xiaobing is really ruthless, he actually got so much money from the Yao family, humph. Should I ask him for some dividends? The master of the Ning family hesitated, and then, he really started to think about it seriously. Old thing. Don't even think about the money, or else you'll be exposed. In this way, you've offended both the God Lord's estate and the Yao family. First elder quickly poured cold water on Master Ning. The God Lord's estate won't find trouble with me for now. As for the Yao family, they're already rivals with our Ning family, so it's fine to offend them a little more. The master of the Ning family said indifferently. Godfather. It wasn't easy for us to get rid of Xiaobing, do you still want to walk into the trap? Leng Ruoxue reminded him helplessly. She couldn't let her godfather have such thoughts. She couldn't wait to hide from Xiaobing, so how could she let her godfather come forward by himself? Xiaobing is a little troublesome. Master Ning cupped his chin with one hand and said gloomily. Although Xiaobing was a divine emperor, he was definitely one of the most difficult people to deal with in the divine lord manner. Otherwise, he would not have followed them to the Yao family's divine domain. MMH. So, let's stay away from him. Leng Ruoxue hurriedly nodded. Alright then. Let's let him off for now. Although the master of the Ning family was a little reluctant, he did not have a good way to deal with Xiaobing, so he could only let him have it first. Hearing her godfather's words, Leng Ruoxue's heart was at ease. At this time, the Ning family's competition had already entered the final stage. There were only 20 people left in the final stage of the competition, and these 20 people were also the elites of this competition. If there were no accidents, they would all be heavily trained by the family. Ning Shan and Ning Hai were also included in these 20 people. When Leng Ruoxue heard the news, she had planned to visit the two brothers. However, just as she was about to leave, she met Ning Yan who had come to see her. Ning Yan was staring at Leng Ruoxue with bitter expression, not saying a word. Leng Ruoxue's hair stood on end. Why was she the same as the grapes and the lotus seeds? The two maidservants looked at her like this before, but they didn't say anything, which made her quite scared. Sister Yan, you're so fast. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of smiles. Is it fast? Wretched girl, do you know that I was worried to death when you were away for so many days? Ning Yanhe roared like a lion. She put her hands on her waist and glared at Leng Ruoxue. Seeing Ning Yan like this, Leng Ruoxue thought to herself, no wonder everyone says Ning Yan is a tigress. I really do look like one. Sister Yan. Calm down. Aren't I back now? Besides, I have godfather and great elder by my side, so what do you have to worry about? Leng Ruoxue consoled. You guys took so long to come back, did you encounter something fun? Humph. You guys must have taken all the food for yourself, this is too much. Ning Yan said unhappily, as if saying, how are you going to compensate me? Ning Yan's words made Leng Ruoxue speechless. After all this, it turned out that Ning Yan was unhappy because she wasn't with her. She had thought that Ning Yan was really worried about her. Of course, he was worried, but it was more for fun. Sister Yan. Didn't you say that Xiaobing was sinister and vicious? Therefore, the task of coming back to report is very important, and it must be you. Leng Ruoxue thought for a while and coaxed. So what? I've already gone home, but father won't take me with him. Ning Yan complained. This is godfather's problem. I wasn't there at the time. Leng Ruoxue pushed all the blame away. She didn't think that Ning Yan would dare to get even with her godfather. Why should I bring you? We're not going there to play. Master Ning opened his mouth, but his eyes drifted to Leng Ruoxue, his eyes filled with endless grievances. However, his words successfully changed the topic. Little sister Ruoxue. Although you've been away these few days, I've been watching Ning Shan and Ning Hai for you. With me around, no one would dare to do anything to them. Ning Yan said with a smug look. Thank you, Sister Yan. Leng Ruoxue smiled from the bottom of her heart. Actually, she was really afraid that in the few days that she wasn't around, Big Brother Ning and Shan had been violated. With Ning Yan around, he believed that no one would dare to use improper means. There's no need to thank me, we're not friends. As long as you think of me when you have something fun in the future, it's fine. Ning Yan warned him seriously. Alright. Leng Ruoxue nodded. This was as easy as lifting a finger to her. As for whether Ning Yan had that much time, it was not within her scope of concern. Previous chapter. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue had agreed, Ning Yan was in a good mood. After chatting for a while, she even took the initiative to say that she wanted to visit brother Ning Hai with Leng Ruoxue. Then, the two of them went to find Ning Hai. When they arrived at the door of Ning Hai's house, Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yan suddenly heard shouts coming from inside. They looked at each other and did not say anything. Instead, they listened carefully. Although they heard that it wasn't a good idea, they were just concerned about brother Ning Hai. The two of them tacitly found an excuse for themselves. At this time, in the courtyard of Ning Hai's house, Ning Hai was arguing with a group of people. There were about a dozen people in that group, and all of them had a disdainful smile on their faces. Their eyes were perverted, and they were looking at Ning Hai. Get lost. All of you, get lost. Ning Hai roared in anger. F***ck. Did these people really think he was easy to bully? If not for the Ning family, he would have kicked them out long ago. Ning Hai. It's your fortune that our head butler has taken a liking to you. If you know what's good for you, quickly agree to this matter. This will be a double blessing. Otherwise, don't even think about having a good life in the Ning family in the future. The leader of the group, a man in his 30s, reminded with a sneer. It is. You've offended our head butler. Do you still want to stand out in the Ning family in the future? The other person also roared like a fox exploiting a tiger's might. When Ning Hai heard the words of these two people, he suppressed the anger in his heart and growled, I told you to get lost, so what are you still doing here? Ning Hai. Don't you regret offending the head butler? You won't have a good time. The leader of the group threatened. So what if I did? At worst, we'll leave the Ning family's divine realm. Ning Shan shouted indignantly. His delicate face was flushed red. He had never thought that he would encounter such a thing. He had long been furious. Shan. A few exclamations sounded one after another. Ning Hai looked at Ning Shan with a face of disapproval. This younger brother of his was innocent and did not know the dangers of the human world. As members of the Ning family, unless they went out to train, once their entire family left the Ning family's divine realm, it would be equivalent to betrayal. This was a great humiliation to any family. Even if they were not hunted down by the family, they would be spurned by the people of the divine world. At that time, they would be like rats crossing the street, hated by everyone. This was definitely not what Ning Hai wanted to see. Therefore, he would rather be the only one who offended the head butler than to see his brother and parents live such a life. However, he had a good plan, but he didn't know that the reality was cruel. If he was really expelled from the family because he offended the head butler, would his parents and brother still have a good life? The answer was definitely no. Are you guys trying to betray your clan? When the leader heard Ning Shan's words, he laughed happily. He had finally caught them. He didn't believe that with this big hat, this family would not submit. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. We didn't say anything like that, so don't even think about framing us. Ning Hai's heart sank, and he quickly said. He had been out for many years, so he more or less had the ability to read people's expressions. Therefore, he understood the meaning of the other party's words. However, he couldn't let the other party carry out his words, otherwise, they would not be able to clear their name even if they jumped into the Yellow River. Ning Shan just said that he wanted to leave the Ning family's divine realm. I didn't hear wrongly, right? The leader of the group asked his subordinate. You didn't hear wrong, he did say that, we can all be witnesses. The person beside him immediately tried to please him. What else do you have to say now? The leader of the group was very pleased with himself. As long as he thought of the benefits that the head butler would promise him after he succeeded, he would be so happy that he could fly. I only said to leave, I didn't say I would betray the clan. Ning Shan said calmly. Although he looked very calm on the outside, he was extremely nervous in his heart. He also knew that he had said the wrong thing in a moment of desperation. However, he was very smart and knew that the other party wanted to use this sentence as a handle. Naturally, he would not give the other party a chance. Little brat. Don't quibble, I will report this matter to the head butler, and there will be a fair judgment. The person in the lead did not give Ning Shan a chance to explain and said. You. Ning Shan was so angry that he could not speak. Let's go. The leader of the group came and went excitedly, thinking that victory was already in his hands. When they reached the door, they happened to bump into Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen who were about to enter. What a stunning beauty. The leader of the group looked at Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen with a perverted look, his heart filled with amazement. You guys are from this house too? After a long time, the leader asked loudly. Leng Ruoxue nodded but did not say much. I didn't expect this family to have a hidden beauty. The leader mumbled to himself. After that, he left with his subordinates. However, he turned back every 3 steps as he left, looking reluctant to leave. Sister Yen. Are they also part of the Ning family? Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she asked. How is that possible? If there's such a person in the Ning family, I'll be the first to clean up the house. Ning Yen said angrily. Leng Ruoxue smiled but did not say anything more. She pulled Ning Yen into the courtyard. At this moment, Ning Shan was still in the courtyard with an angry expression, while Ning Hai seemed a little depressed. As for their parents, they were also out of their wits and their faces were pale with fear. No one noticed the arrival of Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen. Big brother Ning. Leng Ruoxue called out softly when she saw them in this state. Ruoxue. You're back. Young miss. You're here too. Ning Hai saw Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen and quickly greeted them. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She knew that Ning Yen had made up an excuse for her disappearance. Ning Hai. Why do you call her Ruoxue and call me young miss? Ning Yen said unhappily when she heard how Ning Hai addressed her. Ning Hai was stunned and didn't know what to say. Could he say that Ning Yen was a rich young lady? Even though Ruoxue was the elder ancestor's goddaughter, he treated her like a little sister. He knew that he couldn't say that. If he did, Ning Yen would definitely not let him off. Besides, Ning Yen had been taking care of them in secret these days, so he couldn't say it. Ha ha ha. Sister Yen is jealous. Leng Ruoxue laughed and teased Ning Yen. Wretched girl, you dare to laugh at me. Ning Yen glared at Leng Ruoxue with dissatisfaction. However, she suddenly changed the topic and looked at Ning Hai. Who were those people just now? The Ning family's trash that uses their power to bully others. Before Ning Hai could answer, Ning Shan spoke first. Shan. Shut up. Ning Hai shouted and secretly gave Ning Shan a look, telling him not to talk nonsense. After all, Ning Yen was the eldest miss of the Ning family. Ning Hai. You're not allowed to interrupt. Ning Yen glared at Ning Hai and said. Then, she smiled and guided Ning Shan. Tell me, what's going on? Leng Ruoxue looked at Ning Yan's expression, which was like a big bad wolf seducing Little Red Riding Hood, and laughed in her heart. However, she would not stop Ning Yen, because she also wanted to know what had happened just now. Seeing Ning Hai's cautious look, he would not tell them on his own initiative. Although Ning Shan wanted to say it out loud, he had just received his brother's warning. For a moment, he didn't know whether he should say it or not. He knew Ning Yan's identity, but he wasn't sure if Ning Yan would stand on his side. After all, their family was just a side branch of the Ning family. Ning Shan. If you want to be a man, then tell me quickly. Seeing that Ning Shan did not say anything for a long time, Ning Yan was furious. However, she did not expect that the other party did not dare to say anything because he did not trust her. Shan, tell big sister what happened just now, big sister will help you. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue took the opportunity to coax her. Before this, she and Ning Yan had only heard the second half of the conversation, so they were not clear about the cause of the incident. Sister Ruoxue. When Ning Shan heard Leng Ruoxue's words, tears welled up in his eyes. Then, he explained the situation in detail. It turned out that the Ning family's head butler had taken a fancy to the two brothers and wanted them to marry his sister and daughter respectively. He had even sent someone to propose marriage, but the two of them were unwilling, so the other party had threatened them, and thus, they had parted on bad terms. After Leng Ruoxue heard this, she was dumbfounded. She never thought that the cause of this matter was actually a forced marriage. However, that head butler's guts were really not small. Did he really think that his sister and daughter were golden dolls? She didn't want to marry him, so he wanted to make things difficult for her? This Ning family wasn't something he could cover the sky with one hand, so how could he dare? This is preposterous. After hearing Ning Shan's words, Ning Yan's beautiful face turned red with anger, and her beautiful eyes glared at Ning Hai with dissatisfaction. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Just now, she had heard from Ning Shan that this was not the first time the head butler had sent someone over, but she had no idea at all. This made her exceptionally angry because in her heart, she had already determined that Ning Hai and his brother were under her protection. Under her watch, someone actually dared to have ideas about them. This made her feel that she had failed her duty, and she became more and more angry from embarrassment. This is just a small matter. I don't dare to trouble the young miss. Ning Hai said with his head lowered. In fact, he felt that he was not familiar with Ning Yan and didn't want to owe her a favor. At the same time, he thought that he could settle this matter himself. He didn't expect that the head butler of the Ning family would become more and more aggressive. However, he believed that as long as he won this competition, the head butler would think twice before touching their entire family. You really are a blockhead. Ning Yan was furious and started searching the yard like a headless fly. She wanted to find a stick to teach the ignorant Ning Hai a lesson, but she couldn't find anything useful after searching for a long time, which made her even angrier. Sister Yan. What are you looking for? Leng Ruoxue asked in confusion. Find a stick. I'm going to beat him up. Ning Yan said in a bad mood. Sister Yan, there's no stick here, so don't look for it. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. She really didn't know what Ning Yan was angry about. It was just that Ning Hai didn't tell her about this. In fact, with her understanding of Ning Hai, she knew that Ning Hai wanted to settle it himself. In addition, he didn't want others to say that he relied on nepotism. To put it bluntly, Brother Ning's self-esteem was too strong, and at the same time, he was too upright. He didn't want to take the crooked way. I want to beat him up. I took such good care of him, but he actually treated me as an outsider. Ning Yan roared. Hearing Ning Yan's words, Leng Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, aren't you an outsider? Moreover, she was an outsider with a high status in the Ning family. However, Ning Yan was still in a fit of anger and her words would only add fuel to the fire. Young miss. I didn't mean it that way. Ning Hai explained guiltily. In fact, he felt that the difference between their statuses was too big, so he had never been able to treat Ning Yan the way he treated Ruoxue. Then what do you mean? Ning Yan asked, her beautiful eyes staring at Ning Hai. I just feel that I can solve this matter myself. Ning Hai said honestly. How are you going to solve this? Ning Yan raised an eyebrow. As long as I can win the family competition, I will naturally be valued by the family. At that time, even if the head butler wants to force me, he will have no chance. Ning Hai said with confidence. Don't you know that the king of hell is easy to see, but the little devil is difficult to deal with? Even if you won the family competition and received the family's attention, your foundation in the family is shallow. Do you think you can win against the head butler who has deep roots in the family? Although the head butler is only a servant, he has some authority in front of many elders and acting family head. Otherwise, why do you think he dares to be so arrogant? Ning Yan told Ning Hai the cruel truth. Although she didn't care much about the family affairs, she was very clear about the twists and turns in the family. Leng Ruoxue knew that Ning Yan's words made sense. Since the head butler had his eyes on Brother Ning, he naturally wouldn't let Brother Ning escape so easily. Furthermore, the head butler of the Ning family had deep connections in the Ning family. If he randomly found a mistake and framed Brother Ning might not be able to take it. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue smiled and said, Big Brother Ning. It's indeed not easy for you to go head-to-head with that head butler now. Although he's a servant, I heard that many direct descendants of the Ning family have to flatter him in order to get a good job. That's right. He was personally promoted by the second elder. That old man, the second elder, has always been nepotism. You can't win against the head butler. Ning Yan spoke the truth. Although it was cruel, it was the truth. Then what should we do? Ning Shan and his parents were a little flustered. Don't be afraid. You are under my protection, I think that the head butler would not dare to not give me face. Ning Yan said confidently. Young miss. You have to help my Hai, and Shan, Ning Hai's mother quickly knelt down and said to Ning Yan. What are you doing? Get up quickly, Ruoxue is my sister, and Ning Hai is like her big brother. I won't sit by and do nothing about your family's matters. Ning Yan promised. With Ning Yan's guarantee, Ning Hai's mother was a little relieved. Then, she ran to the kitchen and made a table of delicious food to thank Ning Yan. Looking at Ning Yan's satisfied expression, Leng Ruoxue laughed in her heart. This Ning Yan was also a temperamental person. After getting to know her, she realized that she was not bothered by trifles. In the past, when she was in the Divine Mainland, she had heard more about Ning Yan's violent reputation. However, after getting to know her, she realized that Ning Yan was a straightforward person. She would say whatever she wanted and would not beat around the bush. This was the main reason why she was willing to let Ning Yan pester her. After having dinner at Ning Hai, Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yan returned. When they returned to their residence, Leng Ruoxue even specially instructed Grape to inquire about the Ning family's head butler. Not long after, Grape came to report. Miss, I've asked around in private. The head butler of the Ning family seems to have a high status in the Ning family. However, his sister and daughter don't have a good reputation. Grape hesitated before whispering. What's wrong? Leng Ruoxue was very curious. There were many aspects to having a bad reputation. It could be personality or personal life. However, if it was a personality problem, there was still hope. However, if it was a personal life problem, then whoever married them would be making a cuckold out of themselves, right? Moreover, she believed that there was probably no man in the divine realm who would be willing to marry such a disobedient woman. I heard that he had affairs with many people. Moreover, the chief steward's sister has been married many times, but each time, it didn't last long. Not only that, but the sister of the Ning family's chief steward has a bad temper, which is well known in the Ning family. As for his daughter, she's the same as her aunt. She's not content with her place. Grape said with a gossipy look. Is there any more? Leng Ruoxue asked again. That's about it, miss. What do you want me to find out about them for? Grape asked curiously. The head butler of the Ning family wants to force big brother Ning and Shan, to marry his sister and daughter. Leng Ruoxue thought for a moment before speaking. Initially, she did not intend to reveal this matter. However, she felt that this matter could not be kept a secret. Instead of letting Grape and Lotus Seed hear about this from someone else, it would be better to tell them personally. After all, they were not outsiders. Arg. That's really too shameless, isn't that head butler just using his power to bully people? Grape said indignantly. Don't worry, Sister Yen will help them. Leng Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Although she wanted to help, it was not appropriate to do it in public. After all, she was only the goddaughter of the Ning family's old ancestor. The Ning family might not make things difficult for her out of respect for their old ancestor, but if she wanted to interfere in the Ning family's affairs, those elders could drown her with their spit. That's good. Miss. The finals of the family competition will officially begin in 2 days. Should we make some preparations? Grape was relieved and changed the topic. What should we prepare? Just focus on the match. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Miss. The 5th miss of the Ning family has sent you a challenge, but you haven't even competed yet. Grape couldn't help but remind her, thinking, Miss couldn't have forgotten about this matter, right? AI. Poor 5th Miss Ning. She was still thinking about the battle with her young miss. However, Miss didn't take her seriously at all. A person who didn't put her opponent in his eyes was definitely pathetic. I would have forgotten about it if you didn't mention it. Don't worry about her. Just let nature take its course. Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Seeing Leng Ruoxue's expression, Grape knew that her miss really did not take 5th Miss Ning seriously. She immediately sympathized with Ning Shi. These days, when the young miss was not at home, the 5th young miss was so smug that her tail was about to rise to the sky. Moreover, the stitched man said that her young miss was afraid and actually fled in the face of battle. However, she and Lotus Seed were not willing to pay attention to her. No matter what she said, in their hearts, they still felt injustice for their young miss. The next day, Leng Ruoxue took the initiative to look for Ning Yan, but Ning Yan was not around. She heard from the maidservant beside her that Ning Yan seemed to have gone to look for the head butler. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue returned to her residence first. However, after waiting for a whole day, Ning Yan still didn't come to find her, which made her a little puzzled. Grape. Go and invite Sister Yen. Just say that I'm treating her to a meal. Leng Ruoxue ordered in the evening. Yes. Yes, sir. Grape replied and turned to leave. However, Grape did not invite Ning Yan. Instead, she told Leng Ruoxue that Ning Yan was resting. This made Leng Ruoxue even more confused. Another day passed, but Ning Yan still hadn't come to her, and she couldn't see her even when she sent grapes to her. On the 3rd day, the final match of the Ning family competition began. Leng Ruoxue sat in the VIP area, her beautiful eyes looking at the stage opposite her, but she did not see Ning Yan. Leng Ruoxue didn't know what was going on. After bidding Master Ning goodbye, she left the VIP seats with the grapes and lotus seeds. Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian, who were also sitting in the VIP seats, followed Leng Ruoxue quietly after she left. After leaving the competition grounds, Leng Ruoxue turned around helplessly and looked at the two tails behind her. Why are you guys following me? Leng Ruoxue was speechless. Just follow me then. When they saw her turn around, the two of them actually went into hiding. Sigh. She wasn't blind, how could she not see two living people? Hee hee. Great aunt, where are you going? Cheng Xian asked curiously. Ning Haolan didn't say anything, but his face was full of curiosity. I'll go find Sister Yen. Leng Ruoxue let out a soft sigh. She felt depressed. It seemed like she would never be able to get rid of the words, great aunt. This was because she had told them more than once that it was fine to call her by her name. However, they insisted on treating her as an elder. Why? Cheng Xian was shocked and asked in confusion. Sister Yen has been taking good care of me. I haven't seen her for a few days, so it's only right that I go and see her. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. From Cheng Xian's reaction, she felt that she should not be looking for Ning Yen. Did something happen that she did not know about? Aunt's been in a bad mood these past 2 days, so she refused to see anyone. Ning Haolan said indifferently. Leng Ruoxue let out a soft oh and thought to herself, could something have really happened? Although she had been suspicious these days, she didn't go to Ning Yen in person. After all, she felt that everyone should have their own space. Since Ning Yen didn't come to her on her own initiative, it meant that there were some things Ning Yen didn't want her to know. However, it had been 3 days and Ning Yen hadn't appeared for today's family competition, so she couldn't help but worry. It seemed that Ning Yen had encountered a big problem this time, otherwise, it wouldn't be like this. These few days, there have been some bad rumors in the family. Although I've suppressed most of them, it still affected Aunt's mood quite a bit. It's good for you to go and take a look. Maybe you can persuade Aunt. Ning Haolan continued. Others might not know that Ning Yen and Leng Ruoxue were very close, but he knew it all too well. What rumors? Leng Ruoxue frowned. She had a bad feeling about this. Some people have dug up some of Aunt's past and are talking about it. Ning Haolan said in a reserved manner. I see. I'm going to see Big Sister Yen. Do you want to come with me? Leng Ruoxue asked. We won't be going. Ning Haolan said. In fact, he had followed them out secretly to tell Leng Ruoxue about this. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded and walked towards Ning Yan's place. Ning Yan lived in Fangfei Garden. The environment there was not the best in the Ning family, but it was definitely one of the best. From this, it could be seen how much Ning Yan was doted on in the eyes of the Ning family master. Even though Leng Ruoxue had only been to Fangfei Gardens once, she had remembered the location. Furthermore, she had grape and lotus seed with her. When they arrived at the entrance of Fangfei Gardens, Leng Ruoxue did not let the guard report her arrival and walked straight in. When Ning Yan's maidservant saw Leng Ruoxue, her eyes lit up and she quickly came forward to greet her. Miss Leng, you're here. Where's Sister Yen? Leng Ruoxue asked indifferently. Miss has locked herself in her room. Ning Yan's maidservant said in a low voice, her face full of embarrassment. Now that she could no longer hide the matter of the young miss, she naturally had no need to make up lies to deceive Leng Ruoxue. At the thought of this, she even looked at Grape apologetically. I'm going to see Sister Yen, you can go. Leng Ruoxue then walked to Ning Yan's room and knocked on the door. Sister Yen, I'm Ruoxue. I'm here to see you. However, Ning Yen had no reaction. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue sighed and continued, Sister Yen, if you don't even want to see me, then I'll leave. With that, Leng Ruoxue sat down on a stone chair in the courtyard. She didn't say anything else as her beautiful eyes sized up the decorations in the courtyard. This small courtyard was the main courtyard of Fangfei Garden. Although the courtyard was not large, it was planted with many precious flowers and plants. The stone mountain, small bridge, and flowing water in the courtyard were also unusually exquisite, looking very pleasing to the eye. Leng Ruoxue sipped her tea as the breeze blew. She was waiting for Ning Yen to walk right into her trap. Although she hadn't known Ning Yen for a long time, she knew her very well and knew that she needed someone to listen to her. Therefore, she was sure that Ning Yen would come out on her own. As she had expected, when Ning Yen saw that there was no more movement outside, she opened the door and rushed out. She grabbed her maidservant and asked, where is little sister Ruoxue? The maidservant was in pain from being grabbed. Just as she was about to speak, she heard Leng Ruoxue's voice. Sister Yen. I'm right here. Leng Ruoxue smiled as she looked at Ning Yen. It's only been a few days, how did Ning Yen torture herself to this state? Her face was haggard and her clothes were wrinkled. She looked extremely disheveled. This was not the Ning Yen she knew. At this thought, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed in Ning Yen. Little sister Ruoxue. You're here. Ning Yen lowered her head, not daring to look at Leng Ruoxue. Sister Yen, I've been here for a while. Leng Ruoxue said angrily. Then, she continued, Sister Yen, you've been so arrogant these days. I asked Grape to invite you, but he didn't show up. I had no choice but to come here personally. Luckily, Sister Yen was willing to give me some face in the end. Leng Ruoxue's tone was very unhappy. After hearing this, Ning Yen quickly explained, Little sister Ruoxue, that's not the case. You've misunderstood me. I'm just in a bad mood these few days, so I don't want to see anyone. It's not pure. With that, Ning Yen lowered her head like a child who had made a mistake. Sister Yen. When you're in a bad mood, you should find someone to talk about it. If you keep it to yourself, you'll only be more depressed. Leng Ruoxue reminded him. Then, she put on a straight face and said in disappointment, Sister Yan doesn't treat me as a sister at all. She didn't even come to find me when something happened. No. I'm just too ashamed to see you. Ning Yan said anxiously. You don't have the face to see me? Did Sister Yan do something to let me down? Leng Ruoxue asked in surprise. No, I didn't. It's about my past. I'm too embarrassed to tell you. Ning Yan's face was red as she sobbed. There were still tears in her beautiful eyes, but she held them back. Sister Yan's current appearance is really pitiful. Leng Ruoxue suddenly exclaimed. Her words stunned Ning Yan. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. After a long time, Ning Yan couldn't help but burst out laughing. Little Sister Ruoxue is really good at making people happy. No wonder father dotes on you so much. Ning Yan sighed. Sister Yan, don't be jealous. Leng Ruoxue said seriously. I won't. Father also dotes on me, I can't be ungrateful. Ning Yan said with a forced smile. Be content and happy. Leng Ruoxue said. Little Sister Ruoxue won't be angry with me, right? Ning Yan asked carefully. I'm not angry with Sister Yan, I just don't like Sister Yan torturing yourself like this, making yourself look like a bitter wife in her boudoir. Although I don't know what has tortured you in the past, if you're willing to tell me, I don't mind being your listener. But if you don't want to tell me, I won't force you. But there's something I have to say to Sister Yan, the past is the past. Everyone has to look forward, who doesn't have a past? Dwelling on the past will only cause you more pain. Leng Ruoxue explained. Leng Ruoxue's words warmed Ning Yan's heart. In fact, she didn't want to talk about the past and she thought she had let it go. However, when someone brought it up again, she realized that not only did she not forget, but those things had also become a memory that she would never be able to erase. A moment later, Ning Yan slowly said, Little Sister Ruoxue, I don't know if you've heard of me, but my reputation in the divine realm isn't very good. Although there are very few people in the clan who dare to mention me in front of me, there are quite a number of people who treat me as a joke in private. I got married once, and I chose that man myself. I thought he was honest and wouldn't have any ulterior motives, so I chose him, but I didn't expect that he was just like all other men. He ate in the bowl but watched the pot. After being married for so many years, he had a lot of women in the dark, but because of my identity, he didn't dare to bring those women home. But one time, he married another woman behind my back. I immediately went to stop him, and when I got there, I found out that he was marrying a bed-warming servant girl, so I changed my mind. Since that woman would rather be a bed-warming servant girl than marry him, I'll do as she wishes. However, she couldn't afford the price of snatching my man away from me. Not long after, that woman was tortured to death by me. To be honest, I really didn't mean it. I didn't intend to kill her so quickly, but who knew that she would be so fragile? I also caused trouble for my family because of that woman. My family compensated a large sum of money for me. My status in the eyes of the Ning family is not as good as before, but father still loves me a lot. So, even if some people are dissatisfied, they don't dare to show me any face. After that, the man who betrayed me also died. Do you know how he died? That man actually ate it behind my back and died at the hands of a woman. At that time, I was so angry that I killed the woman who killed him. As for that stinky man, even after he died, I didn't let him off. Not long after, there were rumors that he died because of my domestic violence. Ning Yan said through gritted teeth, the hatred in her eyes hard to suppress. When Leng Ruoxue saw Ning Yan's angry expression, she knew that Ning Yan was still holding a grudge against the past. However, she could understand. After all, no woman would be able to let go of such a thing. Moreover, she had heard that Ning Yan's husband had been killed by domestic violence when she was in the divine mainland. However, she didn't think much about it at that time. After all, she had only met Ning Yan once and didn't pay much attention to her affairs. However, her relationship with Ning Yan now was different from the past, so she naturally stood on Ning Yan's side. She hated men who were fickle. After that, I returned to the Ning family and lived in seclusion. However, the way many people looked at me made me feel as if there was a dagger on my back. I knew that they didn't welcome me back. After all, I was a daughter who had been married off. In addition, my reputation was not good, so my return would only bring shame to them. However, my seniority was there, and they couldn't do anything about it. After going through all these things, I don't want to cause trouble for father. Although father is the master of the family and all the clansmen are his juniors, if there are too many internal conflicts in the family, it will be very unfavorable to the development of the Ning family. Moreover, the Yao family has been eyeing the Ning family covetously for many years, so I would rather suffer a little grievance than let father worry about me. Fortunately, time has washed away everything, and the initial rumors have become less and less. I've also slowly forgotten about these things. I didn't expect that after so long, the past would be dug up again. My heart felt like it had been stabbed by a knife, so I wanted to escape. Tears welled up in Ning Yan's eyes again as she spoke, but she held them back stubbornly. Is it because of brother Ning Hai? Leng Ruoxue guessed. Ning Yan nodded and decided not to hide it from Ruoxue anymore. After all, she had already told Ruoxue about her most embarrassing incident, so it didn't matter if she did this. I went to the head butler to ask him to give up on Ning Hai and his brother. The head butler pretended to be a snake while his sister directly scolded me. As soon as Ning Yan thought of the humiliation she had suffered 2 days ago, her body trembled with anger. His sister dared to scold you? Leng Ruoxue squinted her eyes and asked in disbelief. Ning Yan was the daughter of the Ning family's old ancestor. A servant of the Ning family actually dared to insult a lady of the direct bloodline. Wasn't this offending her superior? It's not really a scolding. She just said a lot of nasty things, and said that I'm interested in Ning Hai and want to fight with her. Ning Yan said unhappily. She wanted to help brother Ning Hai because of sister Ruoxue. Who knew that Ning Lihua would make it sound like she was trying to steal Ning Hai from her? However, she really thought that Ning Lihua was not good enough for Ning Hai. What did Sister Yan say? Leng Ruoxue asked. I was so useless. I was dumbfounded by her words and didn't even refute her. Ning Yan was ashamed. Leng Ruoxue was stunned. She didn't expect Ning Yan to have such a reaction. Ning Yan usually looked very powerful. Why did she drop the ball at such a critical moment? It didn't take long for these words to spread. Ning Yan's voice was like a mosquito. What did he say? Leng Ruoxue asked in a daze. It's Ning Lihua who said that I like Ning Hai. She said that it wasn't enough that I tortured a man to death, and that I even wanted to harm Ning Hai and steal her man. Ning Yan said, a little embarrassed. Ning Lihua is the head butler's sister. Ning Yan added. Sister Yan, these words should have been spread by that flower. She just wants to use public opinion to force you to give up. If you can't recover from this, won't you fall into her trap? Leng Ruoxue thought for a moment before reminding him. Sister Ruoxue, I understand what you mean, but my heart. Ning Yan was a little conflicted and her heart ached. In the Ning family, apart from her father, Ruoxue was probably the only one who could make her open her heart to him. Besides, she would never tell her father these things. Sister Yan, who doesn't have a past? If you're always immersed in the past and unwilling to look forward, only you and those who truly care about you will be in pain. Those who want to see you make a fool of yourself can't wait for you to be like this. Could it be that you're willing to let your loved ones suffer and your enemies be happy? If I were you, I would only live for myself and do whatever makes me happy. I don't care about what they say. Their mouths belong to them, so we can't control what they want to say. Therefore, we just need to be ourselves. If you really don't want to hear them talk nonsense, then kill one to warn the others. I don't believe that anyone would dare to talk nonsense. Leng Ruoxue's eyes were filled with ferocity as she spoke with a vicious tone. Sister Ruoxue, I also want to be as carefree as you, but most of them are from the Ning family. I can't do it. Ning Yan said gloomily. Leng Ruoxue looked at Ning Yan helplessly. She knew that Ning Yan might be known as a tigress in the divinity, but her fierceness was only for outsiders. She could torture the woman who stole her husband, she could be ruthless to her man, but towards her own people, her heart was as soft as water. In front of her people, she was just a paper tiger. No wonder those people dared to spread rumors about her. Sister Yan. You treat them as your clansmen, but what about them? Have you ever thought about your identity? Leng Ruoxue sighed and reminded her. She knew that Ning Yan would not be able to make this turn in a short time. In a top family like this, everyone's sense of honor was extremely strong. The family also forbade killing each other. However, no one knew what they would do in the dark. They are the minority after all. Besides, they wouldn't dare to say it in front of me. Ning Yan said softly. What about the flower? In her eyes, Ning Yan had always been a free and straightforward person. Why did she become so indecisive in front of her own clansmen? Could it be that the Ning Yan in front of him had been switched? She had always been someone who dared to think and do, so she looked down on people who were so hesitant. However, this incident was caused by Ning Hai and his brother. If it wasn't for them, Ning Yan wouldn't have suffered. So, she naturally couldn't stand by and watch Ning Yan's matter. Who asked her to protect her? She. Ning Yan's beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and she choked with embarrassment and anger. Ai. Leng Ruoxue looked at Ning Yan's tear-stained face and sighed in her heart. This Ning Yan was not the one she knew. Sister Yan. You're Godfather's daughter, and Godfather loves you. There are many people in the Ning family who are jealous of you, so you really can't be like this. Now even a servant dares to scold you to your face. If you endure this, I'm afraid you'll become the laughingstock of the Ning family. The Ning family's clansmen will also think that you're easy to bully. It'll be even more difficult for people to respect you in the future. Therefore, even if you want to endure it, you have to think for Godfather. As the daughter of the Ning family's master, how can she be bullied like this? Leng Ruoxue said earnestly. Then, will father feel that I've caused him trouble? Ning Yan asked carefully. Sister Yan, to put it bluntly, haven't you caused enough trouble for Godfather? Did Godfather say anything? Leng Ruoxue retorted angrily. Father scolded me. Ning Yan said with her head lowered. After that, did Godfather still dote on you as usual? He didn't despise you, did he? Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she asked. No, I didn't, Ning Yan said after some thought. Isn't this good enough? Leng Ruoxue laughed. Little sister Ruoxue, what do you think I should do? I can't do something like killing my own clansmen. Ning Yan was very nervous. She clutched Leng Ruoxue's sleeve tightly and her beautiful eyes were full of bullying. Who told you to kill them? Sister Yan, you don't have to kill your opponents to deal with them. Killing is the simplest way to torture your opponents. Unless it's necessary, I won't use it. Leng Ruoxue said with slight disdain. Hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Ning Yan didn't know what to say. However, she trusted Leng Ruoxue very much. Her beautiful eyes stared at Leng Ruoxue even more intently, as if she was saying, think of a good way. Sister Yan, take me to that flower. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue stood up and smiled. All right. Ning Yan knew that Sister Ruoxue wanted to back her up. Sob. She was a god-tier master. Who would have thought that she would need a mid-level deity to back her up today? When she thought of this, she felt that she was really useless. Ning Yan also stood up and brought Leng Ruoxue to the head butler. The Ning family's head butler lived in the side courtyard of the Ning family's main residence. It was also where many of the Ning family's subordinates lived. However, the courtyard where the head butler lived was definitely the best there. Leng Ruoxue and the others followed Ning Yan into the butler's courtyard. They went straight to Ning Lihua's residence. Although she lived very close to the butler, she did not live in the main courtyard. The butler probably knew about her character, so he wanted to avoid seeing her. Ning Lihua's small courtyard was not big. There were only 2 main rooms and a small garden. Under the guidance of the maidservant, Leng Ruoxue and the rest arrived at the door of Ning Lihua's room. Suddenly, they heard moans coming from the room. As someone's wife, it was impossible for Ning Yan not to know what this voice meant. Her face blushed slightly, and then anger rose from her heart. That damned Ning Lihua, she was really a promiscuous slut. Someone like her still wanted Ning Hai to marry her? He was really too shameless. Ning Yan felt sorry for Ning Hai. At the same time, she was even more determined to help Ning Hai get rid of Ning Lihua's entanglement. Even though Leng Ruoxue had never been married, it did not mean that she did not know what was going on inside. As for Grape and the other maidservants, they had grown up in a top-class family and were no stranger to such sounds. After exchanging glances, Grape kicked the door open and Leng Ruoxue and the rest walked in. In the room, there were 2 red people, one black and one white, entangled on the bed. When they heard the sound, they looked up in surprise. When they saw the person in front of them, they immediately separated. The dark-skinned man jumped out of the bed in a sorry state and knelt in front of Ning Yan, his voice trembling, "Young miss. You know me?" Ning Yan sat down on a chair and asked indifferently. "Yes." The man quickly said, but he couldn't help but think in his heart, in the Ning family, who wouldn't recognize Ning Yan? Wasn't that nonsense? "Where are you from?" Ning Yan asked again. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue sat down as well. Grape and the rest blocked the passage to the door. I am the head butler's attendant. The man said honestly. "Oh. Don't you know that rabbits don't eat the grass by their burrow? You dare to touch the chief butler's sister, you must be tired of living." Ning Yan said angrily. The Ning family had always been very strict with their guards, servants, and maidservants. Although they didn't forbid them from getting married, they would never allow such a wild couple. So, Ning Lihua had finally run into her hands. Thinking of this, Ning Yan was happy. "Eldest miss, please forgive me. It was Miss Lihua who forced me." "Me?" She said that if I didn't, she would kick me out of the main residence. The man said, feeling wronged. "Can your words be trusted?" Ning Yan asked lightly, clearly not believing the man's words. "Young miss. I can swear to the heavens that every word I've said is true." The man calmed himself down and said. Even though his status in the Ning family was low, he was not stupid. Not only that, he was also very clear about the dispute between the eldest miss and Ning Lihua. From the looks of it, the eldest miss was definitely here to catch them in the act of adultery, and her target was Ning Lihua. Therefore, in order to clear his name, he had no choice but to give up Ning Lihua. After all, the eldest miss' target was not him. Furthermore, with his confession, the bub *TCH could use this opportunity to deal with Ning Lihua. This would not be a loss to him. After all, if a man doesn't do it for himself, the heavens will punish him. Protecting his own life was the most important thing. Then make an oath. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Yes. The man wanted to cry but had no tears. In fact, he only said that to win Ning Yan's trust. He really didn't want to make any oath, but now he couldn't back down. Following that, the man unwillingly swore an oath to the heavens. As the rules of the contract descended, his oath was officially established. Ning Yan and Leng Ruoxue looked at each other and smiled. Their beautiful eyes turned to Ning Lihua, who was obviously in a daze. When Leng Ruoxue saw the pear blossoms for the first time, she almost laughed out loud. How were these refreshing pear blossoms? It was clearly a white and fat big bun. Ning Lihua's skin was very fair, but she was also very fat. Her appearance couldn't be considered ugly, but she wasn't pretty either. As for her strength, she was only a high-level deity. She was stronger than her, but Ning Lihua definitely wouldn't be able to beat her. She was too fat and her reactions were slow. Feeling the two gazes on her, the dazed Ning Lihua suddenly came back to her senses and yelled at Ning Yan, "What are you doing here? Weren't you hiding in your room, not daring to come out?" She pointed at Ning Yan in disbelief. Hearing this, Leng Ruoxue gave Grape a look. Grape understood and walked in front of Ning Lihua. He raised his hand and slapped her hard. Suddenly, only "pa-pa" could be heard. The sound continued. In an instant, 5 finger marks appeared on Ning Lihua's fair and chubby face. After the sound disappeared, half of her face swelled up, and a trace of blood flowed down the corner of her mouth. Although Grape's strength was not considered high, it was above Ning Lihua's. Furthermore, Ning Lihua's reaction was slow, and she was even more dumbfounded after being slapped. Therefore, when she was being slapped, Grape did not use any strength at all. Ning Lihua, who was originally the size of a pig's head, was directly beaten into a supreme pig's head. Looking at Grape's violence, Ning Yan's maidservant had a lingering fear and her little heart trembled. Woo! Grape was really too scary. He usually didn't show his true strength. Why was it so terrifying when it came to fighting? Although they were a little scared, Grape acted as if nothing had happened and stood to the side after beating them up. You cheap servant. You actually dare to hit me. Ning Lihua stammered. As she spoke, her teeth flew out of her mouth. However, as the Grape had only hit half of her face, only half of her teeth had fallen out. However, that only made her look even more terrifying. Cheap slave. I wonder how high your status can be. What's wrong? Grape asked back with a smile. She rolled up her sleeves and clenched her fists, as if she was ready to fight again. Her preparation made Ning Lihua tremble. However, Ning Lihua, who was used to being tyrannical in the Ning family, still wanted to slap her own face until it swelled up to look fat, even though she was afraid. My brother is the head butler of the Ning family. He has a high status in the Ning family. How can you, a little maidservant, compare to him? Ning Lihua said as if she was a fox exploiting the tiger's might, but her eyes that were looking at Grape seemed to be avoiding her. All right. Your brother is the head butler of the Ning family, I can't afford to offend him, but you are nothing. I don't feel any pressure beating you up. As soon as Grape finished speaking, she started to hit the other half of Ning Lihua's face. After a while, Grape said he was tired. Then Lotus Seed took over her job and continued hitting. After a long time, Ning Lihua was seeing stars from the beating. Both sides of her face were covered in finger marks, and the degree of swelling was also quite balanced. Grape and Lotus Seed were satisfied and did not continue. Ning Yan looked at Ning Lihua, whose head was twice as big as before, dumbfounded. She gulped and didn't know what to say. She felt that Ning Lihua was in a bad state now. Besides, no one would recognize her in this state. She had always thought that she was fierce and powerful, but compared to Grape and Lotus, she felt that she was not good enough. Look at the two maidservants, they beat people up like they were playing. Woo! She was really useless. Ning Yan was extremely depressed. After being hit for the second time, not only did Ning Lihua feel dizzy, she was also a little dumbfounded. She was in a daze for a long while, still not saying a word. Miss. Weren't we a little too harsh? Grape said worriedly. She thought to herself, I'm done for. I've actually beaten him silly. No, it's just that her tolerance is too low. She'll be fine after she gets used to it. Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Actually, she was just trying to intimidate Ning Lihua. She had not even done anything yet. Yes. Leng Ruoxue's words put Grape's heart at ease. As expected, after waiting for a while, Ning Lihua finally understood. You guys dare to hit me? Ning Lihua glared at Leng Ruoxue and the rest fiercely, as if she wanted to swallow them alive. Sister Yen. Is there any crime in the Ning family's rules that goes against your superior? Leng Ruoxue glanced at Ning Lihua and asked with a smile. There are. Those who disobey their superiors will be sent to Biancheng, and those who are more serious will be expelled from the family. Ning Yen said coldly. Is this the only way? Leng Ruoxue wasn't too satisfied. There wasn't any meaning to such a punishment. Furthermore, no matter which method it was, it would leave behind a root of trouble. One must know that she had always liked to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Yes. Ning Yen nodded. Then let's change her crime. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Cold sweat broke out on Ning Yan's forehead. She could tell that Sister Ruoxue was not satisfied with the Ning family's rules. So what if you betray your master? Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. The betraying master she was referring to was betraying her master. After Ning Yan heard this, she was a little frightened. Wouldn't that mean that Ning Lihua had no way out? Little Sister Ruoxue is so cruel. However, at this moment, she did not feel any sympathy for Ning Lihua at all. You dare to frame me. The Ning family won't let you off. As Ning Lihua listened to the conversation between the two of them, the hatred in her heart soared to the sky. She wanted nothing more than to tear these irksome people in front of her into pieces. When did we frame you? We're just having a discussion, can't we do that? Leng Ruoxue said with a half-smile. You. Ning Lihua was so angry that she couldn't speak. Big steamed bun. Don't worry. I won't kill you, and I won't give you the chance to be expelled from the family. I won't even let you leave the Ning family's main residence. Moreover, I'll slowly settle the score with you for humiliating Sister Yen, so you must live well. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she took out 10 exquisite jade bottles and passed them to the Grapes and Lotus Seed. The Grape and Lotus Seeds opened the bottle caps, poured out one pill each, and stuffed them all into Ning Lihua's mouth. Ning Yen was surprised to see this, but she held back her curiosity and did not ask. However, her heart was like a cat's scratch, itching badly. After watching Ning Lihua eat the pill, Leng Ruoxue stood up and said to Ning Yan calmly, Sister Yan, we can go back now. Good. Ning Yan also stood up, still feeling a little uncertain. Just as she was about to leave Ning Lihua's room, Leng Ruoxue turned to the dark-skinned man who was kneeling on the floor. Go back and be a good servant. If there is any movement from the chief steward, remember to inform us. You're eating the Ning family's food, not the chief butler's. With that, Leng Ruoxue and the rest left without looking back. When the man in the room saw this, he heaved a huge sigh of relief. Then, he put on his clothes and quietly slipped away. On the way back, Ning Yan wanted to say something but stopped several times. Leng Ruoxue saw her expression and laughed, Sister Yan, don't worry. The good show is yet to come. Little Sister Ruoxue, what medicine did you give her? Ning Yan asked curiously. Everything. She'll probably feel terrible. Leng Ruoxue smirked and pulled Ning Yan towards the competition grounds. When she arrived at the competition venue, she did not return to the VIP seats. Instead, she sat in the corner of the audience with Ning Yan and the others. However, Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian, who had been staring at the entrance the entire time, noticed them immediately. Not long after they sat down, Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian sat down next to them. Looking at the uninvited guests, Leng Ruoxue pretended to be displeased and glared at them. What are you two light bulbs doing here? Light bulb? We? Ning Haolan and Cheng Xuan's faces were filled with black lines. How did they become third wheels? Could there be someone else here? Leng Ruoxue retorted. But, it's not appropriate for us to be the third wheel. Cheng Xian complained in a low voice. If I say you are, then you are. Leng Ruoxue was domineering, but Ning Yan could not help but laugh. Little Sister Ruoxue, stop teasing them. Ning Yan said, holding back her laughter. When Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian saw Ning Yan's beautiful smile, they looked at each other and felt at ease. Although they did not know what Leng Ruoxue had done to make Ning Yan happy, as long as she did not lock herself in her room, that was better than anything else. Alright. Can any of you tell me how many rounds this is? Leng Ruoxue asked in all seriousness. Ning Shan's match is over, but Ning Hai's hasn't started yet. Ning Haolan knew what Leng Ruoxue was concerned about, so he went straight to the point. Oh. Leng Ruoxue responded softly and did not continue to ask about the results of Ning Shan's match. Instead, she focused her attention on the arena. Today's competition was divided into two parts. Although the winner would directly advance to the next round, the winner of the first part only needed to fight one round, while the second part of the competition required different number of matches. After the first part of the competition ended, 10 of the Ning family members who participated in the competition would directly advance to the next round, while the other 10 would have to compete for the remaining 6 spots. In other words, after the first day of the competition ended, 4 people would be eliminated. Not long after Leng Ruoxue and the rest sat down, they saw Ning Hai step onto the stage. His opponent was only a god-tier master, but Ning Hai was already a divine lord. Therefore, in everyone's eyes, this was a competition without any suspense. In addition, Ning Hai was also a hot favorite to win this competition. Therefore, when he went on stage, everyone's eyes were all on him. Although the opponent's strength was not as good as his, Ning Hai still took it seriously. You first. In the ring, Ning Hai cupped his fists at his opponent and said very politely. His opponent understood that Ning Hai wanted him to make the first move. It should be known that the person who made the first move would have the opportunity to seize the first opportunity. However, he was already afraid of facing Ning Hai with his own strength. In addition, he saw Ning Hai's relaxed and calm expression, and the fear in his heart deepened. Therefore, he did not make a move, but chose to admit defeat. In the eyes of others, this might be a cowardly action, but for him, it was the wisest choice. Fighting with Ning Hai would not only consume his physical strength, but it might also affect the next round of the competition. And the next round was more important to him, so he did not want to lose more than he gained. However, his choice was a little depressing for Ning Hai, because he was the only 2 Sir Gods among the 20 people. Unless he had the chance to fight with another Sir God, he would probably not even have the chance to practice. Leng Ruoxue looked at the scene in the arena and smiled faintly. That person is quite smart, he knows how to preserve his strength. Don't you think he's a little weak? Ning Haolan probed. It's important to know one's own limits. It's only a man's behavior to fight head-on even though he knows he's no match for them. True experts are flexible. Leng Ruoxue rolled her eyes at Ning Haolan. She did not believe that Ning Haolan did not understand this logic. However, not everyone could be flexible. After all, some people were very prideful and would not bother to take advantage of others. With that, Leng Ruoxue stood up and was about to leave. When she returned to her own residence, Leng Ruoxue went straight into her room, planning to ignore everything that was happening outside. Naturally, she would not know that the Ning family had almost fallen out with each other because of what she had done today. However, even if she knew, she would not care. In the study of Master Ning. The master of the Ning family sat behind the desk, looking at the junior standing in front of him with a headache, as well as the head butler who was kneeling on the ground and crying. His heart was full of frustration. Damn it, it's not a big deal. She had actually caused a scene in front of him. If they couldn't even solve such a small problem, what was the use of keeping these people? The more Master Ning thought about it, the angrier he became, and his expression became uglier and uglier. Seeing this, Ning Yuan did not dare to say a word. he just lowered his head and counted the stones in front of him. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that the second elder insisted on coming to find the great ancestor to judge, he wouldn't have come at all. However, after coming, he didn't say a word and even pricked up his ears to listen to their reasons. Ning Haolan was even more cunning. He didn't enter the study at all, and instead stayed in the courtyard to drink tea with the first elder. As the two of them drank tea, they perked up their ears to listen to the movements in the study. The expressions on their faces were extremely wretched. Little brat. What's the situation? The great elder asked very curiously, his face full of eagerness. If it wasn't for the fact that this could be the Ning family's dirty laundry, he would have gone in to listen. The head butler is here to seek justice for his sister. Leng Ruoxue, that grand-aunt, seems to have drugged Ning Lihua. Ning Haolan said with lingering fear. Before he came here, he had specially gone to take a look at Ning Lihua. At that time, he was so frightened that he almost vomited. That was because the current Ning Lihua was too horrible to look at. She did not even look human anymore. Previous chapter. Oh. The great elder responded softly, thinking that it was indeed Shue's masterpiece. That girl was too lazy, and liked this kind of method to save trouble. However, how did she get caught red-handed this time? This wasn't her style at all. Great elder. Do you think Great Aunt Ruoxue will be in trouble? Ning Haolan asked worriedly. He had thought that Leng Ruoxue had only gone to persuade Ning Yan. He did not expect her to do such a thing. Ugh. The relationship between the head butler and second elder was extraordinary, and second elder's status in the Ning family was extremely high. Hence, he had a feeling that Leng Ruoxue had gotten into big trouble this time. Little brat. You're not calm at all. Isn't that stupid? The great elder said without a trace of worry. He was very clear about Shue's character. That little girl might be young, but she had never done anything that she was not confident in. Therefore, he was not worried at all and only wanted to wait for a good show. That's true. Ning Haolan said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It seemed like he knew too little about Leng Ruoxue. At this moment, Ning Yan also arrived. Originally, when she received the news that the second elder had brought the elders and the head butler to her father's place, she immediately went to inform Ruoxue. Who knew that Grape would actually tell her that Ruoxue had fallen asleep and even told her to go back to sleep. God knows how she could fall asleep now. The Yan girl is here too. First elder greeted Ning Yan with a smile when he saw her. Ning Yan nodded and sat down in the empty seat next to them. She said guiltily, little sister Ruoxue is doing this for me. That girl doesn't fight a battle she's not confident in, so you can rest assured. The first elder advised. Although he almost never left the house, Ning Yan's matter these past few days could not be hidden from him. Not only that, but even old man Ning knew about it. However, old man Ning had no reaction because they were all waiting for Ning Yan to explode. I'll go find father. Ning Yan made up her mind and stood up. First elder burst out laughing at her determined look, which made Ning Yan feel embarrassed. Gorgeous girl. Are you sure you want to go in now? They seem to be complaining inside. The first elder said with an evil smile. I also want to complain. Ning Yan said viciously. This matter started because of her, and she absolutely could not implicate her younger sister Ruoxue. At this thought, Ning Yan walked to the door of the study and pushed it open. Everyone in the study glanced at Ning Yan, but no one spoke. The head butler, who was in the middle of his confession, felt a little guilty after seeing Ning Yan and even forgot to continue. Yan is here, have a seat. Master Ning looked at Ning Yan and said. He loved his daughter, Ning Yan, very much. Although he had many children, those children were like mice seeing a cat when they saw him. Only Ning Yan dared to get close to him, so he gave her more love. However, it was because of this that Yan became the target of public criticism and there were many slanders. Therefore, although he loved Ning Yan, he hoped that Ning Yan could handle these things on her own. After all, he couldn't tie Ning Yan to his side all day long. The child had grown up. He had to be independent after all. However, after the storm these 2 days, he felt that Yan seemed to be a little different. Thank you, father. Hearing Master Ning's words, Ning Yan sat down on the chair closest to the desk without saying a word. With Ning Yan's presence, the head butler was not so at ease, because he was afraid that Ning Yan would dig up what had happened that day. If the master found out, it was hard to say whether his sister could keep her life. Head butler, please continue. The master of the Ning family glanced at the head butler and ordered indifferently. Yes. The chief butler replied, but he did not speak for a long time. After waiting for a while, Ning Yan revealed a beautiful smile and said with a smile that was not a smile, Head butler, the patriarch has ordered you to continue. Ning Yan's tone was quite unfriendly, and the chief butler couldn't help but shiver. No matter how much he looked down on Ning Yan, he didn't dare to show her any attitude in front of the master, not to mention that he was very guilty. Master. My sister has been drugged and is now unconscious. Please, you must help her. The head butler said as if he was forcing a duck onto a rack. As he spoke, his face was already covered in tears, as if he had suffered a great grievance. Although he knew very well who had drugged his sister, he didn't dare to say it without the master asking. Besides, Ning Yan was also involved. May I know the identity of the head butler's sister? How dare you disturb the patriarch's cultivation? Let him seek justice for you. Ning Yan asked sarcastically. This. Although my little sister doesn't have a high status in the Ning family, she's still a part of the Ning family. How can she be treated like this? The person who had drugged her must be punished. This isn't as simple as just drugging my sister, it's also challenging the authority of our Ning family. So, master, please punish the murderer and seek justice for my sister. Otherwise, it will only cause the hearts of the clansmen to turn cold. The head butler's mind was spinning. He directly raised his sister's injury to the family's level, because he believed that for the Ning family's honor, the master had to support his sister. His words resonated with some of the elders present. However, many of them were still not aware that the person who had drugged Ning Lihua was Leng Ruoxue. Otherwise, they would not have dared to come and look for the family head even if they were given 100 guts. Master. The head butler was right. Someone actually dared to drug our Ning family's clansmen in the main residence. This matter must be severely punished. Otherwise, the clansmen will be in a state of panic. An elder chimed in. The elder who had spoken was of a lower status among the elders, and he was eager to please the smooth-talking head butler. Therefore, he was the first to speak up. After that, a few other elders agreed with him. Moreover, their purpose was the same. Although the head butler could only be regarded as a high-ranking servant in the Ning family, he was in charge of many internal affairs of the Ning family. More importantly, the head butler was a favorite of the second elder. There was no harm in having a good relationship with him. After hearing the words of the head butler and the elders, Ning Yen cursed in her heart, idiot. Now, let them echo enough. They would be crying later. Although she wasn't sure if her father would do as they wished and punish little sister Ruoxue, she was clear that her father was protective of her. The head butler and several elders were talking at once, but the master of the Ning family sitting in the chair closed his eyes. When they were done talking and saw the master of the Ning family's appearance, he smiled bitterly in his heart. Could it be that he had overreached himself? The atmosphere turned heavy. After a long time. Only then did the master of the Ning family slowly open his bright eyes. He looked around at the people in the study and said in a very cold tone, "Are you done? Do you have anything else to say?" Everyone looked at each other. No one knew what their ancestor meant, so no one dared to speak first. Second brother. You're the one who brought him here, do you have anything to say? The master of the Ning family lifted his eyes and looked at the second elder. The second elder was his second son, but he was very old-fashioned. Therefore, their father-son relationship was more like a superior-subordinate relationship. The second elder respected him very much, but he never dared to call him father. Second was his exclusive form of address, especially when he was unhappy. Otherwise, he would still give his son some face. After all, his son was not young anymore. Hearing the word second, the second elder knew that he had angered the great ancestor. He was nervous, but he still braced himself and said, "Master. There can't be peace without rules. I think we should give our clansmen an explanation for this." "Oh, really? Then do you know who's the one who drugged you?" The master of the Ning family squinted his eyes and looked at the second elder in an unfriendly tone. Although this son was a little old-fashioned, his character was still okay. It was just that sometimes he was overprotective and couldn't tell right from wrong, which was quite a headache. Moreover, he was well aware that the second elder definitely knew who the culprit was. Otherwise, he would not have brought the person in front of him in such a grandiose manner. I heard from the head butler that this person is Leng Ruoxue. The second elder hesitated for a moment before speaking. However, he felt a little depressed. He did not know whether it was right or wrong for him to bring people to the old grand madam. However, since Leng Ruoxue was involved in this matter, how would he dare to deal with her so casually? When Ning Yuan and the elder who did not know the truth heard the second elder's words, they were shocked and their faces turned pale. Did second elder treat them as his mattress? He knew that Leng Ruoxue was the one who did it, yet he still wanted them to embarrass themselves in front of their grand madam. It was a good thing they didn't say anything more outrageous. Otherwise, their ancestor would make things difficult for them. At this moment, they didn't dare to say a word and subconsciously kept their distance from the head butler. If they did, they would be scolded by the family head. Actually, when they found out that Leng Ruoxue was the elder ancestor's goddaughter, they were clear of her position in the elder ancestor's heart. After all, with the elder ancestor's status, how could he casually take in a goddaughter? But once he did, it was enough to show how much importance the elder ancestor placed on this person. But now, the head butler actually dared to pluck a hair from the tiger's head. Wasn't he courting death? Right now, it was no longer important who was right or wrong. What was important was the old grand madam's mood. If he was bent on protecting Leng Ruoxue, why would he care about what others thought? They dared to use the clan to force other clansmen to commit crimes, but would they dare to force their own ancestors? That would be courting death. In a short moment, many people saw the situation in front of them and decided to be onlookers. Their reaction naturally could not escape the eyes of the Ning family master. However, the Ning family master was very unhappy with their decision to go with the flow. He even made up his mind to let Shui teach these old sly people a lesson. At this moment, it also decided the miserable life of their future generations. Do you know why Shui would do this? After a long silence, Master Ning spoke again. Of course, it's because Leng Ruoxue is arrogant and domineering, using her status as the family head to oppress her clansmen. The second elder said without hesitation. Of course, most of what he knew was from the head butler. He trusted the head butler and knew that he wouldn't dare to lie to him. His words made Ning Yen raise her eyebrows. Was this self-righteous second brother talking about little sister Ruoxue? Why did she feel like they were two different people? Are you sure? After a while, the master of the Ning family asked in a somewhat resentful tone. Of course I'm sure. The second elder was very confident. Did the head butler tell you this? The master of the Ning family sighed. This son of his was really too immature. He actually believed everything he heard. It was a big taboo for such a person to be in a high position in the Ning family. Not all of them. Clan head, I've interacted with Leng Ruoxue a few times and I know a thing or two about her personality. The second elder could hear the displeasure in the family head's tone and quickly explained. Actually, from the first time he saw Leng Ruoxue, he did not have a good impression of her. Otherwise, why would he allow Leng Ruoxue to stay in a side courtyard? However, Leng Ruoxue was the adopted daughter of the master. No matter how much he disliked her, he didn't dare to go too far. However, it was impossible for him to get close to Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue had a beautiful face that could topple a city. Her personality was also extremely flamboyant, and she was born with a domineering air. In front of the family head, she could do whatever she wanted and be as flamboyant as she wanted. This was exactly what the inflexible and strict him did not like. It was also because of this that he was biased against Leng Ruoxue. Hence, when the head butler had just come to him to complain and ask for his help, he had brought her to the family head without a second thought. And the cause of all this was jealousy. However, the second elder had no idea that his prejudice against Leng Ruoxue was due to his jealousy. He was jealous that Leng Ruoxue could live freely in front of the master and do whatever she wanted. He was jealous that she could live so freely and was even more jealous of the master's unreasonable indulgence of her. Even Ning Yen would not be able to enjoy such treatment. However, the master had given all of this to someone who had no blood relationship with him. Of course, this jealousy was hidden in the depths of his heart, and he had not noticed it at this moment. Hence, finding Leng Ruoxue's fault was the reason he naturally thought of the clan, even if this reason could not stand up to scrutiny. After the second elder finished speaking, the master of the Ning family looked at him for a long time without saying anything. Master Ning's gaze made the second elder's heart tighten, and then, his heart thumped. He jumped up and down. To be honest, he was very afraid of the family head's current state. However, he answered every question the family head asked, so he didn't feel that he had said anything wrong. Who else has anything to say? After a long while, the Ning family's master asked with a frown. His eyes were deep and dark, causing the hearts of all the elders present to be in turmoil. However, after everyone looked at each other, no one was willing to take over the Ning family master's problem. Seeing this, the master of the Ning family could only call out names. Ning Yuan. You tell me. The master of the Ning family said unexpectedly. What? Did the patriarch say? Ning Yuan laughed bitterly in his heart. He had dealt with Leng Ruoxue before and knew that she was not to be trifled with. Moreover, they were in front of the old ancestor. Hence, he was extremely unwilling to get involved in this matter. However, his silence did not mean that he could escape. What are you guys doing here? The master of the Ning family lifted his eyelids slightly, his eyes sweeping over Ning Yuan twice as he said indifferently. We were all called here by the second elder. He said that there was an important matter that needed the patriarch to make a decision, so we followed him here. Ning Yuan racked his brains and finally came up with an excuse that he didn't think was offensive. Little did he know that second elder was still very angry. Yes. It was the second elder who informed us to come. As soon as Ning Yuan's words fell, some elders immediately echoed. Hee. I didn't know that you, a substitute master and so many elders, needed me to make decisions for such a small matter. Then what did the Ning family raise you for? The master of the Ning family narrowed his eyes and said unhappily. Master. Because this matter involves your goddaughter, we can't make a decision. The second elder said with a slight grievance. Oh, really? Head butler, how many years have you been the head butler of the Ning family? The master of the Ning family turned his eyes to the head butler who was half kneeling in front of him. It's been 30 years. When the head butler heard the master's question, he didn't dare to waste even half a second and quickly replied. He was very nervous because he, who thought that he could figure out the master's intentions, actually couldn't tell what the master meant. Also, when the master heard that the person who harmed his sister was Leng Ruoxue, he didn't have much of a reaction. Therefore, he was at a loss and his little heart was extremely uneasy. After 30 years, how do you feel about your performance? Master Ning asked again. After he finished, he picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip of tea, and his tone sounded more like he was having a casual chat. This subordinate believes that I have always been diligent, and my loyalty to the Ning family can be seen by the sun and moon. The head butler thought for a moment and said. He was being reserved. He did not praise himself too much, nor did he undervalue himself. All of you, how did the head butler perform? Tell me one by one, don't make me name you. The master of the Ning family asked the other people present. He was speaking here and there without playing by the rules, which made the people present a little confused. He was too honest. They were afraid of offending people, but if they were too fake, they were afraid of offending the old ancestor. They were very conflicted. More importantly, they still didn't understand what the family head meant. Let's start with Ning Yuan. The master of the Ning family added, and then said no more. You've been loyal to the family for so many years, but you've made mistakes. Ning Yuan braced himself and said. After he finished speaking, he could not help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. To be honest, he really did not know how to say it. In fact, the head butler had a lot of problems, but he had never made a big mistake. In addition, the head butler was promoted by the second elder. Therefore, as long as he did not make a big mistake, he would give the second elder face. The head butler is absolutely loyal to the family, and he doesn't shun his relatives when selecting talents. With Ning Yuan's lead, the other elders also knew what to say. Therefore, as soon as Ning Yuan finished speaking, an elder beside him rushed to say, afraid that someone else would say what he wanted to say. In less than an hour, almost everyone present had given the head butler an evaluation. However, some of their evaluations were obviously just for show and did not contain any real content. After hearing this, Master Ning turned his eyes to Ning Yen without a change in expression and said, Yen, you tell me too. Since father wants me to say it, then I won't be polite. Ning Yen stood up and said with a smile. Then, she changed the topic and talked about the butler's past. When the head butler first took over the position of head butler, he was indeed diligent and hardworking. However, after he got the hang of his work and got to know the relationships between all parties, he slacked off. Ning Yen said calmly. Who knew that just as she finished speaking, the head butler cried out, young miss. How could you say that about me? I've been the head butler for so many years, and everyone knows what kind of person I am. You can't slander me. Slander you? Do I need to slander you? Ning Yen laughed coldly. Ning Yen smiled faintly. Although she rarely meddled in the clan's affairs, she knew a thing or two about the head butler. The head butler was a typical bully who feared the strong. If he could speak to her in such a tone in front of the master, he might even flaunt his power in front of the other clan members. The chief butler was at a loss for words and felt a little anxious. Looking at Ning Yan's unkind expression, his heart thumped and he recalled what had happened 2 days ago. Although he wanted to shut Ning Yan up, he didn't dare to do anything in front of the master. Moreover, if he really did that, he was afraid that it would only confirm his guilty conscience. At this thought, he smiled awkwardly and shut his mouth. Seeing that the head butler had stopped talking, Ning Yan continued, I won't mention the previous matter. Let's talk about the recent years. The head butler is becoming more and more fond of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Not only that, he's also nepotism. Many of the important positions in the family are occupied by his people. Ning Yan's words were like a bomb thrown into the crowd. After hearing her words, the head butler's face turned even paler and he trembled in fear. Although Ning Yan didn't say much, every word was piercing. Not only that, but Ning Yuan and the other elders also looked at him with a very thought-provoking gaze. However, this was not the end. A few days ago, he took a fancy to the two brothers, Ning Hai and Ning Shan, and wanted them to marry his sister and daughter. The two brothers were unwilling, so he sent his confidant to threaten them. He even said that if they didn't do as he said, brother Ning Hai would never be able to make a name for himself in the Ning family. The acting family head and all the elders should know what kind of woman Ning Lihua is, right? Everyone hasn't forgotten brother Ning Hai's performance in the family competition, right? In the Ning family, such a pair of brothers with a bright future were actually forced to marry. Wasn't this ridiculous? I'd like to know, what gave you the courage to do that? Previous chapter. After that, I went to look for the head butler to settle this matter, but who knew that Ning Lihua would actually dare to scold me in my face? She even said that I'm promiscuous and wanted to snatch her man. I'm sure everyone has heard the rumors from the past 2 days, it was all spread by Ning Lihua. Ning Yan finished in one breath and felt a little thirsty. She picked up the tea on the table and took a sip. Just as she was about to continue, she was interrupted by the butler, who had a livid face. Young miss. You don't have any evidence. How can you say it out loud? The head butler was covered in cold sweat. His back was already wet, but he still wanted to deny it with a trace of hope in his heart. That day, when the miss and Li Hua had an argument, only the three of them were present, so he felt that as long as he didn't admit it, Ning Yan couldn't do anything to him. After all, even if the master wanted to punish them, he had to look at the evidence, and now Ning Yan just happened to have no evidence. No evidence? Seriously, there were only the three of us at the scene. You can't possibly be my witness and sell out your own sister, right? However, when I went to Ning Lihua's place with little sister Ruoxue today, guess what we saw? Ning Yan asked with a smile, neither angry nor annoyed. What did you guys see? The head butler's heart clenched as an ominous premonition shrouded his heart. We saw Ning Lihua having an affair with someone. Ning Yan didn't want the head butler to guess wrongly, so she gave him the answer directly. This is impossible. The head butler quickly denied it, his heart so nervous that it was about to jump out of his throat. Is it impossible, or is the head butler trying to deceive himself? I wasn't the only one who saw it. Seeing the chief butler's mouth open and tongue tied, Ning Yan's mood suddenly improved. Plop. The head butler directly knelt in front of the master of the Ning family and said with a sad face, Master. Li Hua wouldn't do such a thing, she wouldn't dare. When the head butler said this, he didn't have much confidence because he knew his sister's character very well. However, it was because he knew it that he couldn't admit it. After all, today was the final round of the family competition. If it was confirmed that his good-for-nothing sister had done something ridiculous, not only would his sister be driven out of the main house, but even he would be implicated. He could not let that happen. However, when the master of the Ning family heard the head butler's words, he did not even lift his eyes. Instead, he calmly drank his tea. However, he was quite happy in his heart because Yan had never said such sharp words in the past. If Yan had said this earlier, the people in the family would not have dared to disobey her. Head butler, I have irrefutable evidence on this matter. Ning Yan said with a smile, her heart filled with joy. At this moment, not only was the head butler's face ashen, but even the second elder's face was dark. The others' expressions were not any better. In the past, Ning Yan had always kept a low profile and had never complained to anyone. Over time, some people in the clan thought that Ning Yan was easy to bully, including some elders, who looked down on her and were absolutely not afraid of her. But today, Ning Yan had exposed the head butler's actions in front of so many people. For a moment, everyone's feelings became complicated. Then please show us the evidence, young miss. The chief butler struggled desperately. Head butler, I originally wanted to save you some face, but who knew that you would insist on me bringing out evidence? Sigh. Ning Yan sighed and continued, however, the evidence can't enter the forbidden area in the back mountain, so if you want to see the evidence, you can only go to the main residence. Ning Yan turned to look at Master Ning. Yan, Ask Ning Yan to bring the evidence to the forbidden area. At the master of the Ning family's command, Ning Yan happily went to give Ning Yan instructions. Not long after, Ning Yan brought a dark-skinned attendant to the master's study. The moment the attendant entered the study, he immediately knelt on the ground. Seeing that Ning Yan had actually brought her personal attendant, the chief butler was stunned, not knowing what she was up to. Head butler, do you recognize this person? Ning Yan pointed at the dark-skinned man. I recognize it. He's my attendant. The head butler didn't dare to deny it, and he couldn't deny it either. This was a well-known fact. He was the one with Ning Lihua in the room today. Ning Yan stopped mid-sentence, but she believed that everyone present understood. Damn it. You'd better be honest with me, is what the young miss said true? The head butler said viciously. He could not contain his anger and kicked the servant again. The servant rolled twice on the ground and then obediently got up. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, which was very obvious. Head butler, are you planning to silence me? Ning Yan asked with a cold smile. How dare this subordinate? The chief butler felt guilty. His eyes darted around quickly, trying to find a good solution. Humph. It would be strange if he didn't dare. Don't be afraid, just tell me the truth. The head butler wouldn't dare to do anything to you. Ning Yan consoled. Yes. Young miss. The servant nodded gratefully and repeated what he had told Leng Ruoxue and the others. After he finished, Ning Yuan and most of the elders could not help but look at the head butler with a strange gaze, which made the head butler feel uncomfortable. This is not the first time Miss Li Hua has threatened me. Not only that, she has also threatened others. The servant added. He seemed to be cutting off all means of retreat. In fact, he had to tell the truth because he had to choose between the head butler and the eldest miss. He had made an oath before, so he chose Ning Yan without hesitation. He had already offended the head butler anyway. As the head butler's personal servant, he naturally did not mind telling more. He also said bad things about the elders. The servant threw another bomb. Instantly, the elders went into a frenzy and glared at the head butler in unison. Then, they turned their eyes to the servant. Don't talk nonsense. I've been so good to you, how could you frame me? Who told you to do this? The anxious head butler shouted. This time, he was really anxious. He almost reached out to cover the servant's mouth. F***ck. This servant knew a lot about him. If he were to reveal everything, would he still have a way out? Head butler. You shut up. Suddenly, someone among the elders shouted. Then, that elder said to the servant, you continue. The servant nodded and continued, once, when the head butler was drunk, he told me. The attendant looked at the elders and deliberately paused. An anxious elder saw this and quickly urged, hurry up and tell me, don't dilly-dally. Yes. That time, after the chief steward got drunk, he told me that there were many fools among the elders of the Ning family who were coaxed by him and even had to please him. He also said that in the Ning family, besides the master, the chief elder, and the second elder, he was the most glorious. Moreover, the position of the steward was also full of benefits. If the clansmen want a good future, they have to please him. The attendant said in one breath, and his words made the head butler so angry that he almost fainted. Seeing the head butler faint, the elders present did not have any sympathy at all. Many of them even said in unison, Patriarch, please seek justice for us. Us. Don't you have any human feelings? The head butler has fainted from anger, and you're still hitting him when he's down? The second elder growled angrily when he saw the reactions of some of the elders. However, he did not condescend to help the head butler up. And you? How could you betray your own master? You said this when the head butler was drunk. Can you take what he said when he was drunk seriously? Who can prove this? The second elder glared at the servant with fire in his eyes. Although he knew that the head butler had a lot of shortcomings and was greedy for small gains, he had always thought that the head butler would not dare to make any big mistakes because he was timid. Second elder. This subordinate's words are all true. If second elder suspects that this subordinate's words are false, this subordinate is willing to swear. After the servant finished speaking, he did not wait for the second elder's consent and immediately swore an oath. After the rules of the contract were established, the hearts of the elders were even more inclined to the servant. Because if the servant had lied, he would have been killed by the rules of the contract long ago. How could he still appear in front of them in one piece? As for the unconscious head butler, there was no need to mention him. The second elder saw that the servant had made an oath and was not punished by the rules of the contract, so he did not say anything more with complicated feelings. Usually, when there was a need for a confrontation, they liked to let the other party produce evidence. The oath would not be used unless it was absolutely necessary, because once the oath was made, even if there was the slightest bit of fraud, it would be erased by the rules of the contract. Therefore, few people would not take the oath seriously in order to win the trust of others. Second elder. The head butler also said that you're stupid. Seeing that the second elder had stopped speaking, the servant shrunk his neck and whispered. What did you just say? The second elder squinted his eyes, a cold glint in them. It's true. He said that you've been led by the nose by him and that you believed everything he said. He even said that it was all thanks to you for supporting him all these years. Otherwise, how could he have gotten so much profit? The attendant hurriedly said. If second elder doesn't believe me, I can also swear on my own words. The servant added, but his words made Ning Yan and the others feel embarrassed. It seemed that they had met a servant who liked to make oaths. Wasn't he afraid that he would die if he made a casual oath? Even if they didn't have evidence, they wouldn't swear casually. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. What else can you do besides making oaths? The second elder was a little angry. When he saw the attendant's charming smile, the anger in his heart couldn't be suppressed. Moreover, this attendant had clearly confessed the truth that he had overlooked all this time. This also put him in a difficult position. My mother told me that if you want others to believe you, but you can't produce any evidence, swearing is the best solution. I can't produce any evidence of what the head butler said, so I can only swear to prove my innocence. The attendant said in all seriousness. You're kind. Ning Yan smiled happily and stepped on the head butler's hand without a sound, because she had accidentally seen the head butler's hand move while the old man was still lying on the ground pretending to be dead. No. To be exact, the head butler's fainting was probably an act. Otherwise, his hand would not have moved uncontrollably when he heard the servant about to swear. He was obviously angry. The head butler, whose hand was under Ning Yan's foot, almost screamed in pain. However, in order to show that he had really fainted, he could only bear with it. Ning Yan would even kick him with her heel from time to time, so he could only clench his teeth and swallow the blood. That damned Ning Yan. The head butler couldn't help cursing in his heart. He knew that Ning Yan had definitely done it on purpose. Unfortunately, things had come to this. If he jumped up now, he would definitely be severely punished. So, he could only continue to pretend to faint. Fortunately, no one exposed him. This is what I should do. The attendant tried to please her. Now that he had betrayed the head butler, he could only ask for the young Mrs. protection. Father. I've already said what I need to say, so I won't participate in this matter. Ning Yan said, retreating in order to advance. Then, she sat back on the chair, ready to watch the show. Then, can someone tell me why Shui drugged Ning Lihua? The master of the Ning family blinked, asking despite knowing the answer. Father. Little sister Ruoxue is taking revenge for me. Ning Yan did not give the other elders a chance to speak and rushed to speak. So that's how it is. The head butler and Ning Lihua actually dared to offend their superiors. This is an unforgivable crime. You guys discuss his crimes and deal with him as you like. We cannot allow such a parasite in the family to be allowed to live. Seeing that the matter was almost clear, the master of the Ning family once again became a hands-off shopkeeper. Don't worry, forefather. We'll have a good discussion and give the head butler a reasonable punishment. Ning Yuan quickly expressed his position. The master of the Ning family nodded in satisfaction. Master. Now that the head butler has fainted, should we wait for him to wake up and give him a chance to explain himself, in case he is not convinced? The second elder said. Second elder, the matter is clear. Ning Yuan frowned and reminded him. Was the second elder still not giving up? Hadn't the old ancestor already decided on this? He couldn't understand why the second elder would give the head butler a chance. Gossip is a fearful thing. I just don't want any bad rumors to spread after dealing with the head butler. Not to mention, the head butler has fainted again. If we don't give him a chance to explain himself, it will disappoint the clan. The second elder said earnestly. After listening to the second elder's words, Ning Yuan's mind turned quickly. In fact, it was not impossible to give the head butler a chance to explain, but he was afraid that the longer the delay, the more problems would arise. At the thought of this, he turned his gaze to his ancestor. The master of the Ning family smiled and said, since second elder wants to give the head butler a chance, then let's wait for him to wake up and let him explain himself. Master. How should we deal with Leng Ruoxue? The second elder asked again, unafraid of death. You still want to deal with Shui? The master of the Ning family's voice was filled with coldness, causing everyone's heart to tremble. No one dared to agree with the second elder. She drugged our Ning family. She should be punished. Otherwise, we can't explain it to our family. The second elder said stubbornly. Didn't you hear what Yen said? Shui is taking revenge for her? The master of the Ning family asked coldly. Master. Ning Lihua will be punished according to the clan rules if she disobeys her superior. How can you use private punishment? If it was in our Ning family, if we used such a method to resolve conflicts between clansmen, then wouldn't the Ning family be in a mess long ago? The second elder's words were righteous, and even some of the more inflexible elders nodded their heads, but no one dared to speak out their thoughts. Second brother. Have you gone senile? Your little sister was bullied. As an elder brother, it's fine if you don't say that you'll avenge me, but you actually want to cause trouble for little sister Ruoxue. Humph. Let me tell you, as long as I'm here, don't even think about touching a single hair on sister Ruoxue. Hearing second elder's words, Ning Yan angrily stood up from her chair and roared, and her beautiful eyes met second elder's without any politeness. Yan, My words are still the same, if a clansman makes a mistake, he will be punished according to the clan rules, and cannot be punished by lynching. The second elder emphasized with a red face. Second brother. Although little sister Ruoxue is father's goddaughter, she is not part of the Ning family. Therefore, the Ning family's rules cannot restrict her. Ning Yan reminded her, which meant that she should not use the clan rules to restrict Leng Ruoxue. Since she's not a member of the Ning family, then how do we settle the score of her hurting a member of my Ning family? The second elder asked coldly. Second brother. You want to deal with sister Ruoxue for the sake of Ning Lihua, the sinner of the Ning family? Humph. Who was Ning Lihua? She was just a servant of the Ning family. If she didn't have a big brother who was the head butler, how could she live like a direct young lady? Speaking of which, this was all thanks to second brother. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had the chance to rise up the ranks. Ning Yan laughed coldly. The head butler and his sister are your people. If you want to stand up for them, just say it. Don't say it in such a grand manner, disgusting. However, I'll also say this today. If sister Ruoxue loses a single hair, I won't play with you. Ning Yan threatened again. Why, you're really unreasonable. The second elder trembled in anger, but he couldn't do anything about Ning Yan. After all, she was the master's most beloved daughter. As for the elders present, they really didn't know what to say when they saw the second elder and the eldest young miss brother and sister actually start quarreling without caring about their image. However, they still blamed the second elder for finding trouble for no reason. She was the ancestor's goddaughter, so why was the second elder biting her and not letting her go? Was it worth it just for the sake of the head butler and Ning Lihua? All the elders who had seen it clearly chose to protect themselves in the face of the dispute between the second elder and the eldest young miss. Moreover, in order not to be pulled into the cannon fodder by the second elder, everyone turned their heads in unison and did not look at them, but their ears were perked up the whole time. All of you, shut up. Suddenly, a loud shout rang in everyone's ears, and this voice was not unfamiliar to them. Immediately, everyone's hearts trembled. The old ancestor was angry. Father. Ning Yan looked at her father pitifully, tears welling up in her beautiful eyes. Stop arguing. Second. Shue, don't you dare touch her, I was the one who allowed her to drug Ning Lihua, humph. She dared to humiliate my daughter. She's lucky that I'm still letting her live. The master of the Ning family said in an extremely displeased tone, exuding a cold aura. His eyes were filled with disappointment as he looked at the second elder. Yes. Master. The second elder answered unwillingly. He knew that with the family head's protection, he could not convict Leng Ruoxue of her crime. From now on, Shue's words and actions in the Ning family will be on my behalf. None of you are allowed to criticize her. If I need your cooperation, you are not allowed to refuse. I won't let you off. The master of the Ning family said again. After he finished speaking, he ordered the guests to leave, not caring about how ugly the faces of the people present were. However, after the Ning family master said this, they finally saw the truth. That was, old grandmadam really doted on this goddaughter. Otherwise, she would not have said such words. After today, they had to re-evaluate Leng Ruoxue's position in the Ning family. Before leaving the study, the elders carried away the unconscious head butler. At this time, one of the head butler's hands was swollen like a pig's trotter, blue and purple. After the crowd left, Ning Yan stayed behind and looked at her father worriedly. Father. Your words just now will bring trouble to little sister Ruoxue. After a moment of silence, Ning Yan finally couldn't help but ask. That girl isn't afraid at all. If someone really dares to cause trouble for her, then the unlucky one will definitely be someone else. Shue's methods are much more powerful than yours. Furthermore, she's hard-hearted when it comes to dealing with enemies. I'm worried that many of those clansmen who don't have eyes will be played to death by her. The master of the Ning family touched his chin and pretended to worry. When Ning Yan heard his words, she burst into laughter. He laughed. Then why do you still give sister Ruoxue such great authority? Aren't you afraid that she'll accidentally kill all of your juniors? Ning Yan was speechless. She really didn't know what her father was thinking. Before those elders left, she saw many jealous gazes. A big tree needs to branch, but the rotten leaves on the tree also need to be cleaned. Otherwise, it will only affect the tree's roots. The master of the Ning family sighed. Father, are you treating little sister Ruoxue as a gardener? Ning Yan was helpless and didn't know what to say. There's no other gardener more qualified than her. The master of the Ning family laughed evilly. Father. You actually schemed against little sister Ruoxue. If she finds out, you will be in trouble. Ning Yan couldn't help but remind her. After being with Ruoxue for so long, she more or less understood Ruoxue's character. Sister Ruoxue would definitely not be willing to be schemed against by her father. When she thought of this, she actually felt a trace of anticipation in her heart. You silly girl. If only you were half as smart as Shue. Do you think she doesn't know what I'm thinking? The master of the Ning family sighed. Arg. Little sister Ruoxue knows? Ning Yan was confused. Of course. We have a tacit understanding. The head of the Ning family was a little smug. In fact, from the moment he knew that his daughter had been humiliated but did not do anything, that girl probably knew that he wanted to use her to do something. Coupled with the fact that it was because of Ning Hai and his brother, she had taken the initiative to help Yen deal with Ning Lihua. All of this could not escape his eyes. Tisk. Ning Yen rolled her eyes at her father, then pulled Master Ning out of the study. First Elder and Ning Haolan were waiting for them in the courtyard. The father and daughter sat down in the empty seats beside the great elder, but neither of them spoke first. You let the head butler go so easily? The first elder asked in disbelief. Didn't he faint? I promised second that I would give him a chance to defend himself, in case he is not convinced. The master of the Ning family said helplessly, but there was a cunning look in his eyes. Don't give me that. That guy was obviously pretending to faint. Don't tell me you didn't see it. The great elder said in a bad mood. This old thing was clearly trying to whet his appetite. This was preposterous. So what if you can see it? Since he liked to act and pretend to faint, then let him act as much as he wanted. How could Yen stomp on his hand until it became a pig's trotter? The master of the Ning family teased in a good mood. Master Ning's words made Ning Yan's cheeks flush red in embarrassment. She felt even more depressed. Boo-hoo. She was caught doing something bad. After chatting with them for a while, Ning Yen left in a hurry. The next day. When Leng Ruoxue walked out of her room, she felt refreshed and in a good mood. Grape and Lotus Seed's mood also became better when they saw their Miss's appearance. Miss. I heard from eldest Miss Ning that yesterday, second elder brought the head butler to ask the head of the Ning family to make a decision. Grape said with a gossipy look. Oh. And then? Leng Ruoxue asked indifferently, obviously distracted. The head butler was carried out, I'm not sure about the rest. Grape felt a little regretful. Sigh. It was their fault that they couldn't enter Master Ning's courtyard at will. Carried out? I'm so happy that I can sneak away now. Leng Ruoxue said with a hint of envy. When Grape and Lotus Seed heard Leng Ruoxue's words, their foreheads were full of cold sweat. They thought to themselves, young Miss' way of thinking is really different. They went in standing and carried him out. They knew without thinking that the head butler must have suffered a huge blow. However, the young Miss seemed to be a little envious. Leng Ruoxue could tell what the two maidservants were thinking. She chuckled and did not say anything. Actually, she had already expected what had happened yesterday. She had also thought of the consequences. Hence, she had returned to her room early. After breakfast, Leng Ruoxue headed to her godfather's courtyard, preparing to head to the competition grounds with them. After entering the arena, before she could even sit in the VIP area, she felt a few intriguing gazes on her. However, she didn't take it seriously and ignored them. Before the competition even started, she was dragged away by Ning Yen. Sister Yen, where do you want to take me? Leng Ruoxue asked in confusion. To see the head butler and Ning Lihua. Ning Yen said mysteriously. Why are you looking at them? Leng Ruoxue looked at Ning Yen as if she was a monster. She thought to herself, did Ning Yen take the wrong medicine? He actually dragged her to look at those two things. Of course it's to let you see their end, hee. Ning Yen laughed evilly and was extremely happy. Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen chatted as they walked. Not long after, they arrived at the main butler's courtyard. At that moment, the head butler and Ning Lihua were placed in a room. Furthermore, there were guards at the door. However, just as they reached the door, they heard soft moans coming from inside. Leng Ruoxue's face was filled with question marks. She looked at Ning Yen and asked, this is Ning Lihua and the head butler's room? Ning Lihua's illness always acted up, and the head butler was still unconscious, so the elders decided to put them in the same room, so that they could save one room. Ning Yen blinked and smiled. Then, she told Leng Ruoxue and the others about what happened in the study room yesterday. After everyone heard this, their faces were filled with excitement. Then, Ning Yen pushed the door open. Even though they were mentally prepared, Leng Ruoxue and the rest were still shocked. That was because at that moment, Ning Lihua was actually sitting on the head butler. Furthermore, both of them were completely naked. Ning Lihua's eyes appeared to be in a daze and her body was covered in bloody scratch marks. Some of them had already formed blood clots. However, at this moment, she was clearly very excited. Her chubby body kept on wriggling, making everyone feel nauseated. As for the head butler, his face had turned black and blue since he was not very strong to begin with. It was obvious that he had been unconscious for a long time. Moreover, this time, he had really fainted, or he had fainted because of something. Miss. How did Ning Lihua know? Grape could not help but ask. If I'm not wrong, she should have taken an antidote pill. Unfortunately, there is more than one poison in her body, and that antidote pill has reacted with a certain poison, thus forming a slow-acting aphrodisiac. However, according to my estimation, the effect of this aphrodisiac should not be too strong. She can only blame herself for not having enough self-control. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. This should be called evil has its retribution. If she knew her place, she wouldn't have ended up like this today. As for the head butler, if she continues to torment him like this, he'll definitely die of exhaustion. Ning Yen sighed. What's wrong? Sister Ning's heart has softened? Leng Ruoxue chuckled. TSK. I won't be soft-hearted. The head butler pretended to faint and was raped by his own sister. This has nothing to do with me. Besides, even if the head butler wakes up one day, I'm afraid he won't have the face to see anyone. So, let him remain unconscious. Ning Yan said very kindly. That makes sense. I think we should just go back and watch the game. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. MMH. However, let's do a good deed and inform the second elder. After all, the head butler is a trusted aide he has always relied on. Ning Yan was very understanding. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head. Indeed, she should inform her master about this incident. However, she could not understand why the guards at the door did not report this to their master. Actually, this was something that Leng Ruoxue did not know. When they were locked up together, the elders had made it clear that as long as they were not allowed to escape, there was no need to report anything else. This was enough to prove that the head butler had been abandoned by the higher-ups of the Ning family. After Ning Yan, Leng Ruoxue, and the others left the room where the head butler and his sister were locked up, they had specially found a guard to inform the second elder of this matter. Who knew that after the guard heard their orders, he actually had a difficult expression on his face, as if he was extremely unwilling. Young Miss Leng, can you find someone else to do this? The guard discussed pitifully. He was afraid that second elder would vent his anger on him if he went. Hey! Are you even a man? What was there to be afraid of? If I wasn't a member of your Ning family, I would have gone to tell that second elder. Grape, who was standing at the side, couldn't take it anymore. She glared at him with her clear and bright eyes and roared with a look of disdain. Grape, who was getting more and more hot-tempered, shouted directly. Lotus Seed and the others looked at the timid guard with disdain, causing the guard to lower his head in shame. He was just short of finding a hole to hide in. You don't need to be put in a difficult position. Just tell the second elder that something has happened to the head butler. Don't say anything else. As for whether the second elder will come or not, that's his business. Leng Ruoxue sighed softly and said helplessly. Yes. After the guard heard this, although he was still a little hesitant, he did not reject it as much. After the guard left, Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yan immediately returned to the competition grounds. However, before he could sit down, the second elder went to Leng Ruoxue angrily. Damn it. What a good thing you've done. The second elder's face was ashen. His eyes were wide open as he glared at Leng Ruoxue. What good thing did I do? Leng Ruoxue was a little surprised. You're still playing dumb, aren't you? You almost killed the head butler. The second elder was so angry that his chest was trembling and he was panting heavily. You mean the head butler? Second elder, I didn't do anything to the head butler, so you can't blame this on me. Leng Ruoxue furrowed her brows and said impatiently. You dare to say it wasn't you? You weren't the one who drugged Ning Lihua? The second elder shouted at the top of his voice, not caring about his image. I was the one who drugged Ning Lihua, but the aphrodisiac wasn't tea. Leng Ruoxue was very clear why second elder had come to find her. However, she was a person who dared to admit to her actions. If she did it, she would not deny it. If she didn't, then others could forget about pinning the blame on her. You said it wasn't you, then who did it? Other than you, no one else has drugged her. The second elder said unyieldingly. He was so angry that his face was red and his neck was thick, and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. It's her, or rather, it's them. Leng Ruoxue said calmly. You still dare to quibble. Second elder was even angrier after hearing Leng Ruoxue's words. At this time, the Ning family's master, elders, and others sitting there knew that something had happened to the head butler again. Then why couldn't the head butler stop? I haven't even been convicted of my own crimes, and I actually caused trouble again. It's really troublesome. Everyone couldn't help but think to themselves, and they looked at the second elder with a hint of disapproval in their eyes. After all, from their point of view, the head butler's crime could not be exonerated. Furthermore, the master had confirmed Leng Ruoxue's position in the Ning family. Hence, it was an extremely unwise decision for a head butler who was about to step down to go against Leng Ruoxue. Hence, second elder had to fight this battle alone. I'm not quibbling, I'm just telling the truth. Second elder might not be able to accept it, but it's the truth. I put a few drugs on Ning Lihua's body, but there was no aphrodisiac in it. The purpose of the drug was only to make her suffer a little so that Sister Yen could get back at her. I didn't want to take her life, and those drugs all have a time limit. As long as she endured for a few days, she would naturally recover without any drugs. Unfortunately, she took an antidote. The medicine I gave her wasn't really poison. After she took the antidote, it just happened to react with the other medicinal properties, so it became a slow-acting aphrodisiac. However, even if it's a slow-acting aphrodisiac, the effect isn't very strong. As long as she has enough self-control, it's nothing. As for the head butler, I wasn't the one who put him in the same room as Ning Lihua. Even though his body isn't as strong as Ning Lihua's, he shouldn't have been unable to resist when faced with such a situation. How could he have been? This is indeed interesting. Perhaps second elder can investigate this properly. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful eyes revealed a faint smile as she suggested. You're clearly being unreasonable. The second elder was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He pointed at Leng Ruoxue and stuttered. Second elder. Miss Leng has made it very clear that this matter really has nothing to do with her, so don't hold on to her, AI. This can only be considered an accident. At this moment, the seated third elder opened his mouth to speak. This was also considered his way of expressing his goodwill towards Leng Ruoxue. After he had finished speaking, many other elders also expressed their goodwill towards Leng Ruoxue and spoke up for her. Seeing this situation, second elder was so angry that he could not say a word. Leng Ruoxue's clear and beautiful eyes looked around at the elders who had spoken out for her and expressed her gratitude with her eyes. Second brother. The matter of the head butler ends here. You should quickly choose a new head butler. The clan's miscellaneous affairs cannot be left unattended. The master of the Ning family frowned and made his decision. He was more and more disappointed with his second son, but at the same time, he was more determined to his original idea. But master, the head butler hasn't woken up yet. Didn't you agree to give him a chance to defend himself? The second elder lowered his head and reminded him in a low voice. Forefather, second elder, these are the crimes of the head butler that I've sent people to collect. Please take a look. Ning Yuan found the right time to speak. He handed 2 thick piles of evidence to the ancestor and the second elder. In fact, he had already planned to replace the head butler. Unfortunately, the head butler had the second elder's support. Therefore, he did not dare to make a move on the head butler without sufficient evidence. Now was a good opportunity, so he would not let the head butler have a chance to make a comeback no matter what. The master of the Ning family skimmed through the book and finished it in a few minutes. After reading it, he suppressed his anger and said, "Don't give him any more chances. Tomorrow, send his entire family to Biancheng. They're not allowed to leave for life." No one dared to object to the words of the master of the Ning family. After the second elder saw the evidence, he didn't dare to speak up for the head butler. There was a lot of evidence. Although the things above were not very serious in his opinion, the number of mistakes made was too large. When added together, it was enough to make the people of the Ning family angry. As for the second elder, remove him from his position as an elder for now. From now on, he will be Shue's bodyguard. The master of the Ning family said again. His decision was like an atomic bomb that exploded among the elders. All the elders and Ning Yuan looked at each other. No one dared to say a word, but their sympathetic eyes followed the second elder, making his face turn darker and darker. Master. Why did you revoke my position as the second elder? What did I do wrong? The second elder's face was full of disbelief, his eyes wide as he stared at the master of the Ning family. As an elder of the family, I don't expect you to treat everything equally, but excessive selfishness and jealousy are taboo among the higher-ups. Do you think the chief butler would dare to do all these things without your support? And now that things have come to this, you still want to clear his name. Humph. Our Ning family doesn't need such a selfish elder. You should reflect on yourself for a while. From now on, you're Shue's bodyguard. The master of the Ning family said firmly. After the second elder heard the words of the master of the Ning family, he was completely stunned. Godfather. I can't afford to use the second elder. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue pouted her pink lips and spoke with slight dissatisfaction. She was extremely dissatisfied with this arrangement because she was very clear that she could not command the old fogey second elder. Shue. Since he's your bodyguard now, you can do whatever you want with him. Whether you hit him or scold him depends on your mood. I won't interfere. Master Ning smiled and tried to please her. He knew what Shue was afraid of, but he would never give Leng Ruoxue a chance to reject him. Godfather. This kind of thing can't be one-sided. I don't want a disobedient subordinate. Leng Ruoxue looked at the dark-faced second elder. No matter how she looked at him, she was not satisfied. Shue. Didn't Godfather say it before? You can do whatever you want to him, be it scolding or beating. Master Ning's voice was pleading. At this moment, the second elder had also regained his senses. He knew that the family head's words carried enormous weight and no one could go against them. Even though he was unhappy, he had no way of rejecting her. However, he did not expect that Leng Ruoxue would not want him either. This had hurt his pride. You, wretched girl, you dare to despise me. The second elder's brows furrowed as he pointed at Leng Ruoxue and roared in anger. Don't you also despise me? We're the same. Since we don't see eye to eye, why force ourselves to be together? A melon that is forcefully twisted is not sweet, there will be no happiness if you force it. Leng Ruoxue raised her brows slightly. A smile flashed across her bright eyes, so fast that no one could catch it. However, Leng Ruoxue's words left everyone at the scene at a loss for words. There seemed to be something wrong with her words, but they could not put their finger on what it was. Furthermore, other than the family head, second elder, and Leng Ruoxue, no one else dared to even breathe loudly. They were afraid that the family head would target them and throw them to Leng Ruoxue to be her attendant or something. If that happened, how could they still face others? Second elder was speechless. Leng Ruoxue was right. He was 1,000 times, 10,000 times, unwilling to be her bodyguard. However, what was the use of his unwillingness? Could he resist the master? Although he was already a reverent god, he was as fragile as a child in front of the master. As a member of the Ning family, he had a natural worship for the Ning family's ancestor. This worship came from the blood and was innate. Therefore, they were born with the mission of protecting the Ning family's honor, which had been deeply embedded in their bones. Therefore, even if he was unwilling, he could not resist the decision of the ancestor. Little girl. Wouldn't it be a greater sense of accomplishment to turn an unwilling melon into a willing melon? The master of the Ning family reminded him with an evil smile, a hint of slyness quickly flashing in the depths of his dark eyes. All right then. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She knew that Godfather was determined to give this inflexible second elder to her. Hence, no matter what reason she came up with to reject him, Godfather would go back on his word. Since that was the case, she would accept it reluctantly. Wretched girl. I'm a reverent god. Looking at Leng Ruoxue's reluctant expression, the anger in second elder's heart surged to his head. This wretched girl had hurt his pride. Although he was not willing to do so, he would not allow others to despise him. What's wrong, divine lord? Leng Ruoxue did not think much of it. Even though reverent god-level cultivators were considered top-notch cultivators in the god world, even top-notch cultivators would not be able to withstand being surrounded and attacked. She had so many beastie in her hands, and one spit from each of them would drown him. You. The second elder was so angry that he pointed at Leng Ruoxue, unable to speak. You what? I'm your master now. You can either call me master or young lady. If you dare to call me wretched girl again, I'll punish you. Leng Ruoxue's clear and beautiful eyes glared angrily as she threatened him. You. The second elder stammered for a long time, but he couldn't say a word. Grape. Discipline him. Seeing that second elder was talking about her again, Leng Ruoxue turned around and instructed Grape without hesitation. Yes. May I ask, miss, what kind of family discipline should we use? Grape asked in a low voice. She had followed the young miss for so long, why didn't she know that the young miss had family laws? Didn't I give you so many pills? You can give any one of them to the second elder. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. The smile on her face was as bright as 100 flowers blooming. Understood. Grape nodded. Then, he smiled at the terrified second elder, took out a pill and threw it into his mouth. In an instant, the second elder was rendered speechless. His entire body was stiff, and he could not move at all. However, his eyes were fixed on Leng Ruoxue. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue wasn't angry. If second elder didn't have any reaction, then it would be quite boring. However, when the other elders saw the second elder's appearance, they were a little bewildered because they didn't know what had happened to the second elder. He had only taken one pill, so why couldn't he speak or move? This was really too strange. Actually, the reason why second elder could not move was because Leng Ruoxue had given him a drug that made his entire body stiff. After all, his opponent was a reverent god-level cultivator. With Grape's strength, there was no way she could do anything to him. After that, Grape gave the second elder a pill that made him temporarily mute. Hence, the second elder ended up in this state. The second elder stood there unmoving. Even though the crowd pitied him, no one dared to speak up for him. Leng Ruoxue turned her head to the arena, not even bothering to look at him, treating him like air. Today was the second day of the finals of the family competition. The competition was divided into two parts, and the rules were the same as the previous day. As for Leng Ruoxue, she only paid attention to the match between Ning Shan and Ning Hai. Ning Hai's match was the same as the previous day. There was not much suspense. If his opponent admitted defeat, he would advance directly. As for Ning Shan's match, because his opponent's strength was above his, many people thought that he would stop at the family competition, and the truth was similar to their guess. Who knew that at the last moment, Ning Shan would make a huge reversal? He burned all of his divine power as the price and finally won against his opponent and advanced. This price also caused Ning Shan to be seriously injured. His opponent could not participate in the next competition because of his severe injuries. After Ning Shan's match ended, Leng Ruoxue brought the grapes and lotus seeds to the contestants' seats. At this time, Ning Shan had already taken the healing pill given by his family and was lying on the bench. Ning Hai was guarding him at the side, and a few contestants were staring at them with unfriendly expressions. When he saw Leng Ruoxue walking over, Ning Shan struggled to get up. Don't move. Leng Ruoxue said with slight displeasure. Big sister Ruoxue. Ning Shan could tell that Leng Ruoxue did not seem too happy, so he did not dare to move. Shan, do you know what you did wrong? Leng Ruoxue checked on Ning Shan's injuries and asked with a straight face. Ning Shan's injuries were very serious, and many of his meridians were broken. Even if he had taken healing pills, it was impossible to completely heal his injuries. The main reason was that the grade of the pill was low, and his injuries were too severe. In order to completely heal his injuries, he would need a healing pill that was at least a high-grade divine pill. And those were hard to come by, so the Ning family would naturally not let them use it so easily. After all, even though they were quite talented, the Ning family had no lack of young talents. Unless they were as talented as Ning Haolan, this family competition would most likely be their final stage. The competition was cruel, but the competition was even crueler. This was a competition to select the elites of the Ning family. Those who could survive until the end were naturally the elites among the elites, and any elite had gone through countless fights and battlefields, through the glint and flash of blades and swords. Although the Ning family forbade people from killing each other, this rule was obviously not applicable in the competition, because what the Ning family needed was true talent, not an embroidered pillow that only had a false appearance. In this family competition, only the final winner would be remembered by the family. As for the losers, they naturally had their own paths to walk. However, the premise was that they still had the opportunity to serve the family. For someone like Ning Shan, even if he won, he would probably be abandoned because of his severe injuries. His opponent's outcome would be even more miserable. Sister Ruoxue, I know I was wrong. But I didn't think too much at that time. I just wanted to win that competition. Ning Shan understood Leng Ruoxue's meaning and knew that his actions were too reckless. Furthermore, not only were his injuries too severe, but he had also caused his opponent to lose the chance to compete. Looking at his opponent who was lying on the ground weakly, Ning Shan felt very guilty. He had his brother to take care of him when he was injured, but his opponent was all alone. Even his family had given up on him. This made him feel that the world was cold and the human heart was cold. Thinking of this, he felt more and more guilty and uneasy. His opponent's injuries were more serious than his, and it was likely that he would become a cripple in the future. This would also become a worry that would accompany him for the rest of his life. Seeing that Ning Shan's expression was getting darker and darker, Leng Ruoxue knew that the time was right. She then slowly opened her mouth and said, "Shan, you're still young. You shouldn't place so much importance on the gains and losses of a match. Besides, it's not like you don't have a chance anymore, so there's no need to use that method of yours that would hurt both yourself and your enemy. You know, because of your competitiveness, not only did you stop in the competition, you even harmed your opponent. He's only your opponent in the competition, not your mortal enemy. You really shouldn't." Leng Ruoxue had only finished half of her sentence, but she knew that Shan would understand what she meant. Shan Er's opponent was not a despicable person and had always followed the rules during the competition. Furthermore, his strength was indeed above Shan Er's. However, he probably did not expect Shan to go all out and use that desperate attack. Hence, he was not mentally prepared and was injured to the point of dying. In fact, according to her thoughts, Shan Er's opponent wasn't without problems. At least, she didn't estimate her opponent well enough. Although this was only a family competition, any situation could happen. She even thought that there might be some contestants who had been bribed to do things that would harm others and harm themselves. These situations should have been thought of before the competition and taken precautions in advance, just in case. However, she did not know Shan Er's opponent, so she naturally had no obligation to teach others. She only wanted Shan to understand that victory was not the only result. Most importantly, she had to know how to judge the situation. Blindly showing off her courage and ruthlessness would only lead to her losing her life early. "Sister Ruoxue, I will take care of him in the future." Ning Shan lowered his head and said in embarrassment. "Silly boy, even if you want to take care of me, I don't necessarily need you to take care of me. Come, eat this." As Leng Ruoxue spoke, she took out a healing pill and passed it to Ning Shan. Ning Shan looked at the milky white pill that was glowing and knew that it was not an ordinary pill. Furthermore, it was of a higher grade than the one he had just eaten. Thinking of this, Ning Shan handed the pill to Ning Hai and said, "Big brother. Let him eat this pill." "All right." Ning Hai looked at his brother and was very pleased. He took the pill and walked over to Ning Shan's opponent, stuffing the pill into his mouth. This matter started because of Ning Shan, so it was understandable for Shan to give the pill to his opponent. Therefore, he agreed with this. "Sister Ruoxue, you won't blame me, right?" Ning Shan said somewhat embarrassedly after presenting Buddha with borrowed flowers. "What's the use of blaming you? You've given it all to someone else." Leng Ruoxue said with a straight face on purpose. "Sister Ruoxue." Ning Shan could tell that Leng Ruoxue was angry. He looked at Leng Ruoxue with red eyes, feeling wronged. Seeing tears welling up in Ning Shan's eyes and his aggrieved look, Leng Ruoxue could not help but burst out laughing. "What are you laughing at? You really are a silly boy. My family's young miss is an alchemist, and what she doesn't lack the least is medicinal pills. Why are you still acting pitiful?" Grape said with a smile. "Arg. Sister Ruoxue, then my injury." Ning Shan came to his senses and looked at Leng Ruoxue with anticipation. His expression was like that of a dog who wanted to please its master, his eyes sparkling. "Take it. You can't be so reckless in the future. Winning or losing isn't important, but even if you win, the Ning family elders will think that you're headstrong and not a promising talent. So, don't lose more than you gain, because you've lost more than you can gain." Leng Ruoxue warned as she passed Ning Shan the same pill. Big sister Ruoxue, I won't be like this in the future. I will use my own strength to prove myself. I will definitely become a peerless expert." Ning Shan promised. For a moment, his aura soared, and that pair of doe-like eyes also became brighter. "This is more like it." Leng Ruoxue chuckled and patted Ning Shan's head as if she was petting a puppy. "Miss Leng, thank you for saving my life." Suddenly, a loud male voice rang in Leng Ruoxue's ears. Leng Ruoxue turned around and saw a tall and boorish man standing beside her, looking a little uneasy. The man had a square face and handsome features. He was very manly, and with his tall figure, he was definitely a man with a resolute character and a daring attitude. At this time, the injuries on his body had all healed, but his clothes were still bloody and looked very scary. However, his figure matched his expression, which was quite interesting. "You're welcome, it's just a small matter," Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. To be honest, she did not want to take the credit. She just wanted to make fewer enemies for Ning Shan. Besides, if Ning Shan had not used such an extreme method at the end, the winner would have been this man. Not everyone will do that. The man was very stubborn. He firmly believed that Leng Ruoxue was his savior. "What if I said that if Ning Shan had not hurt you, I would not have cared about your life or death?" Leng Ruoxue asked with a smile. "This is only human nature. After all, I'm just a stranger to Miss Leng." The man replied without any hesitation. In other words, he meant that Leng Ruoxue had saved him. Even if it was a simple act, she was still his benefactor. If she didn't save him, it was only natural. After Leng Ruoxue heard the man's words, she was speechless. Not only was this man stubborn, but he was also very open-minded. He was a talent that could be nurtured. Furthermore, from his expression, he did not seem to be dissatisfied with Ning Shan. "Miss Leng, I'm going to prepare for the next match. If there's a chance, I'll definitely repay your great kindness." After the man finished speaking, he bowed to Leng Ruoxue and turned to leave. Leng Ruoxue stared at the man's back in a daze. Could it be that she was looking for trouble for herself again? And the truth proved that she was right. After seeing Ning Shan, Leng Ruoxue did not pay any attention to the following matches. She brought her maidservant and left the competition grounds. However, after today's competition ended, there were only 12 people left. The fewer people there were, the more intense the following matches would be. As soon as Leng Ruoxue returned to her residence, Ning Yen came. The two of them sat on the stone chairs in the courtyard, staring at each other. Sister Yen, is there anything I can help you with? Leng Ruoxue could not help but ask when she saw Ning Yen sighing. Little sister Ruoxue. Do you still have the healing pills you gave to Ning Shan and Ning Bo? Ning Yen sighed and asked. There are. What's wrong? Leng Ruoxue was confused. If someone asks you, don't say there's more, understand? Ning Yen reminded him worriedly and looked around. Why? Leng Ruoxue knew that someone must have had ideas about her pills. However, the Ning family shouldn't be lacking in healing pills, right? Someone wants to get the pill from you. However, I'm not sure if they want to buy it. Just don't tell them you have it. I don't think they would dare to snatch it from you. Ning Yen said with a look of disdain. After hearing the news, she immediately came to tell Ruoxue so that she could be mentally prepared. Why do you say no? If they want it, I can sell it to them, but I can't give it to them for free. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. It was a waste to give her this. You idiot, even if they buy it, how much can they give you? Not only will you not be able to sell it for a good price, but you'll also get angry. Why do you have to do this? Ning Yan's beautiful face was full of disapproval, and her beautiful eyes, which were as clear as autumn water, even had a hint of threat. Sister Yen, it should be the Ning family who wants the pill, right? You're the young lady of the Ning family, how can you help an outsider? Leng Ruoxue couldn't hide her smile. Wretched girl, in my eyes, they are the outsiders. I've warned you, don't say there is. Even if they buy it, they won't give you much. Ning Yen was worried and reminded him again. Sister Yen, if the price they offer is right, we can sell it to them, really. But I'm curious, your Ning family shouldn't be lacking in healing pills, right? Leng Ruoxue asked. One had to know that the grand elder of the Ning family who had yet to reveal himself was an alchemist. I don't lack ordinary healing pills, but I don't have many of the ones you gave to Ning Shan and Ning Bo. It's not that I can't make them, but the materials are too hard to find. Ning Yen explained. That's true. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head. The higher the grade of the healing pill, the more precious ingredients would be required. Of course, precious medicinal ingredients couldn't be found everywhere like the huge radishes. They also didn't have a heaven-defying space like Leng Ruoxue. Hence, it was only natural that high-grade healing pills were expensive and rare in quantity. Little sister Ruoxue, I've said what I wanted to say. You should do as you see fit. I'll go back first. By the way, Father Second Elder has already sent someone to bring it to you. It should be here soon. Ning Yen thought for a moment and then stood up and left in a hurry. Miss Ning, why did you leave so suddenly? Grape looked at Ning Yan's back, puzzled. Ha ha ha. She's always like this, but when we left, we seem to have left Second Elder at the competition venue. Fortunately, Godfather sent someone to bring him to me. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly as a glint of light flashed across her eyes. Miss. Are you really planning to take the Second Elder as your bodyguard? He won't listen. Grape said gloomily. The Second Elder had been in a high position for many years and was not easy to get along with. Therefore, she really did not wish for the Second Elder to become her companion. Looking at the Second Elder's grim face, no one's mood would be good. What else can I do? Godfather has already made up his mind. I can't reject this hot potato. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. AI. Grape sighed, looking helpless. However, speak of the devil. Just as the two of them were sighing gloomily, the Second Elder, who had an esteemed status, was carried by a few guards into Leng Ruoxue's courtyard. After the guards put down Second Elder, they were not willing to stay for even a moment longer. They saluted Leng Ruoxue and ran off with their butts on fire. Previous chapter. Although Second Elder's expression was stiff and he could not move, his eyes were still wide open. The anger in his eyes was burning. If looks could kill, Leng Ruoxue would have died many times over. Miss Leng. A person stood out from behind the Second Elder and greeted Leng Ruoxue with a respectful expression. What are you doing here? Leng Ruoxue looked at the man who had suddenly appeared and found it funny. He was clearly hiding behind Second Elder. I'm Ning Bo. The man said softly. He looked ill at ease and his face was flushed red from shyness. He kept rubbing his hands, but he didn't know where to put them. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She already knew his name. What she wanted to know was his motive for coming here. Miss Leng. I want to follow you. The head of the family has already agreed to let me come to you. Ning Bo stammered at first, but he finally managed to speak smoothly. However, he was so nervous that his heart was beating wildly. He kept his eyes fixed on the ground, not daring to look at Leng Ruoxue. Follow me? Why? Leng Ruoxue was a little surprised. With Ning Bo's talent, he had a high chance of being in the top 3 in this competition. Even if he didn't follow her, the Ning family would focus on training him. He would have a bright future. So, she couldn't understand why Ning Bo had to follow her, who was weaker than him. You're my savior. Only by following you can I have a chance to repay your kindness. Miss Leng, you might think that my strength is too low, but I won't cause you any trouble. Furthermore, I will also work hard in my cultivation and I guarantee that I won't be a burden to you. As Ningbo spoke, he raised his head abruptly, his dark eyes full of expectation and uneasiness. Staying by my side means leaving the Ning family and your own family. You have a bright future in the Ning family, so why do you have to suffer by my side? Leng Ruoxue sighed and said disapprovingly. Miss Leng, if it wasn't for you, I don't even know how long I could have lived. Moreover, because of my injury, my family felt that I had no future and abandoned me. It was you who saved me and gave me new hope. You are my second parent. From now on, I will definitely follow your lead. As for my family, I don't have any hope anymore, and I won't give them another chance to abandon me. It's not that I'm cold-blooded, but I've recognized the truth. Please understand, Miss Leng. Ningbo said in fear. Although his family had looked for him after the incident, he no longer felt anything for them. In the past, his family had pampered him because of his good aptitude. However, they had abandoned him immediately after he was injured. How could he not be disappointed? This was not something a real family member would do. Fortunately, his parents had passed away long ago. Otherwise, he would not have been able to leave so decisively. After Ningbo finished his words, he stared at Leng Ruoxue with anticipation, but more than that, he was worried that he would be rejected. You've decided? Leng Ruoxue asked after a long while. Ningbo nodded his head vigorously. A ray of starlight flashed across his eyes. However, Leng Ruoxue did not ask him to stay, so he did not dare to let his thoughts run wild. Then you can stay. However, I won't allow any betrayal. Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. Don't worry, Miss Leng. Since Ningbo has decided to follow you for life, he will never betray you. Ningbo said with a firm look. After that, he even signed a loyalty contract with a blood oath to show his loyalty. Hee. You're one of us from now on, let's go. I'll arrange a room for you. After the contract was completed, Grape said enthusiastically. Thank you. Ningbo was about to leave with the grapes, but he suddenly saw the second elder's wide-eyed eyes, so he said uneasily, what about the second elder? Don't worry about him. He's no longer the honorable second elder. He's my young lady's bodyguard. Grape said disapprovingly. Ah. Ningbo's eyes widened in disbelief. When did this happen? Why didn't he hear about it? Don't make a fuss, this isn't a big deal. Grape did not think much of it. In her opinion, this second elder was not worthy of her young miss at all. He was not worthy of being her young lady's bodyguard. Although he had the strength of a reverent god, a bodyguard who did not listen to her was useless. Besides, reverent god was only a so-so. Wasn't he still unable to move because of her young miss? Ningbo was a little depressed, thinking, is he too restless? However, for the Ning family, this kind of thing really couldn't be kept calm. Grape dragged Ningbo, who was not very calm, away. Leng Ruoxue also patted her butt and went back to her room to sleep. For a moment, only a statue with eyes burning with anger was left in the courtyard. Unfortunately, other than sulking in the dark, he could not do anything. The next day, Leng Ruoxue walked out of her room and first took a look at second elder, who was standing stiffly in the courtyard with a few fallen leaves hanging from his body. Then, she went to have breakfast. Then, she left the courtyard with the grapes, lotus seeds, and Ningbo, who was going to participate in the competition, leaving the second elder, who was still glaring at her, to look after the house. As for how angry the second elder would be, it was not within her scope of concern. When she arrived at the venue, Ning Yen immediately went to find her and mysteriously pulled her to an empty corner. Seeing Ning Yen in this state, Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with question marks. Her bright eyes could only stare at Ning Yen without blinking. Little sister Ruoxue, don't look at me like that. It's making my heart race. I'm embarrassed. Ning Yan's beautiful face blushed as she said something shocking. Previous chapter. Hearing Ning Yan's words, Leng Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, Sister Yen looks like she's in a good mood. He actually learned how to joke. In her heart, although Ning Yen was a carefree and hot-tempered woman, she did not like to joke. Could it be something good? Her face was full of suspicion. Sister Yen is actually embarrassed, how rare. Leng Ruoxue gave it some thought and smiled. Wretched girl, isn't it normal to be shy? Ning Yen glared at him with her bright eyes and growled in anger. It's normal. Leng Ruoxue coaxed. Alright. I'm not joking with you anymore, I'm telling you. This morning, the head butler's family had already set off for Biancheng. As for the new head butler, I don't think it'll be easy to choose. Ning Yen smiled slyly. Why not? Didn't Godfather ask the acting patriarch and the elders to quickly choose a chief steward? Leng Ruoxue looked at Ning Yen in confusion, her beautiful face full of question marks. Little sister Ruoxue. For a top-notch family like ours, it's not an easy task to choose a chief butler. Too many people are involved, and the chief butler is a lucrative job with many people eyeing it. What's more, those elders also want their confidants to become the chief butler, which is a good thing for them. So, as far as I know, they discussed it all night last night, but they didn't come to a conclusion. They finally decided on two candidates, one is our Ning family's second butler, and the other is the Ning family's direct line. Ning Yen explained with a faint smile. She was a woman and it didn't matter much to her who became the head butler. However, she also hoped that the new head butler would be someone she was satisfied with. Therefore, she had been paying attention to the movements of Ning Yuan and the others. Whose trusted aides are these two candidates? Leng Ruoxue immediately understood after hearing Ning Yan's words. It must be because the various forces of the Ning family had not come to an agreement and wanted their own people to become the head butler. The two people who won in the end should be the result of the two strongest forces of the Ning family. It seemed that it wasn't good to have too many family members. There were too many small groups. The second housekeeper is on the side of the acting patriarch, and the other direct descendant is on the side of the third elder. Ning Yan said honestly. The elders who supported the second butler and the Ning family's immediate family each accounted for half. No one was willing to take a step back, so they were in a deadlock. In the end, they decided that the two candidates would each have a trial period of 1 month. Whoever performed well would be the head butler. Ning Yan added. So, the third elder agreed? Leng Ruoxue asked. This idea seemed good, but third elder seemed to be at a disadvantage. He agreed. This idea was suggested by Haolan, so even if he had an opinion, he would have to bear with it. Besides, this is considered impartial. As long as that direct descendant of the Ning family works hard, he might have a chance. After all, the eyes of the family are clear and father is in charge of the family. No one would dare to play too big of a trick. Ning Yan said with a smile. I wonder who Sister Yan wants to be the head butler? Leng Ruoxue suddenly asked. Of course I support the promotion of the second steward. He's the trusted aide of the acting patriarch, which means he's also one of Haolan's men. When Haolan becomes the patriarch in the future, it'll save him a lot of trouble. Don't look at how head butler is a servant of the Ning family in name, but managing the food and clothing of such a top family, the profits are very big. Ning Yan said honestly. That makes sense. Leng Ruoxue nodded slightly. However, she did not think that Sly Fox Ning Haolan would be willing to use the substitute master's men. Even if the substitute master and Ning Haolan were on the same side, he was still a level away from the second housekeeper. It might not be easy to use him. Moreover, it was better to use his own men than to use someone else's. Sister Ruoxue, the trial for the two substitute butlers will begin today. The first one will be the direct descendant of the Ning family. However, the second housekeeper will still have to act as his second housekeeper and assist the substitute butler. Do you think they will start fighting if they don't agree? Ning Yan was very curious, and her bright eyes flashed with excitement. Leng Ruoxue was speechless after hearing what Ning Yan said. Did Ning Yan think she was too free? He actually wanted to watch them fight. However, the substitute butler who was on probation today would definitely not be successful. Sister Yan, what did that direct descendant of the Ning family do in the past? Leng Ruoxue could not help but ask. I don't know. Although he's a direct descendant of the Ning family, he's almost never stayed in the main residence. No one knows about his past either. He's a rather mysterious person. Ning Yan said after some thought. Why didn't the Ning family first understand the other party's experience before choosing a head butler? Leng Ruoxue said as she wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. That's the person recommended by the third elder. Ning Yuan and the others should know about him, right? Don't worry. The third elder wouldn't dare to joke about this. Ning Yan said disapprovingly. Leng Ruoxue did not know what to say when she saw Ning Yan's relaxed expression. It was fine if she was a petty person. If third elder had the intention of betraying her and arranged for someone of unknown origin to take such an important position, it would be a huge blow to the Ning family. Of course, this was just her assumption. However, if everyone in the Ning family was as muddled as Ning Yan, the Ning family would be swallowed up sooner or later. Sigh. Sister Yan, I think it should be announced first whether the acting master and the others know or not. At least, we should let the Ning family know that the head butler of the Ning family is not an embroidered pillow, and he did not get his position through nepotism. This will also be beneficial for the head butler's future work. Otherwise, how many people will believe him? Leng Ruoxue said in a serious tone. Sister Ruoxue, you're so thoughtful. I'll mention it to Ning Yuan when I have the chance. Ning Yan said after some thought. Yes, Sister Yan, the competition has started. Let's go and watch the competition. Competition. Leng Ruoxue said to Ning Yan when she saw that the battle in the middle of the stage had already started. All right. Ning Yan turned around and returned to her seat. After Leng Ruoxue returned to her seat, first elder sneakily approached her. Little girl, what have you been doing? The competition has already started. The great elder's face was filled with curiosity, and his eyes kept blinking. Great elder, you're already so old, yet you're still trying to act cute like others. Leng Ruoxue looked at first elder's bright and watery eyes as she chuckled and teased. Wretched girl, you can't bully people like this, hee hee. I just want to know what you're doing. The great elder laughed slyly, his eyes growing brighter and brighter. Nothing much, I was just casually chatting with Sister Yan. Leng Ruoxue laughed. What did you guys talk about? The great elder asked. We talked about some women's secrets. Leng Ruoxue paused on purpose before continuing. TSK. I thought you were discussing how to deal with the second elder. The first elder said with some disappointment. Grand elder, do you have a grudge against the second elder? Leng Ruoxue was speechless. No, I didn't. I've been a little bored recently, but girl. Now that the second elder is in your hands, you have to seize the opportunity. If you can tame that old fogey, you'll have a powerful bodyguard. It'll only be beneficial to you. The first elder reminded with a smile. Of course, it would be perfect if he could witness the process of taming the second elder. Great elder, I appreciate your kind intentions, but he's a reverent god, and his strength is much higher than mine. How can I have the ability to tame him? Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face showed a hint of awkwardness. To be honest, she really didn't want second elder. That fellow was definitely not someone to be worried about. TSK. Girl, you're still pretending. I'll believe it if others say they can't do it, but if you say you can, I won't believe it even if you beat me to death. First elder did not fall for it. Even now, he was still unsure of how many trump cards Leng Ruoxue had. How could he believe that she had no way of dealing with second elder? Little girl. I have confidence in you. You can do it. The great elder added. Great elder, we'll talk about this later. Let's watch the competition first. Leng Ruoxue sighed softly and said helplessly. She did not know why the first elder had so much confidence in her. She did not even have the patience to tame that old fellow. Following that, Leng Ruoxue turned her gaze towards the competition arena. There were 12 participants in the competition today, and Ningbo was one of the people she needed to pay attention to. With Ningbo and Ninghai's strength, it shouldn't be a big problem for them to enter tomorrow's game. However, as Ningshan only had the strength of a deity, it was a little uncertain whether he could advance to the next round. However, after what she had said yesterday, Ningshan would probably not show off again. It turned out that her words yesterday were still very effective. Ningshan's opponent in the first round was another Sir God besides Ninghai. After he went on stage, Ningshan chose to admit defeat without hesitation. There was no suspense at all. He was only one level higher than him. Perhaps he could still try. However, he had no chance at all if he was 2 levels higher. Choosing to admit defeat and save his strength was the right choice. Ninghai's opponent was a god-tier master. After he got on the ring, he fought with Ninghai for dozens of rounds. After testing Ninghai's strength, he chose to surrender. Ningbo's opponent was also a god-tier master. Although Ningbo won in the end, it was not an easy victory. As a result, Ninghai and Ningbo had entered the top 8. After the first part of the competition ended, there was a short break before the next part of the competition began. As it was a 2 out of 6 selection, the second part of the competition used a round-robin format. This round-robin competition was very disadvantageous for Ningshan, because he was the weakest among the 6 participants. Moreover, the other 5 people regarded him as a soft persimmon that could be easily pinched. They all wanted to get points from him, because in the eyes of the other 5 people, he was basically giving away points. The final result was just as Leng Ruoxue had expected. Ningshan did not advance to the top 8. However, among the 6 participants, he did not lose the worst. This was because he had unexpectedly won 2 rounds of the competition. This result had already made him very excited. After all, he was still young and would have the chance to participate in the clan competition in the future. Hence, he was not as depressed as others had thought. After the day's competition ended, Leng Ruoxue especially praised Ningshan, her little tail that she was so proud of was about to rise up. After that, Leng Ruoxue brought the grapes, lotus seeds and Ningbo back to their living quarters. As soon as they entered the courtyard, they saw the second elder lying on the ground. Seeing this, Ningbo quickly ran over with worry. Second elder. What's wrong? Ningbo said nervously. Second elder can't die. Otherwise, it would be a huge loss for the Ning family. After all, a reverent god wasn't a big carrot. It wasn't easy for the family to cultivate a reverent god. He must not die so easily. In fact, he was overreacting. How could a reverent god die so easily? Compared to him, Leng Ruoxue and the other 2 were much calmer. The 3 of them did not even look at second elder as they walked straight to the stone chair in front of him and sat down. Don't worry, his feet are just numb from standing for too long. He won't die. Grape rolled his eyes at Ningbo and said unhappily. He was a little dissatisfied with Ningbo. This Ningbo even said that he wanted to follow his miss. However, when she saw the old man of the Ning family on the ground, she immediately became nervous. This was absolutely unforgivable in her eyes. In fact, Ningbo was nervous because he had lived in the Ning family for decades. His respect for the Ning family had long been deeply ingrained in his blood. The reason why he followed Leng Ruoxue was also because Leng Ruoxue had done him a favor. However, following Leng Ruoxue did not mean that he would see the Ning family as an enemy. Although his family was a little cold-blooded, he was still grateful to his family for raising him for so many years. Moreover, he had only followed Leng Ruoxue for a short time. Even if he had sworn an oath, he would not be able to do so for a while. The habit of protecting the family was hard to change, so it took time. However, no matter how important the Ning family was to him, he would not betray Leng Ruoxue. This was for sure. Ningbo was stunned. He looked at Leng Ruoxue again, feeling uneasy. Oh. Is Miss angry with me, he thought. This was really just a habit of his. You, help me up. At this time, the second elder who was lying on the ground could finally speak. He pointed at Ningbo and said, F***ck. He had been lying on the ground for a long time, but he couldn't find anyone. He finally saw her, but she was still in a daze. He was so angry. After hearing second elder's words, Ningbo looked at him and then at Leng Ruoxue. In the end, he didn't dare to make a move, because he could see that the young lady and the others didn't seem to like second elder. He would be following them in the future. If he offended these 3 women, he might end up like second elder. Thinking of this, he couldn't help shivering. He was scared just thinking about it. Second elder, you better get up on your own. He's my subordinate, you have no right to order him around. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. You wretched girl, he's a member of our Ning family. The second elder gritted his teeth as he reminded him. He was so angry that the veins on his forehead were throbbing. Grape. Continue to serve me with the family rules. Leng Ruoxue ignored the second elder and ordered Grape. Yes. Miss. Grape was overjoyed. She had already fallen in love with enforcing the family rules. She walked in front of the second elder and used her finger to poke the second elder, whose body was a little numb and soft. Then, she threw a pill into his slightly open mouth. In the blink of an eye, the second elder, who was unable to resist, became mute again. Arg. Ah. Seeing the second elder's eyes burning with rage and his hands gesturing non-stop, trying to stand up but unable to even get up, Grape's mood became even more pleasant. Ningbo's eyes and mouth were wide open, not knowing what to say. It turned out that the second elder couldn't speak because he had been punished by the family law. Sob. So scary, he had better be more honest. He was very afraid that Grape would use this family law on him. Ningbo. Don't think of him as the second elder anymore. He's now our young Mrs. Bodyguard, and his status is the same as yours. Looking at Ningbo, who was in a daze, Grape patted his shoulder and reminded him. I need a few days to get used to it. Ningbo said with some embarrassment. He had never thought that one day he could be on the same level as the second elder. This was really exciting. However, he believed that the second elder would definitely feel uncomfortable. You can get used to it, but you are not allowed to help him. Otherwise, you will be one more person to enjoy the family punishment. Grape's beautiful eyes glared angrily as she warned. I won't help him. Grape's threat was very effective, and Ningbo quickly promised. That's a good girl. I'm going to make dinner. Grape nodded in satisfaction. Then, he pulled lotus seed to prepare the meal. Meal. After the dishes were ready, the 4 of them sat on the stone chairs in the courtyard and started eating. The second elder, who was still lying on the ground, could only smell the fragrance and watch helplessly. After the meal, the 4 of them went back to their rooms to sleep. Late at night, the second elder's numb body finally recovered. He stretched his arms and legs, then stomped angrily to the kitchen of the main house. Ever since he had become a reverent god, he had rarely eaten. However, the Ning family still had the habit of preparing 3 meals. After all, having a high cultivation level did not mean that they did not want to eat. The purpose of eating was not because they were hungry, but to satisfy their appetite. Therefore, the food of the Ning family was mainly exquisite and delicious. Tonight, the food that the wretched girl and the other 3 had eaten had hooked his appetite. However, the wretched girl did not leave any food for him, so if he wanted to eat, he could only go to the main residence. When he arrived at the kitchen of the main house, he saw that there was no one in the kitchen, so he looked around. However, to his disappointment, he only found a few vegetable leaves after looking around. That didn't seem possible. The second elder muttered to himself. If he remembered correctly, the food of the Ning family would be prepared regardless of the time. Of course, except for the higher-ups of the Ning family who were elders and above, the other clansmen were not qualified to enjoy such treatment at night. The second elder stood in the kitchen, lost in thought. Then, he turned around and left the kitchen. The second elder was extremely depressed about not being able to eat anything. Without realizing it, he had actually walked to the Ning family's vegetable garden. In the Ning family's main residence, there was a piece of land that was specially used to grow vegetables and fruits. It had to be said that the Ning family was a very luxurious family. In the divine world where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, they had actually made such a large piece of land just to satisfy their own desire for food. Needless to say, the only person who would do this kind of thing was the master of the Ning family. Entering the family's vegetable garden, the second elder's eyes brightened as he looked at the green and fresh fruits in the garden. He began to pick them in a hurry. No matter what it was, he put it into his storage ring first. When he felt that it was almost full, he patted his butt and left. At this time, the vegetable garden had already been made a mess by him. On the way back to the kitchen, he picked out another ornamental fish from a river in the main house. He caught 2 of the fattest and biggest ones, and then happily returned to the kitchen. There were dishes and fish, but there was no cook. The second elder was depressed. His hands had never touched the sun and spring water. If he wanted him to cook for himself, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. After thinking for a while, he decided to make a hard trip to find a clansman who could cook. After he found the person, he grabbed the person by the collar and brought him to the kitchen. Second elder. You want me to cook this fish for you? The clansman asked in a trembling voice. There had been rumors recently that the second elder's mental state was abnormal. Could it be that the second elder had really gone crazy? Those were family-raised ornamental fish. Looking at the size of the fish, it was definitely the largest in the river. What's wrong? I can tea. The second elder's eyes were wide open as he spoke with a displeased expression. Yes, you can. The unlucky clansman wanted to cry but had no tears. If the second elder wanted to eat it, would he dare to say no? After this matter was exposed, no one would dare to blame the second elder. It was just 2 fish. What's the big deal? Then hurry up and do it. If it's good, I'll give you half. The second elder was very generous. There were all kinds of fish in the river anyway, so he wouldn't feel bad even if he ate 1 or 2. Thank you, second elder. The unlucky clansman had a bitter expression on his face. Woo, could he reject such good intentions? He really didn't dare to eat this fish. Looking at the clansmen he had captured as able-bodied men cooking, the second elder found a corner to rest. After standing like a statue for so long, his body was still not very comfortable. That damned girl. If I get the chance, I'll definitely take revenge for this punishment. Oh right, I'll also take revenge for making me a mute. However, it seems that the time for me to become a mute has been shortened. Although I don't know what happened, I can't let that damned girl know about this. Not long after, the dishes were ready. Although there were only 4 dishes and 1 soup, it was very appetizing. The second elder saw that he was very satisfied with the dishes and called for the unlucky clansman to sit down and eat. After the unlucky clansman sat down, he casually took 2 bites and said that he was full. As for the fish, he didn't even dare to touch his chopsticks. Seeing this, the second elder did not force him. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he returned to his residence to sleep. The next day, when he opened his eyes and woke up, he was surprised to find that he was sleeping in the courtyard, and it was that wretched girl's residence. F***ck. What was going on? He clearly remembered that he had returned to his own room. Why was he in that wretched girl's territory when he opened his eyes? Was there a ghost? He didn't believe that Leng Ruoxue could kidnap him without him knowing. After all, he was a reverent god. What was a reverent god? That was a peak-level expert of the divine realm. How could a mid-level deity possibly stand against a reverent god? No matter how he thought about it, he could not figure it out. Furthermore, when he saw his current situation, he was so angry that his face turned green, the veins on his forehead popped out, and his chest trembled because he was completely naked under the blanket. The second elder is awake. Grape's voice rang in the second elder's ears. Humph. Looking at the 4 people in front of him, the second elder snorted coldly and turned his head away. Second elder, you're so arrogant. However, you're no longer the second elder of the Ning family, and you still dare to give my family's young miss a hard time. He really refused a toast only to drink a forfeit. Miss. Do you want to be punished by the family law? You're courting death. Grape said angrily, her beautiful eyes spitting fire as she glared at the second elder. Wretched girl, how dare you speak to me like this? After hearing Grape's words, the second elder was so angry that he jumped up from the ground. As the blanket on his body fell off, his naked body was revealed to the 4 of them. Upon seeing this, Grape hurriedly took out a memory crystal and snapped a photo of second elder. Leng Ruoxue and the other 2 turned around in unison. Wretched girl, what are you doing? The second elder saw the memory crystal in Grape's hand and became even angrier. However, in his anger, he completely forgot that he was naked. Second elder. Although your figure isn't that great, don't waste it. I believe that many people will be interested in your naked body. Grape said with a smirk. Damn it. The second elder suddenly remembered that he was not wearing any clothes. He quickly picked up the blanket on the ground and wrapped himself up. Then, he stretched out his arm to grab the grapes. Grape's mind shifted, and he kept the memory crystal into his ring. Then, he nimbly dodged, avoiding the second elder's demonic claws. Seeing this, the second elder continued to reach out for the grape. However, compared to the second elder, who was wrapped in a blanket and could not move freely, the grape was much more agile. Just like that, the grape and the second elder began to chase each other in the courtyard. Miss. Why don't we help Grape? The second elder is a reverent god. Lotus Seed looked at the 2 people chasing each other in the courtyard and said worriedly. She was afraid that the second elder would be angry and kill the grapes. No need. The second elder won't be able to catch her. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly as a cunning glint flashed across her beautiful eyes. Then, she sat down on the stone chair again, ready to watch a good show. The second elder chased after the grapes, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not catch the grapes that were as slippery as loaches. Furthermore, he had to pull the blanket with one hand. It was truly rather tiring. Not long after, he was drenched in sweat and panting heavily. What are you guys doing? Suddenly, a deafening roar rang in Leng Ruoxue's and the others' ears. Leng Ruoxue and the rest looked towards the direction of the voice and saw the Ning family's master and grand elder leading a group of people standing at the entrance of the courtyard. The Ning family's master's face was ashen, while the grand elder had a gloating expression on his face. As for the others, they were all dumbfounded. Second brother. What are you doing? The master of the Ning family walked into the courtyard unhappily with a dark face, then sat down on an empty stone chair. Master. I. Second elder's heart trembled, and cold sweat immediately appeared on his forehead. What should he say? Did he say that someone had recorded his naked body? If this matter was known to others, he would lose all his face. Woo. This hateful woman, she was really too evil. You what? You're a reverent god after all, but you're actually wrapped in a blanket and chasing a maidservant in the courtyard. What kind of behavior is this? If word gets out, wouldn't my Ning family's face be completely lost by you? The master of the Ning family was furious. Master. I know I was wrong. The second elder lowered his head and said gloomily. However, the resentment he felt towards Leng Ruoxue and the others grew even deeper. Why aren't you getting back and putting on your clothes? What a disgrace. The master of the Ning family ordered. Yes. Yes, the second elder replied obediently and disappeared in a flash. After the second elder left, Leng Ruoxue looked at her godfather with a faint smile. Godfather. What are you doing here so early in the morning? What, you don't want to see your godfather? The master of the Ning family said angrily. How can that be? Oh. Is godfather here to freeload for a meal? Leng Ruoxue guessed with a smile. The master of the Ning family was a little embarrassed. Xue had guessed it right. He had brought so many people here to let them learn how to cook from Xue. However, they seemed to have come at the wrong time. Xue. What the hell were you guys doing just now? The master of the Ning family changed the topic. The smile on his face was much more amiable than before, so much so that the Ning family members who had come with him couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. The master's face changed faster than turning the pages of a book. Nothing much, Grape and second elder were just playing around. Leng Ruoxue said perfunctorily. Oh. The master of the Ning family nodded, and then said, Xue. Let these two maidservants of yours teach them how to cook. Why? Leng Ruoxue was a little bewildered. From what she knew, the Ning family's chef's dishes were not bad. The food they make is always lacking in taste. It's not as good as the food your two maidservants make. The master of the Ning family said with a look of disdain. All right then. Leng Ruoxue nodded. This wasn't a big deal. Following that, Grape and Lotus Seed brought the group of people that Master Ning had brought to the kitchen to observe. After they had breakfast at Leng Ruoxue's place, they went to the competition grounds together. As soon as he sat down in the guest seat, Ning Yuan came to the master of the Ning family with a dark face and reported in a low voice, Old ancestor, there was a thief in our house last night. Who would be so bold as to steal from the Ning family? Didn't the guards who were patrolling last night notice? The master of the Ning family raised his eyebrows slightly and said in disbelief. He thought that the Ning family's defense was already one of the best in the divine world. If a thief really dared to come, he would not be able to leave alive. Old ancestor, it should be the work of a traitor. Ning Yuan continued. A traitor? What did you lose? Investigate thoroughly. Humph. After the investigation, you must be severely punished. The master of the Ning family was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. If it was an outsider, he might not be so angry, but not only could he not let this traitor go, but he also had to kill 100 of them. After all, there was a good saying, it's hard to guard against a thief in the house if you're on guard day and night. We lost some fruits and vegetables, as well as 2 ornamental fish. We also found some fish bones in the kitchen. Ning Yuan said helplessly. To be honest, the old ancestor's words made him feel a little embarrassed. He did not lose anything valuable, so he did not know if he should follow the old ancestor's instructions. What kind of person was so wicked? You even stole these things. The master of the Ning family was speechless. Although these things were limited every day, if the clansmen in the main house wanted to eat, they only needed to inform the second housekeeper to record the bill. Why did they have to steal it in the middle of the night? This person was too lacking in class. We're still investigating. Ning Yuan was very depressed. Investigate. If you find out, just give them a warning. The master of the Ning family sighed. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that nothing like this had ever happened in the Ning family for so many years. Yes. Ning Yuan nodded and returned to his seat without a sound. When Leng Ruoxue heard the conversation between her godfather and Ning Yuan, she was already laughing in her heart. She knew who the vegetable thief was, but she could only pretend that she didn't know because of the second elder. After all, the second elder was her man now. Following that, Leng Ruoxue turned her gaze towards the competition arena. There were only 8 contestants left in today's competition. At this time, the 8 contestants were already standing on the rings with high fighting spirit. The 8 of them were fighting against each other, and the 4 rings would also compete at the same time. This was also to show the fairness of the competition and to prevent people from secretly playing tricks. The winner of the first round would advance directly. The other 4 contestants would go through a round-robin competition like yesterday's competition, and only one person would enter the final. With the referee's whistle, the matches on the 4 rings officially began. Ning Hai's opponent was the Sir God who was at the same level as him. After the 2 of them drew a group, the other participants heaved a sigh of relief. Ning Hai and the Monarch God had long wanted to fight each other. Therefore, both of them held back their energy. Their group's competition was also treated as a preview for the battle for the championship by the audience. On the arena, Ning Haishao looked at his opponent with a confident smile. I've long heard about you. Ning Hai cupped his fist slightly. Thanks for letting me win. Ning Hai's opponent also saluted back. Because the order of fighting was decided by drawing lots, he was the first one to fight in this match. Ning Hai nodded and stared at his opponent with his bright eyes. In an instant, the opponent made his move. An aqua-blue dragon soared into the sky and pounced at Ning Hai. Seeing this, Ning Hai condensed a 7-colored phoenix with his earth-type divine power and met the aqua-blue dragon fearlessly. In an instant, the dragon and phoenix were entangled together, causing